and face first to a pile of Tim Pool. You ready?
Musk said the deal was on hold until he could verify that. Today, the CEO said, you can't verify it because we have internal data on who people actually are, and it's private that we can't share. That's an interesting point. Elon mentioned that he would take a random sampling of 100 users, and then he got accused of, like, that's a ridiculous sample size, you can't use that. So then he revealed, actually, this is Twitter. That's the number they use. Then Twitter apparently called him, or so he says, and accused him of violating his NDA.
He sent a poop emoji.
Things are getting crazy.
He's such
I'm
a bad
not entirely
boy.
convinced the deal will go through. My personal opinion
bad boy.
is that
He's such
Elon
a
Musk
bad
is intending to
rockabilly
expose
boy.
algorithmic manipulation and potential fraud as it pertains to bots. Two things we ended up learning since this deal was going through. One, Twitter misrepresented its user accounts by, I think, a couple million on more than one occasion. Even The Verge questioned, how could that have happened? And then we saw the strange shift where people associated with the right, libertarians, started gaining tons of followers, particularly people who were associated with more, like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Matt Gaetz gained a ton. But then we saw Barack Obama lose a bit. We saw Katy Perry lose a bit. If you were associated with the mainstream or the left, you were losing followers. Now, to me, my theory is algorithmic manipulation, but I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are.
Wait.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to that,
Okay, so here's Matt Bender
reacting to the news of Elon Musk. I think people heard what Elon Musk was planning to do in terms of bringing back banned users, specifically one Donald Trump.
One specific.
And I think you had a number of people.
One specific gentleman. Oh my God! Thank you.
Just don't like Donald
Thank
Trump
you for re-upping on your Twitch and Sarah Zarex.
Deactivated their account.
I never pronounced your full name.
They just deactivated as a protest. And conservatives definitely came back because they heard Elon Musk, and you saw this a lot. Conservatives actually think, and I can't say all, but the ones that you see on Twitter,
they think they're going to be able to be dropping F-bombs now.
Big conservative influencers come
They're
on.
excited.
Like,
they love those gamer
I'm back
words.
because of Elon Musk, and it's like, why are you lying to your followers? That's not true. You're not back because of Elon Musk, because Elon Musk didn't do anything. He doesn't own Twitter yet. Like
who came back?
Well, you had Tucker Carlson act like he came back because
he was suspended, I think.
Yeah, he was suspended, and he acted like he could have unsuspended himself at any time. He had to delete a single tweet. He chose on the day that Elon Musk announced he was going to purchase. All that news came out about Elon Musk.
This is all narrative, isn't it?
He decided on that day to.
That's what this whole story is.
Back. There were a few others who said that too. I can look them up in a second if you want.
For sure.
They had cut-ins.
And it's like, why are you? Because they know, like Tucker Carlson knows, because he did what Charlie Kirk's another one.
He said he was back.
He said he was back on Twitter. He had to delete a tweet.
Oh, right.
Because they all had tweeted something that goes against Twitter's policy.
But hold on. So did they delete the tweets or were they reinstated?
No, they deleted the tweets.
You know that for sure?
I know that for sure.
Irene is?
I'm not familiar with the redheaded
She's
libertarian.
my go-to example of this one. She was suspended in
the
January
redheaded
of
libertarian.
2021 for no
Did anybody know this person?
She didn't break any rules. Mm-hmm. They didn't tell her why she was suspended.
She did nothing wrong.
She got reinstated
of course.
The following day.
Listen, all redheads are based, okay,
that,
right?
That we saw who were saying things like, I was suspended.
No, that's not true.
We had people chatting us like, I haven't been on Twitter because I've been banned. Let me check. Whoa, my account's back.
Well, do they know that it was back before that? For all they know, that suspension could have lifted in the weeks, months before. So yeah, it's possible.
It's anecdotal, right?
But we do know that those big influencers who deleted, they weren't suspended and had nothing they could do to get back on. They specifically were told, delete this offending, the policy that offends our, the tweet that offends our policy, delete that, and you can come back on. That's the rule for certain content that goes against their policy. It's not a full-blown suspension. And they could have done it any time, chose not to. And the day Elon Musk, and the news broke, they basically came back and decided.
But I don't think you can say that Tucker deleted the tweet.
The tweet's not there anymore.
Maybe they deleted it.
No, they don't do that. They don't do that for that occasion.
I would agree too. It does sound like they deleted the tweet.
I would suspect that Bender knows more about
people joined the platform
Twitter than Tim Pool.
So they were like, okay, I'll come back now.
Well,
they chose to.
Yeah, they chose
just
to
guess.
now decide to delete the tweet. Sure, that could have been one occasion.
Here's the challenge I have with this idea. I mean, I think we've talked about it quite a bit. I think fraud, and the reason is, on the surface, that makes the most sense. Twitter said people deactivating their accounts was organic, and I don't know if they commented on people signing up or joining. But when you I pulled up my Twitter numbers here. We can see that on April 25th, I gained 19,000. On April 27th, I gained 39,000. On the 28th, 47,000. It's crazy. But on Monday, the day that the news actually broke, I only gained 1,000. It was 8 a.m.
Right.
Why did no one sign up on the day of? And why did they wait 24 hours after?
I've got no idea. I mean, there's something certainly interesting going on Twitter right now, and I don't
so
think
this sounds like a conspiracy theory, Chad. This sounds like, I mean, is there
like
like Matt's
millennial Gen Z, and we know from that they're not big fans of Donald Trump.
Why the following Monday did Twitter put out its report on its total numbers of bots and spam? The week before, we have this weird thing happen a day after the sale is announced. So, here's my train of thought. I don't think you're wrong. I think what I see as being more probable is Monday at 8 a.m. they announced they're in the final discussion. Nothing happens. It was at 2:53 p.m. I think they officially announced that Elon, 2:52 maybe, had officially secured the deal. That night, something changed. So the next morning, massive growth of followers, tons of people, aside from Tucker and other people who are like on suspension to remove a tweet.
We're just watching a little debate.
And the example
little debatey debate. I wasn't going to come on tonight.
More than that.
I wasn't planning on it, but this just broke.
We don't know why.
And Matt Bender is somebody I've had on Bird Brains, so I thought I'd cover it. Since he is
24 hours after. So I'd imagine that the morning they announced Elon Musk,
since he is a Bird Brain alum,
platform, people would have started signing up and coming back, right?
Not a Majority Report alum, because he's currently at the Majority Report.
Only speculate. I mean, because there could have been things happening behind the scenes at Twitter. There could be external factors where third parties decided to literally manipulate it so that people like you and me would sit here and pontificate about what could possibly have happened. I mean, we just don't know. That's one of the that's one of the issues. And I think the in terms of this particular story, I think the bigger thing here is Elon Musk knew this information. Like he announced that Reuters, like he shared that Reuters story about the 10%, less than 10% of, less than 5%. Yeah. Was it 5? I'm pretty sure it was 10.
5.
It might be 5. Okay. Whatever the percentage was.
There you go. I got Axios. Well under 5%.
Okay. So he had that information that under 5% were spam. But the Reuters story he shared, that's from the Twitter filing that he had already in the prior week or two when he announced he was going to buy Twitter. Like he knew this.
Oh my God, thank you.
He knew the information. He was let in, obviously, on what... He had to make a decision on
what's going on with my chat? I can't see everything that...
Or what their finances are.
Where
Thank you for the cheer.
It's part of the deal. That's where it's from.
It's in the deal itself. It says that we gave
there we go.
information on these things.
I had to take my shoes off. Chat, I am barefoot on a trampoline,
to buy the company around.
Sounds like
bouncing around,
that's why he's raising
doing debate analysis.
I mean, it's weird that he would, it's weird that he would go about doing this, and then because me personally, I thought, a lot of people.
That is what this life has got me doing.
Change Twitter, and that's what that's why people left, and that's why there was all this. I'm not worried about Twitter in terms of Elon Musk doing horrible things to
bouncing around barefoot.
Maybe he won't. I think he's just mostly a hype man.
God, if you could see my feet, there'd be big problems, right? I'd be bounced right off of Twitter.
I think the biggest threat to Twitter when it comes to Elon Musk is he seems to not understand social media. He doesn't understand the business of social media.
He doesn't understand shit.
If you look at his ideas to generate
revenue, his Elden Ring build?
Users to pay to use Twitter. It's not going to happen.
I think he said high-profile users. So if individuals using Twitter would not have to pay for it, but if you were a larger brand or a government, you would have to pay some kind of fee.
Well, I would definitely do that.
I mean, maybe you would, but there's also a lot of companies that just wouldn't. Or a lot of basic users who would be influential. Like the idea that everyone who's got a blue check mark or anyone who's got a lot of followers is automatically someone of means or something like that. It's just
$3 per month.
I mean,
$3.
People wouldn't pay. People wouldn't.
I think they would. I mean,
oh my God,
what he's talking about is a suite of tools and access to fix problems. The high-profile customers. I think he's right. I think if you look at most digital services, they offer hey, if you pay this premium package, we'll give you access to these back-end tools, these analytics and things like that. Like we pay for a bunch of Google tools.
That makes it sound so much more sexy.
Like that
We're talking about Creator Studio. Listen.
Right, because Twitter users don't necessarily react.
Oh my God.
It's not the same business model.
I just gotta pause it. Okay, back-end tools makes this sound so much more hotter than it actually is. Okay, we're talking about Creator Studio. That's when people say back-end. That's what it is. There's nothing. Ooh, the back end. No, it's not sexy. It's not mysterious. It's not anything. It is just YouTube Creator Studio. And pretty soon they're going to be able to do everything they can do on the desktop version on mobile because it's not really that sophisticated, right? Sorry, I'm just bitching.
There's all sorts of different types of advertisements. I mean, just look at Twitter's revenue.
I'm sorry, YouTube. I shouldn't complain. Ooh, I should be glad I'm a partner.
You're making the case for Elon.
I should be glad I'm a YouTube partner.
Oh, no doubt about it. Twitter. I was talking about this with someone earlier.
Get some money.
In terms of big tech companies, Twitter was the most susceptible to something like this. Elon
little bit of money.
Google,
exactly.
Or Elon can't afford Facebook. He can't afford any Apple,
maybe
Amazon, Microsoft. They're well beyond
maybe one round of groceries. Groceries for 1 week. That's what.
He needs to sell out.
But it's something. It's a start.
But it's the one platform that's in this realm that has the same sort of cachet as those other platforms. Like when you think of the big tech platforms, you throw Twitter in there, even though they're nowhere near as big when you look behind the curtain.
They're the most important, though.
In a sense.
It's the
depending on what your niche.
So this is weird. Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about Twitter, and yeah, it is. Twitter's not making money. Twitter is important, but Twitter is not big and Twitter is not growing, right? It's not a successful business, basically, but yet it is like a vital business, as they're about to say, for anybody in media, including myself, right? Including myself, right? I absolutely cannot get by without Twitter. Twitter is like my lifeblood. You know, I drink that. You know what I'm saying? Twitter is delicious. It's like a juice box that my mom put in my lunch bag for me because I didn't have a lunchbox growing up. I had a brown paper bag, you know, and I would walk uphill both ways to and from school in 4 dimensions, having to scroll around with my mouse wheel in order to perceive the invisible enemies that may or may not be there on the terrain, chat. It was brutal. It was brutal. I mean, you have it so much easier these days, you know?
Depending on what your industry is. In terms of
5,000 years ago, it was a lot hard time to grow up.
Again, we're in this bubble here, so to us, we probably. I mean,
you had 40 spiders crawling around trying to.
We're definitely in a bubble. I think that's a problem with a lot of things.
Drink your blood.
People are in a bubble and they don't realize that they're
drink it.
You know, just taking
drink it.
information.
They just drink it, chat. They drink it.
Whole other worlds on other platforms, even on Twitter. There's whole other worlds that you probably don't even know who Tim.
I'll tell you more about the 4-dimensional spiders later. Okay, that's.
They've made multiple.
Oh my god! This I just realized how
on Twitter and how they can connect, and some
unmoored this sounds. No, there really are 40 spiders. It's in a video game though. It is in a video game.
I've seen one where there's like a couple of users, and I'm just like, what are they talking about?
We need to figure out what they're doing over there.
What are they doing over there by themselves? I think though it's the most important because
it used to snow everywhere in Florida before global warming.
Facebook is.
Oh, that's what Twitter brands itself as, for sure.
Right. So Twitter is, you know, news stories are set.
They got you, Tim.
They got you.
No, they for sure. I mean, I started on Twitter because of Occupy. It was a way to get news out really quick, and because people who do news and politics use it, it's become influential in the space of news and politics.
Yep.
And because it is.
That's why Elon wants it.
Libs of TikTok is setting policy.
Oh,
inadvertently.
TikTok now. Cool.
No, for sure. I mean,
inadvertently,
they repost these videos, and all of a sudden, it's impacting laws in other states. So Twitter, Facebook doesn't do that.
Right.
YouTube, I mean, they'll do it a little bit because they're information platforms that have influence, but Twitter, man. I mean, so many have argued this. I mean, people at corporate press have even
Facebook does disseminate information to people who'd be more likely to believe in something they read online based on, you know,
when your parents walked to school,
factual.
It was always snowing.
Well, you know, like.
Mine was like 5,000 years ago, so it was like the Precambrian
your parents are on
period
Facebook,
or something.
Family members
I think
use Facebook for all sorts of different reasons.
I'm pretty sure there was dinosaurs
on Facebook that
I'm pretty sure I remember
they
that.
Just sort of passively read
school,
or
brontosaurus just
take in and they just
eating the grass, you know, as they do.
Well, as they do. You hit the nail on the head there when you discussed family specifically.
As they do.
Part of why people use Facebook, based on my own experience, and the reason people use Instagram is because they're keeping in touch with.
I don't know why I had to
platforms like Twitter and YouTube
imitate the brontosaurus eating grass,
but they're much more about seeking information from
complete strangers or
people who you've come to trust over the years because you like their, you know, angle on things.
Sure. Yeah. Let's talk about the story we got from Project Veritas just a moment ago. We have this from Project Veritas. I tweeted out.
I feel like I'm not seeing all your tweets or something. Meow.
And I'll give you my opinion.
Okay, I see that. Thank you for the cheer, King of William.
Because conservatives tolerate leftist speech and leftists won't tolerate the right, Twitter opts to censor the right as balanced.
Oh my god.
So
what do I have to do? Turn my like alerts on or something? I think.
What do you want?
Let's see if I can do that. What does it do if I do that? Nothing. Okay.
Ideologically,
oh, they went back to these are the defaults. These are the defaults. Okay.
Everyone on the right wing would be like, bro, it's okay to say, just gotta tolerate it. The left would be like, no, I'm not gonna tolerate it. I need it censored.
I need it censored, and I need it censored now. Because I am a snowflake.
Parties can truly coexist on one platform.
What do your colleagues say about it?
Okay.
They hate it. Oh my god, I'm a
pause. Now, Tim is claiming. Oh my god, thank you everybody for the cheers. Wow, meow. So what's going on here? This is supposedly an engineer at Twitter. This is supposedly somebody that works at Twitter, and he's talking to a undercover Project Veritas person, and he's just saying like, oh yeah, everybody's like freaking communists over there. Like we're like super duper. We're like communists on communistic steroids. We're like, we injected Lysenko steroids, which is bad and you shouldn't do. And I'm not giving us medical advice. Oh my God. Yes. Thank you for the gift sub to Rational M. But the little dudes come up and like, what the hell? What is going on? Oh my God. Wait. Does this make a hype train happen? That's like a lot of subs. I mean, that's like a lot of. That's like. Wait, is it broken? Is it showing me these things multiple times? I don't know what's going on. Thank you, meow.
Please like okay with it, but some of my colleagues.
It might be in a loop.
Left
That can't be right.
What are they saying?
They're like, this will be my last day if it happens. So,
Has much changed since?
So I'll pause it there. I think we all know the stories about the political leanings of people at
Naturally,
Twitter's,
I'm like little dudes.
stance. If Elon gets hired, they're like, we're out. But for me, when I saw this, what I found interesting was what I've said before is it's a business decision. You got to take a look at it from Twitter's perspective. People like Ben Shapiro are memed for saying, debate me, right?
Okay, I think this is broken. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way.
They like seeing these tweets. Libs of TikTok is a really good example. Libs of TikTok reposts the things the left says. Like, see, hey, look at this.
I don't know what's going on. I legit do not know what's going on.
They're the ones saying these people should be banned. You mentioned earlier that some of these people had
Oh,
violated rules.
Blahaj.
They had been suspended.
Yeah, sure.
They could come back. So my point, a couple weeks ago was, if Twitter is confronted with this from a business perspective, they're going to say the right doesn't care if the left is saying
This is clearly broken.
The left does care.
This is clearly broken.
So purely from a business perspective, well, we'll ban as many on the right as we can without disrupting as many users as possible, and then we don't got to ban the left because the right's not going to do anything about it anyway.
Well, I mean, Twitter has a very clear. Well, first of all, I just want to say that Libs of TikTok is a little bit more than just reposting what leftists say.
Level
on
5
TikTok.
hype train?
Maybe
Oh
a
fuck,
little
I'm
bit,
supposed
but,
to do
on this topic,
something. Wait, you gotta tell me when it's a hype train. Okay. If it's a hype train, that means that I'm supposed to do the special music.
But the little dudes.
I gotta
come
do
up
the
and,
special
like,
music.
Naturally, I'm like, little dudes.
Oh my god, I didn't even know it was hype train. I was just like going on like it was broken. I thought it was broken. Apparently, oh my god, I don't even know. Thank you so much, everybody. I don't even know what to say. Meow. Okay, I'm gonna give you your hype music. It's a random hype train. Yes. That was very random. Okay, here we go. We gotta recognize the hype train. Recognize that hype train when it happens. Thank you so much, everybody who made that hype train happen. That is a massive amount of support, and I appreciate it so much. I hope that this wasn't some kind of computer bug that has like drained your savings account or something like that, because like that is a lot of gift subs. That is a lot of biddies. A lot of biddies for my itty bitties, right? You know, for the itty bitty titty committee fund. Oh my god. But yeah, let's keep on going. Let me know. Is it still going? Is it still hyping? It stopped right when the music started. Oh my god. Oh my god. We gotta... Okay, well then that's like an okay place to leave it then. Let's, get back to the other music. There it is. Okay. And the music of Matt Vender and Tim Pool. Thank you so much, everybody. Sorry, I didn't even realize what was going on. I'm supposed to dance. That's the rules. I gotta dance for a hype train.
It seems like maybe just right-wing accounts break those policies more so than left-wing accounts. I know plenty of people who got banned or suspended from Twitter for just literally saying like, fuck you, or something like that. And you get the, this is not part of the Twitter policy. You're suspended for. I know people who got suspended, not even just to delete the tweet and come back. People who got suspended outright had to start new accounts for something like that.
Are you familiar with Learn to Code?
Yes.
So the editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller was commenting on the phenomenon and got suspended for it. So there were tons of people, and I think this may be what we're seeing come back with the big surge in right-wing users, at least partly.
We also have to be careful with this video here. Project Veritas has a long history of
here we go
disseminating edited.
Here we go. Are you ready?
Everybody posts edited footage.
No, I mean edited footage.
He's like, no.
I mean, they got sued
Project
by,
Veritas. Listen,
they're probably his.
Listen, Matt. Do you even know what Veritas means? It means the truth. Project Veritas is where you get the truth. It's where you go to get the truth that the mainstream media doesn't want you to know. Here we go. Here we go.
When Acorn was closed down because James O'Keefe.
This is what we came for.
Pimp video, if you recall that.
This is what we came for.
There was
yes.
more video to it. and everything he said that this woman
God,
didn't,
thank you
do,
so
she
much,
actually went
Buffy
ahead
and
did. He had to pay-
Xerxes
I
and
think he
King of
settled
William
down with
and
the loss.
everybody.
Well, you can call it a loss in
I can
if you
dance if
said
I
it.
want to.
Well, has he lost anything since he formed Project Veritas?
A dog can play basketball with his
Maybe.
nose and go
Maybe he
pop
hasn't.
And so,
with his nose,
like
just
we've had
bump
James
the
on show talk about
basketball
it.
into
He
the.
said settling was the biggest mistake he made because they weren't
I think
wrong,
it's
but
cute
I
when
don't put
dogs
words in
play
his mouth 'cause I can't
basketball.
speak to this. This was before.
I
he formed
personally
Veritas.
approve.
Since Veritas has been around, they've not lost. I'm pretty sure they've not lost a single.
They've
lawsuit.
never
In
lost
fact,
a
they've won
lawsuit.
over
They're
and
like
over and
the
over again.
undefeated
Yeah, and they have a whole
heavyweight
wall of all the news
championship of
organizations that sat down
lying.
and rescinded everything. So I'm pretty sure he's not lost anything.
Yeah, and that lawsuit was not necessarily just about them claiming they were misrepresented. A lot of it had to do with California's two-party consent laws with respect to recording somebody.
Was that it? Yeah, California's two-party consent.
Yeah, those
Look,
bullshit
I'm not-
consent laws that protect us from being like
My issue with the Veritas
spied
stuff,
on
and
by
I think
people like
it's
Sonia.
Easily exemplified by, I think it was Channel 4 in the UK did the exact same thing Veritas does, and it was just heaps of praise all across the media. Deceptive, like they lie to the targets, they go in and they say like, here's who we are, and it's not true.
Wait.
We secretly
Okay, so
report.
the problem with Project Veritas was not that they were like deceptive in terms of just like who they were and that the information that they got was real. The problem was that the information that they got, they presented in a deceptive way, right? So they were deceptive to the public. They were not deceptive to their targets, right? Assuming that somehow their targets are bad faith actors and Project Veritas is just the whistleblower on the job, right? Just dutifully reporting this seedy stuff that's going on. The fact that Project Acorn is all about like, I don't know, giving money to like prostitutes? And so we dress up like a fucking, like a high school play version of a pimp, right? I don't know who he thought he was fooling. And then he takes the footage that he's got and he just like, clip chimps it, basically. That he's kind of the king of clip chimping, okay? And you can sue me, James. You can come and sue me if you want. Come and sue me, baby. You're gonna sue me, and he's gonna
on the news, and it was praised.
Like
by
what the damages he's gonna seek is for me to call him daddy. He just wants me to call him daddy, chat, and I'm not gonna call James O'Keefe daddy because he's not a daddy, and he never will be. I'm sorry, James, you're not gonna be a daddy.
all the big mainstream publications. That's exactly what Veritas does. So
You're
if
not
you
a
do
daddy,
undercover reporting,
James.
then, I mean, I don't see what the issue is.
In the settlement, James O'Keefe claimed he was unaware that the woman who was suing him literally did everything that he claimed that she didn't. She called the police the second he came in, and she warned them about what was going on and what she was experiencing. And I mean, that was the main when this happened. This was in 2013.
And was that Project Veritas or James O'Keefe?
I guess it was James O'Keefe. And James O'Keefe is Project Veritas.
Have you? So look, let's just.
You see what he's trying to do? He's trying to be like, if it was just James O'Keefe doing his own thing, then Project Veritas did nothing wrong, and you can't really say. And it's just like, oh my God, debating Tim Pool. It's like this kind of stuff. It's this kind of stuff you have to contend with. And the sad thing is, it does actually work. His audience is like tracking along, Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. Two completely separate entities. Yeah.
Say James O'Keefe. 10
More
years
like
ago,
Sadie?
I mean, he
did a bad story.
he also did
Sadia?
that
Wait,
thing
what
where
is
that
this
was- there
from?
was that person who was dropping off ballots in I think it was
Minnesota?
Yeah. And the person came out and said that he completely distorted that.
They're
What he
on,
said.
they're on video doing it. Like,
But that's legal. That's okay to do what he was doing.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. You can drop off ballots. That's what
Oh
happened.
my God. Oh my God. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's
He had a car full of ballots and said he was. What did he say? He was getting paid to drop them off. I mean, that's illegal.
Well, let me look it up. So
Yeah,
because
pull
you
it.
said that. There was
But I'll put it this way. Let's.
Oh my God. Well, I mean,
we'll pull that up because I want to make sure we have it all correct and everything. I know that there were accusations against James over that one, but my issue is just like, how many stories has Project Veritas put out? How many real substantive issues have people criticized him over? And then I'll say, first of all, I'll put it this way. I'm pretty sure that was illegal because we covered that extensively, and we went through all the laws and stuff. We can. I don't know if Seamus wants to look it up. You can look it up too, and we'll make sure we get the facts right. But man, I don't understand why all of this is directed at a handful of stories Veritas does when you have every other day fake news coming out of the Washington Post, out of the New York Times, out of CNN. Huge stories too. There were years-long spans of lies and manipulations, some that resulted in major lawsuits too. Like, we still use CNN, the Washington Post, and the New York Times despite the Covington kids lawsuits that they're all being sued over and losing, because we recognize that news organizations get things wrong unless there's evidence to suggest
Because
something
you
was
said
not
it
correct
and
about it. I
then-
don't understand why
Oh
we
my
would
God.
not just hold the scrutiny of any organization.
Oh, absolutely. That includes every form of media. Yeah.
So here's what he's acting like. He's acting like, okay, Project Veritas, maybe they got caught on a couple technicalities. Maybe they made a couple mistakes here and there. But come on, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, they just straight up lie to you all the time. His head is up Trump's ass. Still. Okay? It doesn't matter what he tells you. His head is still up Trump's ass.
So when, CNN,
he's living in a different reality.
Sources say,
different
or people familiar
atmosphere,
with
let's just say. A lot more methane.
The news,
a lot less
like,
oxygen.
Mainstream press rolls with those,
and it shows.
Published a video. Now,
it
by all means, you can say the video
shows.
is deceptively edited if you don't believe it's true, but New York Times doesn't even put out who their sources are half the time.
Well, I mean, that's basic journalism. I mean, you could not trust corporate media if you'd like.
So what if James?
But there are surely well-respected, specific reporters and journalists who have a track record of good work.
What if James O'Keefe, instead of revealing the video, just said, "We have a source within Twitter who has said this thing"?
Well, James O'Keefe is a known liar based on what we've previously heard about the settlements and stuff. So I mean,
you better hold on. I gotta tell you, back that up.
I mean, he paid a settlement, $100,000 to this woman, and he admitted that he lied about what she said on the video.
As long as you're saying that that's true and you're willing to stand behind it.
I mean, he said it. He said it.
I'm just
in
saying
his settlement. He said it in his settlement.
I'm just saying that because James has basically sued every single person who has accused
him.
Yeah,
he's going to sue us too, chat.
Dispute
maybe he could get on board with Sonia's lawsuit
because he said that he claimed that she didn't call him claiming what he claimed, and she did, and he said he didn't know, but he put the video out, didn't ask her, I guess, afterwards.
Look. I can. We can say yes, like it was wrong. James did a bad thing, but I mean, how does that discredit the story?
What story?
The Twitter story.
Oh, I'm saying is we don't know the whole conversation that went on there.
I agree with that for sure. So we have to go by what
it's also like honestly a very like low bore. I mean, so the accusation is that that leftists won't tolerate the right. I mean,
well, that's one of the
okay, but I mean they're just basically what are they doing? They're reporting a tweet for something that this right winger said that would either A, not break Twitter policies, so there would be no punishment.
Let's talk about the misgendering policy.
There would then be
misgendering policy.
Misgendering policy. Yep, that's Twitter's policy. Yep.
Oh, here we go, chat. Here we go.
How is it biased against conservatives?
Here we go.
Don't agree with the concept of misgendering.
I mean,
not a single one, right?
I mean, it's basic respect if you ask me.
No, it doesn't matter if I'm not.
Well, that's if you ask you coming from the left.
Matt Bender just said trans rights.
Swing perspective,
sure.
right?
But it's not, I'm not making a moral statement. I'm saying conservatives don't agree with the concept of misgendering, right? That's a fact.
I mean, maybe there are conservatives that don't. I mean, that do agree.
Well, but I mean, do you think conservatives agree with the concept of misgendering?
I mean, vast majority, yeah, sure.
You think they agree that misgendering is a thing?
No, they agree that they should have the right to misgender someone.
Right, they don't believe it exists. You view it as they think they should be allowed to, but conservatives don't think it's a thing. Right. So you've got how many? 74 million Trump voters.
Okay, so listen to what he says here, because this is kind of revealing. I'm not worried about it's actually a pawsuit. And Airbud has passed the bar. Airbud can defend me. Oh my god, Airbud will be so much better than the lawyer from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6. He sucked. He was a bad lawyer, chat. He didn't help Jolene. He really didn't help Jolene at all. He's a sussy baka.
Majority are like either don't know what
he's
he means,
a sussy,
or if you look at the staunch conservatives, outright say.
Well, we have to be very specific here about. I'm all for someone learning and understanding and using the wrong language. I mean, I know plenty of people on the left. I do myself sometimes. I use the wrong pronoun or whatever for someone who does not identify as that gender. And if someone's coming at it in good faith and not meaning to to harm somebody or be
well, I don't want to deviate too much.
But you brought up that there's conservatives who don't even know that's a thing. Now, if one of those conservatives does that thing on Twitter and then someone's just like, "Hey, you're misgendering me," and then they're just like, "Oh, I'm sorry,"
dude.
or just, dude. I mean, people say "dude" all the time.
And Zuby got banned for it. He got a suspension for saying "okay, dude."
Well, in what context did he say it? Though? I mean, Zuby's not someone who doesn't know what misgendering is. He's someone who clearly knows.
He was saying "dude" in an informal context, like we say "okay, dude."
I mean, see this.
Here's the point. You're making a moral statement. I'm not making a moral statement. We know conservatives don't agree. We know the left does. Twitter has a policy that the left agrees with, the right doesn't. Therefore, Twitter has a policy biased against the right. That's a simple fact statement.
I mean, if you're coming from the position that if you don't agree that this is a thing, I mean, Twitter is saying it's a thing. Like it's their platform. They're saying this is a thing on our platform.
You're misunderstanding.
How am I misunderstanding?
I'm not making a moral statement.
Okay.
I'm not saying Twitter is right or wrong. Twitter is well within its rights to have whatever rules it wants.
Sure.
Conservatives disagree with the concept. Progressives agree with the policy. Twitter's rules suit the view of the left and not the right. That's simply put.
Twitter's deciding to make those rules. I mean,
absolutely, we agree on that.
Yeah, sure,
okay,
yeah.
So if conservatives don't agree with those rules, Twitter's rule set is biased against the conservative worldview.
I mean, there's all sorts of rules I don't agree with too, but that doesn't mean they're biased against my.
So if by that logic, we could say that if they have a policy, I don't know what kind of policy this would be, but say that there was a policy that was contingent on the Earth indeed being round and not flat, you could just as easily say that Twitter's policy is biased against the flat earthers. You could say that Twitter's policy is biased against the you-know-what deniers, right? You could say that Twitter's policy is biased against fans of the paste, the equine paste. Yeah, you could, okay, you go for shit, right? It's biased against people who believe that the former president somehow was unfairly taken out of office, right? You could say a lot of things, right? And say that if Twitter's policy, which is just like, and the thing is, like, I feel like they get to this somewhere here, but Tim Pool says transgenderism, right? So he describes our existence and the belief that we exist as an ideology, right? As something that we made up, right? Rather than something that is like kind of the medical consensus, right?
Worldview. That's just what they decided.
The misgendering thing is clearly cut. Obviously, if we want to nitpick, you can talk about the various right-wing factions and what they believe.
I mean, if you don't agree that trans people exist when they clearly do, then I don't know what to tell you.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I'm on the right. Look, I don't believe in the concept of transgenderism. I don't believe there's a difference between gender and sex. And I would say that Tim is making a descriptive statement.
So he doesn't believe that trans people exist. And by Tim's logic, his fucked up ideology pulls the middle over to the right. And therefore, the real policy should be something that splits the baby between trans people exist and trans people don't exist. That is what he's saying. That is what he's saying.
And he's not saying that it's good or bad that Twitter has this specific policy. He's just saying that on the issue of transgenderism, Twitter has clearly taken a side. And their side is that a person's gender identity is a constant.
I mean, like, sometimes I feel like I get the feeling that people think I'm being kind of overly precious about language when I correct somebody who says transgenderism, but this is the reason why. When he's able to present it this way, then it's just an ideology that's just like your opinion, man. And yes, he does mean man in the most transphobic way possible.
Which supersedes their biological
because that's
identity.
Literally what he
believes.
believes.
That is a decision they made as a platform, which is a politically biased decision.
I mean, they're basically saying trans people exist, though, because if you take that away, then what do you, I'm not quite, I mean, I know what you're arguing, but you're basically saying it's biased against conservatives to admit that trans people exist by Twitter.
That's not what they're doing.
Yeah.
Come on. They're not saying trans people exist. They're saying you are forced to acknowledge that you believe this identity is their identity, even if you don't agree with that.
But there's a badge.
Platform. Yeah, because that's what the misgendering policy is.
They're not even saying that. They're saying you have to use this language or we will ban you.
Okay.
Conservatives say, I do not believe in the use of that language. And it's overt. I mean, I would say 99 out of 100 conservatives would be like, I'm not going to use preferred pronouns. If Twitter's rules are in line with your worldview or a progressive worldview, they're biased against conservatives. I don't think we're arguing. I think we agree on that.
I mean, I don't think it's biased against conservatives, to be quite honest.
So he's literally arguing for
so you think conservatives
people's right to be able to misgender.
You're not making sense, man.
You know?
What do you mean? If you basically tell someone...
We know conservatives don't use the concept of misgendering. We know conservatives will call a trans woman he, right?
Yes.
Therefore, Twitter's rules are not fitting what conservatives do and think on a daily basis.
Sometimes they will. Sometimes they struggle to misgender us.
Like just right there in front
That's the fun part, chat.
Like what?
What do you mean, like what?
When they have to remind themselves to
say the N-word?
deny your existence by misgendering you.
See,
not all conservatives, but the subsection of Twitter that does want to is certainly on the right.
There are people who like using bad words on the right. There are people who like using bad words on the left. If you want to, I'm not gonna make a blanket statement that every leftist wants to advocate for Antifa going and killing people, but there's certainly Antifa that go around advocating for killing people, right? How many people have advocated for killing libs of TikTok? A large amount. We can pull up tweets. How many people have advocated for serious physical harm to Andy No? I'm not going to sit here and say everyone on the left wants to violently harm, Andy No. Oh, there are people who did it. There are good and bad people. The issue is, if you go to some of the most prominent conservatives like Ben Shapiro, he will say, I do not use preferred pronouns.
Sure.
He's got one of the top podcasts in the world, and Twitter's rules conflict with one of the biggest podcasts in the world.
You don't have to use someone's pronouns at all, though. I mean, you could easily talk about that individual by their name.
I mean, but I'm not like I said, I'm not making a moral statement. If Ben Shapiro wants to say he's told he can't or he'll be banned.
Well, I mean, that's just Twitter's rules.
Twitter's Twitter's rules fit the leftist worldview.
Well, I mean, if a left winger also wants to do that, then they can't either.
Right, but the left tends to agree with that perspective. It's the leftist worldview, or it's a component.
I mean, yes, left people agree that trans people exist. I mean,
who's arguing they don't exist? Why do you keep saying that?
Because if you're not gonna basically acknowledge someone's gender identity, then you're saying trans people don't exist.
But what does that mean? Trans people don't exist?
I mean that someone's not trans. What do you mean?
What? So Seamus can argue, what do you say, transgenderism doesn't exist or what?
Yeah, I don't believe gender and sex are. I don't believe in the concept of gender. It was developed. The term was first coined by Dr. John Money, who was like a pedophile and sex pervert who abused children, and created this idea that we can make this false distinguishing between a person's actual biological sex and the sex they should be treated as within society. I don't think it's a legitimate concept. I believe and I agree that there are people who struggle with their identity. I think
really
there are
gross.
people who are deeply confused about their sexual identity. I do not believe a man can.
Like, I mean, that's like a diagonally, that's like a sideways trope of conflating trans people with, like, he didn't exactly do that, but he basically did that, right? Conflating trans people
ever become
with
a woman, or that a woman can ever become a man. I don't.
Yeah, listen, if that's what you believe, all right. But I mean, I don't know the information that you just said in terms of. I could look it up, but
yes.
People do suffer from gender dysphoria.
Well,
that's a
sure.
real. That's a real. That's a real thing.
Absolutely, it is.
And
Yes.
everybody agrees those people exist.
Yes.
So why do you keep saying trans people don't exist?
Because hold on. You're saying that gender dysphoria
Real thing.
exists. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real
Absolutely.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
But you're saying that the actual outcome, what they're looking to do to actually treat their gender dysphoria, it's not a real thing.
Well, no.
Yes, yes. That's what
Trans people exist, and I've met Trump supporting trans women,
Sure.
And hackers and leftists and right wingers. Of course they exist. Of course gender dysphoria is real.
Hackers.
Trans women, they have preferred pronouns, and
Wait, Tim.
whether or not you compel someone to use those words,
Were they wearing thigh highs, like striped thigh highs? These hackers you speak
has
of?
nothing to do with saying they exist or not.
If you refuse to use anyone's pronouns or just refuse to even call them by their name, I don't know what to say to you.
I mean, if I called you Florbo, would that be denying your existence?
if you call me Florbo,
Yeah, if I use the pronoun.
What the fuck
for you
is
that wasn't your
Florbo?
pronoun, am I
Oh,
denying
a
your
pronoun.
existence?
personally,
Okay.
it wouldn't bother me, but that's just me.
But am I denying your existence?
Are you denying my existence?
Yeah.
I mean, people could argue it's disrespectful for sure.
But am I denying your existence?
Well, because trans people don't acknowledge that they have that their birth name or given name is what they that's not them.
I don't know what to say. I mean, you're saying they're claiming trans people don't exist. That's like a buzz phrase with no meaning. You've conveyed no idea to anyone.
What are you talking about?
What idea are you trying to convey when you say conservatives say trans people don't exist? What is that supposed to mean?
You know what that's supposed to mean. If you're let's go back to the original thing that you were talking about, Twitter's policy, and you're saying it's purposefully
I didn't say it was
biased.
purposely.
Okay, it's biased.
No moral statement.
Sure,
it is a rule set that the left agrees to, the right doesn't, and therefore is biased against the conservative worldview.
Okay, and if Twitter did not have that policy, then it would be biased against trans people.
No, it wouldn't. It would be unbiased, right? If Twitter had a policy which said,
Like, Tim, how far do you want to take this, like, policy? Oh my god, how far do you want to take this policy, Tim? This policy of, like, we're just gonna split the baby. Like, if there's a bunch of Nazis in the room now, then we have to, like, split the room while, on issues that they believe in? I don't think so.
if Twitter had no policy on what pronouns you could use for someone, that would not be biased. That would just be like the lack of a policy altogether.
Yeah, the left would still be
lack of policy could be biased.
No. The inversion would be Twitter saying you are not allowed to use preferred pronouns, right? So the conservatives don't want to refer to trans women by she, her, right?
Okay, they could just not refer to trans women that way.
So, but you'll get banned on Twitter.
You do not have to go after a trans person.
So here's my point. If
you can exist on Twitter
removed,
without attacking a trans person by calling them.
But again, this is a left-wing framing that it's attacking someone to not use the pronouns that affirm this idea that they're something that they're not.
The point is the rules.
I wonder if the way to go about this argument is to talk about dehumanization, talk about other slurs that could dehumanize somebody, ask them if that's okay, and then if they say it's not okay, then ask them why it's okay to dehumanize trans people. I don't know.
I started calling you she, for example.
That would be completely incorrect because I'm not a woman. I'm a man. I've been a man my whole life, and even if I decided to identify as a woman, I still would not become a woman.
But I would have.
Do you see what he's saying? Trans people don't exist, but you know what does exist? You know what has a material existence? Pronouns. Right? Like, a he is a real thing. Like, that's not just a social construction. That's not just a way of, like, labeling people, referring to people, talking to people. No, that's an actual thing, you know, even though we look into nature and we ask, you know, what the fuck a he is, and nature can't tell us. It's so weird because, like, I feel like even without acknowledging that gender exists separately from sex, these people seem to encounter it. They must encounter it, right? Time to explain it one more time, Tim. He's about to get it. Oh, let's see.
But if you did, though, out of the common respect to refer to you by your gender identity.
So I absolutely believe that you are coming at this from a place of respect, but I don't think it's respectful to indulge something that's not true.
Well, hold on. We're deviating way too far. The point is, Twitter's rules, overtly biased. If Twitter removed the rule, there would be no bias because there's no rule. If Twitter created a rule that said trans people are not allowed to use preferred pronouns, that would be biased in favor of conservatives.
If Twitter also made a rule that said that, you know, you can now use the N-word, who do you think that affects? Who's that biased against?
That's biased against people who, black people.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But is there a policy saying you're the issue?
Correct him.
The issue is Twitter, negative rights, positive rights, et cetera, et cetera. Twitter is saying, here's a list of things you can't do, and it tends to be things conservatives do, right?
Okay, I'm sorry that conservatives do things that tend to disrespect people. I mean,
It's weird though, because like he as he says this, it's like he can't conceive of what Matt's saying, right? That it's like y'all are TOSing. Like there's literally rules that have to be established for like a site to run, right? For like it not to just turn into fucking, you know, 4chan or something worse, right? But just like basic human respect is beyond him.
I'm not making a moral judgment. If you want to say they're disrespecting people, I don't care. Right. I'm simply saying Twitter's rule set favors the leftist approach.
All right, and I disagree.
But that's impossible. I'm not making an opinion statement. I'm making a fact statement.
I just don't agree. I mean, we know from just how these social media platforms, we could take Twitter.
Negative rights.
The algorithm tends
the right not to. Wait, this is the thing is you're not even talking. Yeah, how is that negative rights? You're acting okay. So that's what there's a supposition of like correctness and an appeal to like conventional wisdom here implicit in what Tim's saying, right? It's like destiny, but maybe even less conscious. And what he's doing is he's saying that like the natural state of things is not to respect, you know, people's gender identity, but so the negative right is the right not like we're the ones asking them to do something, when in reality, like you're just being asked not to do something. Right? There's something specific that y'all do to harass trans people, and you're being asked not to do it. You're being told by the TOS that that's contrary to, you know, the rules and will get you in trouble, right? And it's even if you do it, half of the time, they don't even call you on it. They let you slide. But there's that possibility that if you really flagrantly just like, you know, shove somebody's face in the wrong pronoun or their dead name or something like that, that you might catch a ban. Probably not a permanent ban, but you know, you might catch a ban. And he thinks this is like some kind of a authoritarian mandate. Like, because that's the whole thing. Matt's trying to point out also that like, you don't even have to be talking. If you're the kind of person who doesn't want to like gender trans people correctly, you don't have to talk to trans people. There's no rule. You have the negative right to abstain from talking to trans people, right? You can have that. That's perfectly fine. There's your negative right, bucko.
No,
I had to say bucko
more often than not. That's 100%.
For Peterson.
Any social media platform, Facebook.
Yes,
Twitter.
indeed. Late night stream.
You were wrong.
Let's go.
Let me try.
YouTube's another one.
Yeah. Let me try and pull up the. Let me find the article. You know, one of the challenges with doing these, like, we sit down and we talk about is we're always trying to, you know, figure out where we saw something and all that stuff. So let me see if I can find this. Oh, does it want me to buy this? Muckrack is trying to sell me the article. Let me see if I can try and find this article. It's by a researcher named Mark Ledwich.
Twitter algorithms bias toward right-wing content.
Says who?
Twitter's own research.
And what did they say and why did they say?
Twitter is publicly sharing research findings today. This is from Protocol. That show that the platform's algorithms amplify tweets from right-wing politicians and content from right-wing news outlets more than people in content from the political left. There you go.
I'm trying to pull up this Mark Ledwich thing. So I see this from the Washington Post. October 22nd, 2021, Twitter algorithms amplify conservative content more than that of the political left, researchers find. Who are the researchers? An internal evaluation of Twitter's recommendation algorithms concluded that they amplify right-leaning political content more than left-leaning content. Company researchers announced Thursday, undercutting allegations by many conservatives who contend they are being censored on the platform. Now, that statement is just confusing and factually incorrect. Twitter can promote conservatives, but doesn't mean
you know, we should get to the bottom of this? Elon Musk. Why don't you ask him to find out more information about this study?
Agreed.
There you go.
If conservatives are complaining about being censored, the fact that Twitter promotes some conservatives doesn't mean conservatives aren't being censored. The fact that Twitter...
So yeah, I mean, like, Matt is a great Majority Report member and Bird Brains alum. That's right, Matt Bender was on one of the very first Bird Brains way back in the day. So yeah,
more conservatives doesn't mean some conservatives aren't being censored. So it's a Washington Post point.
But glad I could help him get his start.
The research in months of the making, part of Twitter's promise to evaluate the underpinnings, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to see what the meat of what they're actually saying is.
The meat. Let's get to the meat, Tim.
They analyzed millions of 2020
Let's get to the meat and potatoes.
France, Germany. Oh, okay, so it's not an American thing.
Potatoes.
As well as post it. Oh, come on. All right, I can debunk this in 2 seconds for you.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, from the New York Times, what happens to America's political center of gravity? As you can see, the right-leaning platforms, the right-leaning political parties in Europe are to the left of the Republican Party. So when you say Twitter is amplifying right-wing content, it's like, okay, in America, yes or no? The answer is no. Because the parties that were getting amplified, European parties, are to the left of the Republican Party.
I mean,
so it's to the right of you. That's a fair point. It's to the left of the American conservative.
Well, that's a major statement that you have to probably check with the researchers who put together this study.
Well, I'm showing you.
There we go.
The New York Times.
You specifically yourself, I mean, have what 1.2 million Twitter followers, right?
Yeah, and what's my political affiliation?
Oh, your political affiliation, right? We should talk about that, right?
Yeah. What is your political affiliation? What are you saying these days, Tim?
I would say.
What are you calling yourself?
Conservative.
What makes me conservative?
What makes you a liberal?
Well, traditional liberals in this country, specifically social liberal, is where I've always been. Voted for Obama in 2008.
A lot of people voted for Obama in 2008 and then moved over to Trump. We've established that. So
I voted for Trump in 2020.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. So traditional liberals.
All those liberals who voted for Trump.
9 million in this country. That's right.
I wouldn't consider them liberal.
And substantially more. Donald Trump is.
You're talking about Democrats, not liberals.
No, they're liberal. Donald Trump is a New York liberal.
Donald Trump almost done with your MILF pills
on the RNC stage, and got Republicans to clap for it.
Oh, sure, okay.
So I'm pro-choice.
Well, we could talk about that.
Yeah, I'm pro-progressive tax. I'm pro-Green New Deal.
Are you?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Absolutely.
Really?
I don't think you watched the show.
I have watched the show. I've seen you completely come out and get really mad at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez for some of the things in the Green New Deal.
Do you mean like free college for black people? What? Did you read the
No,
Green New
I
Deal?
did, but that's what bothers you?
What bothers me is that when I advocate for environmental policy, having worked for several environmental
I don't think the policy says free college for black people.
Yeah.
No. It's free college. It's free healthcare for marginalized and oppressed communities. What does that have to do with wind turbines?
What are you talking about? It's everything to do with the environmental situation we're going to be in.
No, that's race policy. That's
no, it's not. What do you think happens when climate change affects the United States of America? Who do you think is going to be the most affected by it? Who's not going to be able, like Ben Shapiro said, who's not going to be able to just get up, sell their house that's sailing out to the sea and going underwater, like Ben Shapiro said?
Aquaman.
Who's going to be able to easily get themselves out of a situation that sees their neighborhood getting flooded,
Tim says whatever. Yeah,
he's
useful, isn't he? He's useful. That's what he is.
Just get up and move. It's
the useful guy to the right.
So when we lift people out of poverty, we'll be able to.
I mean, let's be real. He's right wing.
Climate change issues when they arise.
Just to go back to I find the data showing that YouTube overwhelmingly sends content to the left. And not the right. So that
you have to send this to me because this goes against every piece of research I've ever read about YouTube.
I will say outright, one of the challenges with any kind of political debate is that everyone's going to find their sources. You know what I mean?
Well, where's your source from?
This is firstmonday.org. This is an academic named Mark Ledwich who worked with a series of other academics. They've mapped out. Look, they got me as anti-SJW here with Sargon of Akkad. And what they did was they grouped everything by a whole bunch of different channels. There's like white identitarian.
Where's the lie?
There's conspiracy. There's social justice. There's center left, mainstream media. And then they created parents for what typically socially falls into a left or right category. And then they created this recommendation trend map showing you partisan left content typically recommends partisan left content.
I'm such a Mew.
Center content typically recommends partisan.
I'm such a Mew.
Content. However, when we're talking
about
too
too much of a Mew sometimes
from the center,
I hope
you're
not,
more
though.
likely, twice or 3 times as likely to get partisan left content.
Am I too much of a Mew?
What do they consider left-wing content?
Socialist, social justice, partisan left.
What is that? Like, what are we talking about here, though? Because there's right wingers and there's all sorts of people who view NBC and CNN and other corporate media.
That's center left mainstream media.
Okay, but that's center left
mainstream media.
Okay.
Center/left mainstream.
Oh, it's
media.
its own category, is what you're saying.
So they mean like your TV networks, the news they report, and like overwhelmingly anti-Trump, for instance, comedy specials and things like that. If you go on YouTube and you watch Jimmy Kimmel,
he dodges
you are
every response.
The most likely to just see more Jimmy Kimmel.
He dodges.
But when it comes to the political direction information flows,
he's the king of pivots, isn't he?
And there's a couple of researchers. Sorry if I'm not reading.
He does this.
I mean, it looks like 3 or 4.
Matt is this is what happens. This is why I wanted to watch this right away. I could not wait.
Now check this out. Also, if you are watching,
could not wait, chat.
You are more likely to be
dive right into
center
this
or mainstream content
pile of Tim Pool
for the same number. It seems somewhat comparable, but considering the partisan left receives 99.5 million daily impressions to the partisan right 68.6, it's a disproportionate amount of recommendations in favor.
Am
of
I too much of a Mew Mew?
I need to see that study in front of me because I could easily just pull up another one that just says
I think
more than
sometimes
videos,
I don't know.
350 YouTube channels were analyzed and manually classified, labeled as either media or what
sometimes
we think of
I got like
news,
really
alt-right, intellectual dark web or alt-right, and then it found that YouTube's algorithm funnels people to alt-right videos.
But by how much? I mean, it does. That's a fact statement.
Sure.
It absolutely does. Now, Twitter diminished alt-right channels and banned most of them. They cut them all off.
Channels?
From the recommendation algorithm. So the time period in which
accounts?
that study would be important. But also, yeah, absolutely, YouTube recommends everything. YouTube does recommend alt-right content for sure. They banned a lot of it. The issue is, and in large amounts, like if a regular person goes on YouTube and watches Jimmy Kimmel, are they more likely to fall into a left or right-wing rabbit hole? The data shows the left.
I mean, like, here's the deal, okay? So I followed a channel that got banned that was a right-wing channel. It was, oh my god, I'm trying to remember her name. I can't remember this chick's name. What's up, Normus? What am I doing? I'm up super late watching Tim Pool debating against Matt Bender. What the fuck was I just about to go into, though? What was I just about to talk about? Oh my god, I thought it was something really good, and I totally forgot it. It's all your fault, Gnormus. You sussy baka. Just kidding. Why am I jumping up and down? Because I'm on a trampoline. Because like some of this, like, just this gravity of this crappy debate, like, requires levity, and like bouncing makes me feel good. What was I just talking about, chat? Can anybody like remind me? Oh my god, I totally just had a stoner moment. A stoner. Right-wing channels. Oh yeah. Oh my god, what was her freaking name? I can't remember her name. But she was this boomer lady, and she seemed really nice, and she seemed really sweet, but she was completely up to her elbows in QAnon bullshit, right? And like, I used to, oh my god, I feel like it's like the Amazing Patty or some shit. Like, it's something ridiculous. It's something really boomer and ridiculous and almost adorable. But she's actually really scary. She's just like a, QAnoner spreading a bunch of misinformation, and she got banned. Like, right? Amazing Polly? Is it Amazing Polly? Is her name? Was there somebody named Amazing Polly that got banned? Anyway, yeah, this was like, and like, the thing is, she was just saying, like, she was making like claims that if taken seriously would potentially endanger the person who believed them, right? It's like, just, it was just, conspiracy shit. And that is who Tim is. That's really who got banned, right? People that were spreading conspiracies, people that were lying about like medical conditions that might be, pretty universal malady of very many different people at the same time, and represent a great strain on our public health infrastructure. If you know what I'm saying, chat. It was that kind of stuff. It was dangerous. It was bad. And they banned her. And like, that is who he's like, well, you know what, that they should split that policy right down the middle. If they're going to be fair about it, they should just say like, okay, you're not allowed to. Polly is super cringe. Yeah, she was the best cringe. She was I miss her. And I'm not going to follow her to whatever right-wing platform she went to just to get that cringe. I'm sure I could. I think maybe I saw something on another platform. Yeah, the Amazing Polly. I think that's what her name was. Yeah. And she was like the we have Minnesota Mike, who we should check in with Minnesota Mike sometime soon. Okay. I gotta know what Minnesota Mike is up to, because he's always just like so good for the lulz, right? And then but yeah, Amazing Polly was the other end, the QAnon Facebook mom. And I mean, she would just sit there with this really like nice, pleasant look on her face and say the most, concerning things. And that's who got banned, Tim. It wasn't people that were just like, yo, I kind of think conservatism is based, and all of a sudden the ban hammer's like, bonk. No, nobody got fucking banned for being like, conservatism is great, or, I'm a classical liberal. Nobody got banned for that. They got banned for doing some ridiculous shit, right? They got banned for doing things that made a corporation, which wants to have as many users as it possibly can, nervous that allowing a user to do this might put the corporation in danger, right? That is who got banned.
All right. Yeah. I mean, that study's true.
But I mean, look.
But I mean, how often is someone who's watching Jimmy Kimmel going and looking for more political videos? I'm assuming they're going to be looking for more entertainment content.
Right, which is why the overwhelming majority. So if you look at the left on this chart, for those that are watching, can you pull it up? So if you look on the left, you can see there's a purple bar. On the right is another purple bar.
What's up, cool cat?
The purple going straight across, that represents the overwhelming majority of people who watch center or left mainstream media will only be recommended center or left mainstream media. When you look on the left, you see this line going down. That represents how many people from a mainstream media video will go to a partisan left video. As you can see, the line representing the data is substantially larger going to the left than the right. When you look at from a partisan right-wing video to the center, the line is comparable from the partisan left to the center, meaning partisan right gets 2/3, gets 60% of what 68% of what the left gets in terms of views, but has an equal amount of people being recommended away from partisan right-wing content, showing the left is favored, whether inadvertently or on purpose, on YouTube. So we can talk about Twitter. We can talk about stuff.
Yeah.
And
you
again,
have to tell me more about it. But yeah.
We've had conversations. We had Alad Eliyahu on, and he pulled up Pew, which said most people.
What is it, like Tiltify?
Gallup, which said most people want restrictions on abortion. You're always going to find some data.
I
and
think
it's hard to know what's true,
Tiltify makes that.
Well, and there is an issue
fairly
I
easy.
I just found about this specific study that you're talking about. This is the one Mark Ledwich, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, let me pull up exactly what we got here. Okay, to examine what YouTube's algorithm recommends to viewers, Ledwich and Zaitsev went through those channels' videos and scraped each one's recommendation
why do these, if they're
so
really,
that's
exactly it. If they're really classical liberals, as they say, why do they carry so much water for conspiracy theorists? Like, why do they seem so concerned that the QAnon mom gets to put her garbage out into the public square? Why do they need that, right? Why do they want that? If they're really these enlightened
each video. However, Ledwich and Zaitsev crucially did this while not logged into a YouTube account because YouTube had no personalization data to go off of. Each box of up next recommendations it served Ledwich and Zaitsev was a generalized blank slate collection of videos. The algorithm is literally incapable of introducing an anonymous logged out user.
Is Yamato here? I can't even see half of these people.
How many of YouTube's viewers are logged in? And have
I'm not seeing all the chat for some reason.
Talking about has nothing to do with it. I mean, it's literally the average person. Will they be fed left-wing or right-wing content? And that doesn't disprove anything I said.
So basically,
in order to provide any evidence in the contrary.
I mean, it looks like if that you're logged in, that based on user data and recommendation data, then it does seem like they funnel people to more right-wing content based on other studies. But the study I brought before.
What study?
Hold on, I mentioned it before.
You know, one of the issues too is we're going to run into this, and I don't think we'll have an answer for this. Is who's doing the study? There was a study that
bunch of libs.
Like
that's who's doing the study. A bunch of libs,
or not true about you if they're trying to get their whatever outcome they want. This is the big challenge with trying to figure out data in this regards. There was a study that came out that claimed
what really is data after all.
Like
what the bleep do we know, Tim? What the bleep do we know?
I mean, come on. If someone wants to accuse me of being a conservative based on modern tribalism,
I mean, it all depends on your definition of what the word is, doesn't it?
So I can
wait, hold on.
It's all just kind of relative.
I looked up the author of the study, Mark Ledwich.
Truth.
Yeah. I mean, he has a looks like he's a QAnon defender.
I don't.
I mean, it seems like I wouldn't trust someone who believes in a conspiracy theory like QAnon, honestly.
What about Russiagate?
Yeah. What about
Russiagate? What does Russiagate have to do with it?
What does QAnon have to do with what we're talking about?
No, the author of the study you're citing seems to be a QAnon believer.
And what about the studies you want to reference? Look.
Whoa. If I reference the study that
reference the study, give me the name. We'll pull up their QAnon BS. Come on.
What are you talking about? I mean,
You referenced a study.
You can give the guy's name.
No. You referenced the study.
Sure.
If you want me to
I
pull
told
up their
you- I
names
told
and
you it was
find
wrong.
you, and want me to pull up their Twitter account and find the stupid things they've posted. Look,
I mean, I shouldn't have to say it, but you know what they're doing in comparing QAnon to Russiagate. Now, wait, I will admit that there was some cringe posted by like the likes of Rachel Maddow, and it's mostly in the way that when she did her show, she would give you the feeling that if you just like waited till the end, Donald Trump was probably going to resign. Like, we're really fucking close to just like having everything we need on Donald Trump, and we're going to be able to set everything right again. Maybe we could like Hillary back in there, overturn all the laws that he made. I don't know. You just got this feeling that like you're on the precipice of something that is going to like, actually, change the presidency. And in reality, like, there was a lot of sus shit, right? And the determination that was made, the judgment that was made, what would you call it? The vindication, not the vindication. What's the word for it, right? What is the word for it when you like find innocence or fail to find guilt? What the fuck? Oh, what is that? Is that a stream alert or something? What the hell? I have no idea what that is. Okay, but anyway. Okay, I think I know what it is. Not a stream alert. Here we go, something like that. But anyway, yeah. So there's a certain truth to that they were making it seem like that something was going to happen as a result of the revelations of the special relationship that Trump had with Vladimir Putin, right? But it's still sus. Now, you know what's not sus? The question of whether Hillary Clinton is making prosciutto and eating it of people's faces. Yeah. That's the thing that there was never any proof of. That is the thing that's a wild ass claim, right? Like the Pizzagate stuff, right? That is the stuff that they like, a guy went to a pizzeria assuming that there was a basement to a building that has no basement, right? And like shot a hole in the freaking building, scared the crap out of everybody based on fucking lies. Just 100%. You get like, you know what I mean? With the Russiagate, there was reason to suspect that there was some weird shit between Putin and Trump, right? And there was definitely some weird shit between Putin and Trump. But whether that rises to the threshold of whatever the charge that would be made by Mueller, or, well, I mean, in this case, it's the president of the United States. So here you're in a situation where the guy literally cannot be taken to court while he's president. All right. Any court proceedings is going to have to be done in the Senate, in the House and the Senate. It's going to have to be impeachment, right? That's the only way to prosecute a president. And of course, when the Senate is, mostly Republican and they're all scared to go against this guy, they're not going to, find guilt or anything. So it's almost like like he's trying to act like there was some great vindication of Donald Trump. There was some great finding of innocence and that there was like nothing. But in reality, you're equivocating two things that, although I think Rachel Maddow is cringe, and I've said that, I've explained how, right? Not quite as cringe as Amazing Polly, okay? I'm going to give Amazing Polly that. I'm going to give Amazing Polly the edge in the cringe Olympics. You understand? I don't think that Rachel Maddow quite competes. I think that in the cringe Olympics, Amazing Polly runs away with the gold, okay? Rachel Maddow is sad with her tarnished silver, okay? That's all she's got is a tarnished silver. Because although, it was kind of disingenuous, the way that she played with people's emotions, making them think that something was going to happen based on the Russia thing, it's not like she wasn't reporting on things of substance, of stories, concerning shit, right? Whereas with QAnon, they were pulling it out of their ass. They were making it of whole cloth. They were absolutely just like, you know, just lying to your face in the most obvious way and acting like, what, you know? Like it's their alternative facts. I guess, yeah, that's the Trump era was the era of alternative facts. And these people felt, no, it's even before the Trump era. Like you can go back to like the Obama birtherism, right? There's the conspiratorial mindset and the paranoid style of American politics has been with us since like the John Birch Society. And that's the 50s for anybody who's, who needs to hear that to orient them to what I'm talking about there.
Just like posting something stupid. QAnon is a whole belief set. People's whole worldviews are based on this.
What did he defend?
What did he defend? Let's bring it up right now. I'll bring up the whole
it's just
long
really
blog
weird
post
that you'd compare these two things, right? Like they're equivalent.
In the past few months, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube have been waging a war against QAnon, a leviathan of a conspiracy theory that explains, among other things, that there's a deep state cabal of Jewish, Satanist, globalist, democratic elites in government, business, and the media, secretly controlling the world and running a global-style sex trafficking ring. Most recently, QAnon fans have claimed that COVID-19 is a hoax and that the U.S. election was rigged against Donald Trump. Social media giants, recognizing these conspiracies, were gobbling up a lot of engagement on their sites, took action in censoring them. And then he goes on
Where
to
do you defend them?
So it doesn't sound like he believes in it at all. He referred to it as a conspiracy theory.
And then he also said,
well,
they
yeah,
took action.
QAnon.
No. Where did he defend them? Come on, pull that up.
Sure.
Where did he defend these guys? I don't think he did.
Well, I'm looking through it. It's a long piece.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't defend them. Mark Ledwich.
Oh, here we go. QAnon believers have already demonstrated their ability to do this very well. He's talking about basically getting content out there and getting their content out there even when they're already banned from Facebook.
How is that
YouTube.
defending?
Hold on. When they hijacked the hashtags "Save the Children" and "Save Our Children," a fundraiser for anti-trafficking
Yeah, this was
charity.
gross.
I mean, that's not what those two things were for. Those
So
were
you're
not.
saying he's wrong?
He's wrong about those. Were not fundraisers
but
for anti-trafficking. Come on, what? I just
You
told
said he defended QAnon, and then you read an academic piece where he talked about them, not in favor of them.
No. I just told you how he called the hashtag, the slogans they use online. He called them a fundraiser for anti-trafficking charity.
No, I think didn't he say they hijacked a hashtag
Right.
which was for an anti-trafficking
Right.
charity, like they stole it from?
Right, they stole it from them.
That's not how I'm reading this, but maybe it is. Let me read it again. It seems
He's not a defender of QAnon, dude.
I mean,
I've talked to this guy. He's not even political.
okay.
He's
If
like,
you talk to him, then that means something you would give a more.
Well, that's why I talked to him, because when he did the research and pulled it up, I asked him for comments and to clarify, and that's what we talked about. So, look, I will absolutely concede the issue is, like I mentioned, we had Alad on. He's a cool dude, and he referenced, when it came to abortion, Pew Research data, and I was like, well, that's what I read, and I pull up Gallup, and Gallup had a different phrasing, which, you know what, man? The challenge is everybody's fighting over politics and trying to win, and you're going to get researchers who try and argue both sides. So, like, if I show you a researcher who says the left gets favored, you're going to be
He
like,
just
well, how
wants
can
to be
that be
able
otherwise?
to.
Otherwise?
He just
And I'll
wants
say the
that
exact
wiggle
same thing to
room.
you, and then ultimately people.
He
are
just
trying to
wants
figure out
that
who's telling
wiggle
the truth
room
and
so he can
who's
lie.
So that's a reality.
Just give me plenty of wiggle
mention a
room.
major flaw with that study, though. I mean, that is a flaw to consider.
No, that was the point I was making, though.
Right.
So it's not the point you wanted it to be. But my point was, if a regular person goes on YouTube, are they going to be fed in which direction? And the data shows the average person is fed to the left. Now, if you're talking about logged in users, we need to know how many of the average person who watches YouTube is logged in. It's actually relatively low.
Okay.
But there's, I think, a billion views per month. No, it's more than that. It's like 100 billion or something like that. Most people aren't logged in. Most people don't log in. So it's like, when their cookies or whatever are in there, what are they being recommended? If you want to argue that logging in changes things, for sure, let's do an analysis on that. Maybe there's something to be seen, but what percentage of people is that relative to the average person? Let's move on from this. Let's talk about abortion.
Sure.
Because
let's move on and pivot. Like, you're gonna pivot. We gotta pivot. Whenever it gets bad, we gotta
and then
pivot.
We'll go to my tweet so we can talk about
Center
the
console
Starbucks will cover
testimonies.
travel expenses for employees, abortion, and gender change treatments. Starbucks has announced that they will be covering
Oh my
eligible travel costs
God.
for employees and their family members to get abortions or gender change treatments if the services are not available within 100 miles of where they live. Quote, in 2018, Starbucks broadened its health insurance options for transgender partners to not only include gender assignment surgery, which had been covered since 2013, but also a host of procedures that were previously considered cosmetic, such as breast reduction and augmentation surgery, facial feminization, hair transplants, and more, the company said in a press release. So this is, Tesla did the same thing, actually. Tesla announced that if their employees need an abortion, they'll cover the costs. I think Amazon did this as well. Well, let's talk about, this is the news story to kick off what I actually want to get into, so forgive me for the ridiculous segue. But I have a tweet here.
Sure.
I said, what happens if a woman is on the way to get an abortion at 8 months, but goes into labor in the lobby of the abortion clinic and accidentally delivers the baby before it could be terminated? So let me explain the backstory as to why I tweeted this. I was having dinner with a friend in New York, and they said that they were pro-choice. And I said, do you agree with abortion after viability. Viability, of course, is defined as the point at which the baby can survive on its own. He said, well, no, of course not, right? But like in the first trimester, in the first several weeks, like,
yeah, he is.
It's the mother's decision. The government doesn't have a right. And I said, okay. But you say pro-choice, right? So do you think that if, like, would you favor the Democrats' position? And he assumed, yes, I would. I think the Republicans want to ban it and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, they do. But the Democrats tried passing a bill that would legalize in many states termination of the baby at up to 9 months, up to the point of birth. In Colorado, they've already legalized it. Kathy Tran in Virginia tried passing a bill. Ralph Northam famously talked about it. So the bill proposed by Democrats that was recently voted down does include a provision, HR 3755, that says in Section 4, Paragraph 9, Section 4, of course, starts by saying a patient has a corresponding right to receive such services without any of the following limitations or requirements. Section 9 says a prohibition on abortion after fetal viability, when in the good faith medical judgment of the treating healthcare provider, continuation of the pregnancy would pose a risk to the pregnant patient's life or health. I showed this article to my friend and said, I have a question. If the baby is viable, why kill it? And he said, well, you wouldn't. And I said, what would you do? He's like, I don't know.
Wait,
said, okay.
Is this the
and he was like, no, maybe they're saying
8-month
just end the
thing?
pregnancy. And I was like, right.
Is this
That's
about
not,
his tweet?
Induced labor is not abortion, is it? Maybe. Is that what you're saying? Because if you're saying induced labor or C-section is abortion, I think
So when I'm actually thinking maybe his virality, his trending on Twitter is due to that tweet that he made.
we're in agreement here. You can end the pregnancy, but preserve the life of the baby. The definition of abortion, according to Merriam-Webster, though, is the termination of a pregnancy, following or directly relating to the death of the baby after the fact. So I don't understand why they would have to create a law and try to pass it that would legalize abortion at all. If a woman is 8 months pregnant and the doctor says, if you continue this pregnancy, you will die, well, then they deliver the baby. They have to remove the baby, right? Why kill the baby in the process when you can just remove it?
Can you read that for me one more time?
So the important first section of Section 4A, General Rule, a healthcare provider has a statutory right under this act to provide abortion services and may provide abortion services, and that provider's patient has a corresponding right to receive such services without any of the following limitations or requirements. Section 9 reads, a prohibition on abortion after fetal viability when, in the good faith medical judgment of the treating healthcare provider, continuation of the pregnancy would pose a risk to the pregnant patient's life or health.
Sure. Okay. In terms of, and it even says in the good faith, what was it? The good faith medical decision of the doctor. Right. If you're carrying a baby up to 8 months, I mean, you want that baby. If it's a situation where it's the mother's health, then I mean, they wanted the baby.
Well, so if the woman's at 8 months pregnant, so I tweeted this.
Right.
And
well, that's a little bit different from what you tweeted.
A woman is at 8 months pregnant. 8 months. So I'm saying the reason I tweeted that is because if a woman is at 8 months pregnant and she decides to terminate the pregnancy, aborting the baby.
No, you don't. You know, at 8 months pregnant, you don't decide to terminate. You have to terminate because of medical reasons. Something's going on.
So it's not a woman's decision.
What are you talking about?
Is it a woman's decision to terminate the pregnancy or not?
I mean, for her own health, I mean, it's between her and her doctor, right?
But are you saying it's not her decision?
What do you?
I said if a woman decides to terminate a pregnancy.
It's not like she's up and decided to go.
I didn't say she up and decided. I'm saying if a woman decides to
because
terminate a pregnancy,
of medical issues.
For any reason.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
but I think you have to add because of medical reasons. No, because it's important to be very specific that people are not carrying a fetus and for 8 months and then just going, I don't know. That's not happening. There's already restrictions that say there's already restrictions that say at that moment you
about Gosnell, right? Mm-hmm. Women were getting elective abortions at 9 months.
We're talking.
But we don't need to argue edge cases. Let me go back to my point.
So we don't need to.
I want to make a point here because health of the mother. So
no. Hold on. I'm sorry, man. I don't want to deviate from the point because I have a sincere question based on the law. An abortion is
okay. So it says right here, what happens if a woman is on the way to get an abortion at 8 months but goes into labor in the lobby of the abortion clinic and accidentally delivers the baby before it could be terminated? Oh, they didn't read the law Democrats tried to pass, which would allow for post-viability abortions. What? Okay, I feel like that's a Republican conspiracy theory, right? Why abort a baby instead of inducing labor or okay.
It's legally defined as terminating a pregnancy of or relating to the ending the baby's life. The baby dies in the process, right? If you're saying, okay.
Well, abortions also happen when the baby has already died. There's been a miscarriage.
Of course,
yeah.
Right. So let me. I read you the law.
Yeah. So
it
that's
would
the
legalize
tweet.
A woman for the reasons of health and good faith to terminate the baby up to 9 months because of its viability. Viability extends from 21 weeks until the point of birth. So this bill would actually legalize in many states a baby just before birth being killed, like aborted, right?
for medical reasons. If there's
Well,
if
what medical
necessary,
reason?
well, if a mother's life is in danger, or if there's something wrong with something's wrong with the fetus.
Well, so it's talking about the life of the patient's life, and we're not talking about the fetus. Something's wrong with the fetus. I get it. Like the baby's already dead. The baby's already dead.
Right.
Here's my question.
No one's carrying a baby for 8 months and then has to go.
That's not an argument.
Does he not understand how long
saying
labor
no one does a
lasts?
thing
Yeah.
is not real because some people did and some people don't, and we're talking about the law. The law says if a woman is pregnant,
He
and
thinks
for any
this is
reason-
a trick
do you believe that for
question.
any
Does he
reason
not
a woman
realize
has the right to
people
terminate
have?
pregnancy?
Me personally, yes, I believe it's a woman's body.
Up to
She has
9
the right to
months?
do- What's that?
Up to 9
Up to 9
months.
Yeah.
So you think a woman who's pregnant with a baby at 9 months, she can say, snip its neck?
I mean, we have laws that basically say they can't just up, snip, and snack. I mean, that's a really weird way to put it.
Do you think so? Do you know how they
That
perform
is a weird way to say that. Yeah, he
Do you
is.
think that's okay for a baby who's
He's a bad man.
8 months and 2 weeks?
Can I say that?
But they're not doing. No one is.
He's a
not
bad
actively
man,
doing that.
Tim
You're just
Pool.
saying you're not going to talk about edge cases, then you're
But-
going around talking about edge cases.
You used.
I mean,
when you said no one does that, I'm going to give you an example of it happening. I'm not trying to argue that you are. So
No,
the issue is,
I'm not
it
talking
does
about- I'm not
happen.
talking-
Should it be legal? You said yes, right? Here's my question. Let me ask you the question, and
ahead.
please, if the woman is told by a doctor, if you
Yeah,
continue
what
the
is his
pregnancy, you
point?
will
Good
die,
point. Yeah, good
right?
question.
Should they kill
INTS.
the baby?
At 8 months,
Yes.
If the mother is told that she will die, and there's no way at 8 months, we're talking 8 months. This woman wants the baby. They'll do whatever they can to save.
Yeah,
the baby.
this is
That's what
such
the
a.
law says. The law allows for the termination of the baby.
It says the good faith. It says the doctor.
is what it's like to
and the doctor
argue
I'm arguing the woman's not sick.
with
if a woman is sick at 8 months,
pure
the baby is viable. It says
congealed
after
block
fetal
of
viability.
ignorance.
And the doctor says,
Like,
if
Tim
you continue
Pool
with the
is
pregnancy,
the-
your health is at risk. Do you believe it should be legal at
Is
that
the
point
processed
to kill the
meat
baby?
of-
No, I'm not asking. I'm saying yes or no. Do you think it should be legal? They're trying to legalize it. Doesn't matter if it's happening. They're trying to legalize it. Yes or no?
They're trying to legalize the fact that women at 8 months pregnant could find out something is horribly wrong with the fetus, where it will die as soon as it's born, be in pain.
Or not.
I'm answering the question to you
No,
right now.
because you're saying something I agree with you on, and no one disagrees with you on. Everyone wants to preserve the health of the mother.
Sure.
Why kill the baby in the process?
They're not killing the baby in the process.
Why
They don't have to.
legalize the killing of the baby in the
They're
process?
not legalizing
Yes,
it.
they are. Read the law. I read it to you how many times? After fetal viability, the baby can
God,
survive on its own.
Tim.
They can perform an abortion if the mother's health is at risk. Why kill the baby? Why not include in that all efforts must be made to save the baby's
Right there, when it says the exact wording, I don't have it in front of me
Where?
because I have what the doctor said, the good faith efforts of the doctor.
Yeah, the
doctor's looking out
decor
for
is pretty
patient,
awesome,
not
isn't it?
the
Yeah.
baby. Abortion is the termination of the baby. If it wasn't about legalizing the killing of the baby, they would say perform a C-section or induce labor. When they're what this is right here, it says they cannot prohibit abortion. Late-term abortion is a practice with legal definitions where the baby is killed, its limbs are removed, and it's sucked out. If the baby is viable, why not just induce labor or perform a C-section? In fact, when Hassan quoted my tweet, that's what his followers said. Apparently, they disagree with you.
I mean,
What is going on? Why is this hiccuping? Oh, it's like... Oh crap, chat, I forgot to ask, how are my frames? Are my frames okay?
At 8 months, the baby is viable. It says after fetal.
for the health of the mother or for the child.
Killing the baby.
Yes,
It needs to happen.
If there's something terribly, horribly wrong with the child, which
Would you agree then?
and immediately die or be in horrible pain for hours before dying anyway?
Would you agree with a provision added to this bill?
Yeah, he
saying
does have a
all efforts
really
must
horrible imagination, Temple.
be or otherwise. So the issue here is, I'm pro-choice.
What was your feelings on the Terry Schiavo case?
Oh, I don't have strong opinions on that one. I mean, for one,
You
I
just don't care.
well, I didn't say I don't care. It's a difficult moral question. I don't have the answers to.
Okay, so
You've got
who did you think? Who do you more lean towards there?
I'd probably say we would lean.
Yeah, I always thought, yeah, the decor is really strange because you've got like a katana and a musket pistol. Is that what that is? Like a pirate? So it's like a pirate sword and a musket, and it's not like, I don't know. It's a interesting combination, right?
Towards preserving the life of Terry Schiavo.
Even though that's not what she wanted.
Well, if that was the case, yeah, I don't know enough about it. If she signed a do not resuscitate, I'd
No,
say,
she told her husband that she did not want to be left in a vegetative state.
then that's her right with signing a DNR. Absolutely. Then,
But this was according to her husband, and there's no formal paperwork, and her parents said, "We will take care of
then
her."
you can't do it.
Yeah.
If she had a DNR, I respect the DNR.
I do keep dropping frames. Okay.
Without a legal do not resuscitate.
I think I see why too.
As for abortions,
The husband would be that.
well, right. I mean, I'm not the boss of people. I'm not the king.
No. Because the thing that Shams just said, and then you agreed with,
Chat.
was that if she is in a
He
vegetative state,
personifies the
and
banality of
the husband
evil.
says
He is,
that I was told by her that that's it, and then he brought up how there's no proof of that. The parents wanted her.
Chat, I'm going to try to get onto a different Wi-Fi so that I'm not dropping frames. This will probably drop me out for a second, but then I'll be back stronger than ever. So let's hope that this works. Everybody cross your fingers. And we're back. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I just wanted to get on the stronger internet so we don't drop frames anymore, and we should be good now.
They said they would take care of her.
We should be
That's the
good.
kin, though. The husband is. The husband has the ultimate decision of her of her care.
Right.
Yes.
I agree.
That's not.
I'm adding the context because he said if she signed paperwork. And so
If-
I'm pointing out that was
Next
not the
of kin.
situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just
So-
making sure, just being 100% clear here.
So social liberals is a reference to.
So wait. So do you think that in the case of
Yeah,
a
why does he
child's
care?
health,
Yeah.
that and they're not adults, so they can't make decisions for themselves. Do you think the parent can make that decision for a child?
Oh, yeah. No,
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So if a baby
they're very much against people, especially women, having full bodily autonomy.
is born in a vegetative state, can the parent
made
decide
it,
to
we
put
made
it out
it.
of its misery and not let it just die a slow, agonizing death and say, "I am the next of kin. This is not how this life
We're
should
back.
be. We
Yay.
should just end that life and life support."
No.
You don't think that should be?
No, the
case?
baby wasn't involved in a traumatic injury. Right. So there's questions.
They
beyond-
were born with a life altering, could not even, perhaps won't live.
Yeah,
And you're saying it's okay for them to be in a vegetative state for who knows how long. They likely will die in a few months, maybe even make it a year. Just
Okay,
in
so
the
he's talking about
hospital.
the Terry
You're saying
Schiavo
that-
Anything you want to
case.
it, I think there's a difference between someone who suffers.
So you don't
injury or
think parents have
disease.
you don't think parents have the right to do what's best for their children?
Well, let's distinguish.
Who said that?
Can I?
You just said that.
No, let's
Killing
distinguish.
the baby isn't the best for the baby.
Yes, that is. That's a parent's decision. If the baby is in a vegetative state and will never have any quality of life, the humane, caring, loving thing for a parent
Now
to
who's
do.
arguing?
So if I remember correctly, the Terry Schiavo case, it's a woman who was in a vegetative state. Her next of kin, I believe, ordered, for the life support to be withdrawn because, there was no chance of her, being able to, she wasn't going to. Anyway, there was a move, I think, by the state to prevent the life support from being withdrawn, and I think the federal government might have even intervened.
Arguing edge cases.
What are you talking about?
I said now who's arguing?
No,
edge
because
cases?
you brought up the Ralph
I gave you
Northam
my
thing.
answer. The
Yeah.
answer is
You
no,
brought up the
baby-
Ralph Northam thing.
And the right wing did all this really gross stuff to try to make people think that she was still kind of okay, that she was still kind of responsive in some way. They tried to portray involuntary movements maybe that she made in the vegetative state as being indicative of I don't know. It was yeah, I don't know that much about it, but it sounds really horrible. And that's what Tim Pool is defending kind of, but with adding it to an abortion scenario for some reason.
I gave you the answer.
So you don't think
I
that
clearly don't agree with the idea that a baby is born with deformity. You kill it. I clearly.
we're not
have
talking about just we're
legal
not
questions
talking about
an
we're not-
individual
we're not
who
talking about
suffers
with a
serious injury.
limp arm or something. We're talking about a quality of life disability where they will never be able to
Yeah, no, I
have
don't
any
care.
quality of
Right,
life.
right.
See,
I can say the same thing over and over again. I believe that we should not allow doctors to kill a baby, regardless. I think every effort should be made to preserve the life of the baby.
okay, so you don't think that people should have a right to?
Yeah, the
die of
husband has the
dignity
right
at all,
to
Kathy Newman, we're not talking about that.
husband has the right to terminate life support. That the mother can do the same.
If a woman,
I think that's. I think it all. Really
Yeah, this is
If a woman
wraps
like
up
Terry
together.
Schiavo suffers a stroke, a disease, she's older and later in life, and she has the ability to make a cognitive decision, or her next of kin does, and it's the issue of do we pull her off life support? That's different from a newborn baby in a different legal
But
context.
the legal context is the parents have the full right to do what's best for their child.
I think you
this
need
is a conservative position too, by the way, in terms
know.
of parents
How many
having the
times I
right
gotta
to.
tell you I'm a liberal?
Okay,
But
all right.
So let me
there's-
make a point.
Okay.
The issue. Well, go ahead.
Well, because we have to distinguish between two things. There are situations where a person is injured to the point where they require extraordinary measures in order to stay alive. So we're not talking about food, water, basic treatment. We're talking about things like being hooked up to an insane amount of machines.
Yeah,
things that
exactly.
are incredibly
Exactly,
burdensome.
Zara.
There is a difference between a person in that situation who's saying without all of these unnatural means I would die, so pull the plug, and saying this person's alive but they're suffering, so we're going to kill them. There's a difference between pulling the plug in a life support situation where that person requires extraordinary means to stay alive and a person who is alive and is sustained, but you're deciding to go out of your way to kill them. Those are two different
Oh,
situations.
what's up,
That's a good
Perth?
point. But
Good to
also,
see you.
I think the point you're making too is if the baby was in a situation where it was done. Let's say the baby's born with a hole in its heart, which happens, and it's bleeding too fast for them to try and surgically repair it. My answer is we'll repair it. Let's say baby's born without a brain. It's happened before.
Yep.
I do not. I think the issue is. I'll tell you why I take the pro-choice stance, the traditional liberal one, not the modern liberal one. I
Oh
don't
my
believe the government has a
God,
right to
the
dictate a person
traditional liberal.
giving
He's
their
a
body or blood to another
traditional
person.
liberal.
And there are questions of
Folks, just like
privacy, and there are questions of
Sargon.
government overreach. However, when another person enters the equation, you have one person sharing two bodies. That's why I'm like, you know, so second and third trimester abortions are where things get risky. Now, when it comes to a baby being born, the question is,
Did he say
the
one
legal
person
permission to
sharing
kill a
two
baby? I
bodies?
think
He
the
did,
answer is
didn't
no.
he?
Every effort must be made to save the life of the baby. In the instance of Terry Schiavo, every effort was made to save her, but she was dwindling. So it's a question of
What is the effort to save the life of a baby born without a brain?
actually none. So the baby that was born without a brain, just it was the cerebellum, I think. I don't know if you know the story. The involuntary functions all functioned completely fine, and general stimuli happened. So the baby was able to eat, was able to basically live and grow, but not articulate thoughts or learn math and things like that. The bigger issue is not a singular case, right? The issue I have with the Terry Schiavo case is the legal protections of the individual.
Meow, meow, meow.
Terry Schiavo in this instance has had an opportunity to file a DNR or not. Without a do not resuscitate, it falls to the next of kin. A baby hasn't had that opportunity. We don't know. So we just say, preserve the life to the best of our abilities. There are many circumstances where babies were born in a state that a doctor has said it's not viable, and the babies actually live. There are many people who actually survived attempts at abortion. There are many people who were born and the doctor didn't believe it was possible. There are many people who were born where the doctor said, you will die if you have this baby. In fact, a good friend of mine was bedridden, I think the entirety of her pregnancy, because the doctor said, we have no choice. And
Oh,
she said,
no.
I will lie still on a bed for
What
9
was the
months to have
Prime
this baby."
panel
And the doctor was
about?
like, you can't do it. And she had the baby and the kid's healthy and alive and living.
And she made that choice.
Absolutely. So
Not everyone can stay in a bed for 9 months straight.
Agreed.
That's amazing.
So my issue is,
If only this country did something for mothers, they could all be in that same position.
So the reason I disagree with late-term abortion, especially, partial birth abortion is out of the question, is that when a secondary individual's rights are brought into question, you don't have an easy way to say one person's rights trump another. In which case, I think late-term abortion is wrong.
I think the thing that's wrong with this, right,
as the Democrats proposed it, would be
is that like Tim has such little regard for women that because of the perception of like, well, like basically mom's body is basically baby's body, and oh god, I shouldn't even be using his language. So one of the other things that he does is he's going to use the language that's more emotionally evocative towards pulling people to to anti-choice positions, right? He's going to use but yeah, this is same idiots making the same slime arguments. Oh my god, last time I was on there, I ended up on with like a really sussy baka. A very sussy baka named Flamenco. A very sussy baka indeed.
wrong. And
That
for
was
some
a
reason,
mistake, yeah.
Seamus over
That
here,
was a
who's pro-life, who
mistake.
disagrees with me, Lydia, who disagrees with my position, have a much more reasonable position to where I'm at than the left does. So for me,
The goddamn online
social
left.
liberal my whole life.
The
I believe
goddamn-
there should have been efforts to alleviate
goddamn
inequality
online
among
left.
marginalized races growing up in Chicago and experiencing it. And I believed that freedom of speech was very, very important, and we must protect the civil rights of all people. And my family typically was in the position of first trimester. It's begrudgingly okay. We don't like it, but we recognize
be right back.
the extent to which we're willing government to allow to have a say in
Meow.
certain matters when it comes to a person's life. But when it comes to the issue of a viable baby, then killing it would be egregious and wrong. Now, that position doesn't exist among the modern left in terms of the political space. I can talk to a Democrat like my friend who will tell me that's their belief, and I'll say, but that's not what the Democrats are trying to pass. According to the CDC, abortion would end the life of the baby, and the Democrats passed a bill that had a blanket open, the life of the baby can be ended if the mother's health is in question. But if the mother's health is in question, it doesn't explain why you would end the life of the baby when you could just induce labor or perform a C-section.
And that's what happens when that situation is
That's not
possible.
abortion.
Wait, what?
Let me start
Go
again.
ahead.
The CDC defines abortion as a procedure intended to terminate a suspected or known ongoing intrauterine pregnancy, and that does not result in a live birth. The Democrats' bill would remove any restriction on abortion, that is, ending a pregnancy with no live birth after viability, if the pregnant patient's life is in jeopardy.
So where are you? I'm a little bit. The reason I think there's some confusion here is I'm confused what your position is. What is the Tim Pool position on this? Because you said safe, legal, and rare.
Well, I've absolutely defined it several times. Let me do it again for you.
Okay.
Within the first trimester.
Do you think it's not safe, legal, and rare now?
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
I don't know. That's what you've been saying. That it needs to be safe, legal, and rare. So what do you? So what do you?
So
So what do you consider?
Colorado.
What do you consider to be safe, legal, and rare? Describe without bringing up anything in other states. Give me what you consider a safe abortion, a legal abortion, and what rare means in the term of abortion.
So safe, legal, and rare is a political catchphrase from
That you use a lot. Yes.
Right, because it represents the position of we don't like abortion, we think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? So,
But it's not. It's not wrong.
Yes, it is.
It's not wrong.
traditional liberal.
If abortion saves a woman's life, then it's not wrong. It's a medical.
But
it's
that's
a,
not- but
it's a
they're-
triumph of medicine
Hold on,
to
let me
save a
answer
woman's
the
life.
question. I'm sorry, James. Let me try and answer. So in the 90s, we said safe, legal, and rare because it represented a position we had. Abortion as contraception is wrong. What do you think? Do you think abortion as contraception is okay?
Abortion is contraception.
Like-
Well, that's why we need to have sex education because it's preferable to not do that.
I don't disagree. Do you think abortion as contraception is wrong?
I personally, I wouldn't do it because I mean I have 2 kids, so I mean I planned, and these were 2 planned children, and these are 2 kids that I wanted to have.
But is it wrong?
Is it wrong? What?
Abortion as contraception?
No, I don't think it's wrong. It's not. In a perfect world, we would have sex education, and this wouldn't happen. But we don't live in a perfect world.
Well, so why would a perfect world? I'm confused. Are you saying it's wrong or it's not wrong?
Oh, it's not wrong.
So we don't need sex education. It's fine.
No, sex education is preferable. I just said that.
Right. But irrespective of abortion as contraception, because you don't think it's wrong.
I don't think it's wrong.
Okay,
but it's
okay.
preferable that it doesn't happen.
Okay. I understand. So I think it's wrong, but I don't think it should. I don't like the idea the government intervenes at a certain stage in the pregnancy, and so.
But you still haven't answered my question about what safe, legal, and rare means to you. Like what does rare for you mean in the sense of abortion?
Not abortion as contraception.
Okay.
Which is 92% of abortions, elective abortions.
Okay. We have in terms of
What percentage is rape or incest? I think
it's like 1%. I think.
Right.
It's
less
small.
than
It's small.
0.84, I think.
Yeah.
So rare is people should not be going out having sex, getting pregnant, and then being like, get an abortion. However, my position, because it comes from a libertarian stance, the government shouldn't be involved, means it's going to happen. I don't like it. I think it's wrong. But safe, legal, and rare means legal, means the government doesn't intervene.
I mean, I feel like he's missing like the very basic argument. And all you got to ask one of these pro-lifers is, so like, when does life begin? Is it at conception? Are the egg and sperm? Like what are we gonna say, right? We're gonna determine that, okay? And wherever they just say, you ask them, okay, why? And they're gonna give you an answer that's like, I don't know, self-referential, circular. It's not gonna be a good answer, basically, because there is no answer. There's no way to say and make the claim that life begins at this time or life begins at that time. It is a question people have argued about for ages, right? And in truth, it's not a question that we can answer. It's kind of a philosophical question, right? So, being that there's not like an answer to that question, who should decide? And the obvious answer to me is the person that's pregnant should decide, right? That's for them to decide. But I don't know, like Temple's like stuck in this mentality of like, I don't know, like relying on conventional wisdom as if it's scientific fact.
However,
and very often it's not.
I mean,
Very
by
often it
the sense of it
deviates.
being legal, the government has intervened because they've made it legal.
no, the government doesn't make things legal. Things are either legal or things already are legal, or they're decriminalized, or they're made illegal.
If
The government doesn't make something legal for you.
If Roe v. Wade gets overturned, what happens in this country? Abortion
states-
becomes up to the states who can make it illegal, right?
But they're right. But states can already remove the restrictions in place. Okay, so you said they're making it legal.
They
They're
can
not making it legal.
they
make it
can
illegal or
remove some restrictions.
So to answer your question, as I've been trying to.
Wait, we don't go by the trimester thing anymore, right?
What do you mean?
Roe v. Wade isn't the law. Roe v. Wade is the law of the land when it comes to abortion, but we don't go by first, second, and third trimester when it comes to abortion.
Right. Those
regulations.
are just easy ways to understand what I really mean.
No,
Let me clarify.
no, because that's not accurate at all. It's not just an easy way to understand. You know what KCV Planned Parenthood is, right?
Yes.
What is it?
It's the 1992 provision that removed the restrictions on trimester and raised the question of viability. I don't know what you're asking.
Okay, and it also paved the way for more
I don't know the point you're trying to make.
restrictions.
Right. Okay.
So we already allowed in this country, thanks to Roe v. Wade and KCV Planned Parenthood, we can a state can decide to put restrictions on abortion, even in the first trimester now, since 1992, KC.
Right.
And after viability, which is different for every woman, it's up to a doctor to decide when through scanning and everything. They can then say, Oh, once it's viable, the state can ban abortion completely at that point. Except for in the case of health of the mother.
Right.
And
which makes no sense.
how does that make no sense?
Why kill a baby if it's viable?
No. You don't understand.
Yeah.
They can ban abortion except for when it needs to happen to protect the life and safety and health of the mother. I mean, we already see this. We already see this.
If the baby is viable and the pregnancy needs to be ended.
I actually didn't know this about this court case. I knew that it kind of upheld Roe, but I didn't realize it allowed for these extra restrictions to enter the. So I knew that the third and the second trimester, there could be like restrictions placed, but I didn't know that KC had allowed that to happen in the first trimester.
Why kill the baby?
We're talking at like could be like 20 weeks.
You're right. Viability specifically. At 20 weeks and the baby's not viable. That's why I don't care for the trimester thing. My point is, if the baby is viable, life rights come into play. So for conservatives and pro-lifers, life rights are in play from the day of conception.
Well, you're looking at this
like you're arguing with a pro-choice person
because you're telling me
you
that,
realize that,
like,
right?
when do you think abortion should be legal? Like when should there be ban on abortion? Like what
viability? Because at that point the baby can just be delivered.
That's not true all the time.
Right. So that's why I said it should be all attempts to save the life of the baby shall be made. If the baby dies because it can't survive, well, that's difficult. If the health of the mother's at risk, and they make an attempt to save the 6 months, the baby's barely viable. The mother is told you're at risk for this condition, and we have to end the pregnancy. I'm sorry. Every effort should be made to save the life of the baby. But the baby might die, and I recognize that. It's unfortunate, and I think that should be allowed. The abortion should happen. The abortion as legally defined shouldn't. A induced delivery via C-section or labor.
So what is your opinion about because we're talking about this now, and I think obviously we have our opinions, and we're agreeing on some things and disagreeing on others. What is your opinion on what's going on right now, though? Like that's
Colorado removed all restrictions.
No, I'm talking about what's going to happen right now with the Supreme Court.
Yeah, they're going to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Okay.
Red states are going to enact trigger laws, and they're going to outright ban abortion across the board.
Yes.
Right. I disagree with that.
Okay, good.
I think, especially when the conservatives argue rape and incest, it seems to be a conflicted argument where they say, in the instance of rape and incest, we'll allow that exception. And I'm like, I can understand that point from a libertarian perspective,
Meow,
but not
meow,
from
meow.
a moral position on when life begins. Because, I mean, Seamus.
No exceptions. Yeah, there's a couple things I want to jump into here. So you mentioned
it's
situations where a
Seamus.
mother has to have an
What
abortion
happened to
because her
Moon
life
Lord
is at
and
risk.
Weed Lord?
And there are doctors I've
What
spoken to. There are
happened to
even
Moon Lord
notes
and
petitions
Weed
signed by
Lord?
literal hundreds of doctors who say that is an inaccurate description. That is not what happens. There is no such thing as a medically necessary abortion. There are procedures that might need to be performed on a woman who is pregnant, which can cause her to miscarry. But that is not the same as an abortion. Abortion is when you go in there with the direct intent to end the life of an unborn child. If there's an operation, I just want to say, if there's an operation that has to be performed in order to save the life of the mother, but it poses a risk to the unborn child and increases the probability that they will die, that there will be a miscarriage, that is not an abortion. That is an attempt at a medical procedure that has an unintended consequence.
That is the CDC's definition of abortion.
Yeah.
So I think that's important because when I tweeted that thing about abortion at 8 months, Hassan's followers said, "You're an idiot." They would perform a C-section or induced labor, but the CDC doesn't define induced labor or C-section as that. It says not resulting in a live birth.
What I'm confused about here, and we could talk about this. I feel like we've already covered this.
It expands the state's abilities to curtail. Yeah, okay. I actually didn't realize that.
Talking with you about this is, for the past couple of weeks, I've noticed you've been talking a lot about this issue. And it's been a big issue since Roe v. Wade, but your focus seems to have been on these sort of edge cases that bolster the anti-choice position. Like you're not sitting here and talking about how horrible it is about all the women who will miscarry and go through all sorts of the legal issues in these red states. You're not sitting here talking about
Can they move?
You know how hard that is for people? Not everyone is. No, it's not just
later,
that's a major factor.
They just they asked for more money. That's why they got kicked.
Apparently, that when I tell conservatives, if you want to live in these areas where your kids are in these schools, you need to get up and move, and it might be hard. I mean, my position on this is
what did schools have to do with what we're talking about right now? Like we're talking
so
about.
I'm explaining to you what you misunderstand.
No, but
let me answer your
okay,
question.
Go ahead. Okay.
When you're like, why aren't you telling women this and others? I say the same thing to conservatives. Like my position on personal responsibility is the same across the board, regardless of what the issue is.
No, it's not. It's not because you've been focusing on the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks, however long it's been. You've been focusing on talking about these edge case scenarios where, like, we bring up Ralph Northam. He's not even relevant anymore. That law. This is 3 years ago. Now he's not even in power.
Is Kathy Tran?
What, to me?
Is Kathy Tran?
Maybe she is. I don't know, but that bill is not up for anything. It would be.
So they're trying to pass these bills that I don't like, right?
Well, they're not going to be able to.
So is it because maybe I spoke up against it and helped contributed to pushback from people who disagree with it?
Is that true? Did you do that?
Considering that I've been speaking about that issue for a long enough period of time, and we live next to Loudoun County and people in Virginia are fans of the show and I see them, I think we did. I think the fact that I said these psychopaths are trying to pass a bill where the woman actually said at the point of birth you could kill the baby, I think that absolutely contributes to people being like, vote her out, get her out. Now, I don't know if she's still in office, but Northam for sure. The Ralph Northam thing, absolutely. Matt Walsh came down here 20 minutes away.
Sure, okay.
So that's why I talk about
Tim
it.
Pool's got power. Okay.
Because
so why
in
aren't,
Colorado,
why aren't you using the same power to fight what we're talking about right now?
Fight what?
What's going to happen to a women's rights?
I will not stand next to a man who told me to my face he is okay with killing a baby at 9 months. If I had to make the choice between banning abortion across the board or standing next to people who would advocate for 9-month abortion, I will stand next to the people who are saying ban it across the board, period.
Okay.
You need to understand how psychotic the left in Colorado sounds when they say terminate the life of the baby at viability to the overwhelming majority of this country that think that's wrong. But 70% of this country is pro-choice and believes there should be restrictions.
And there are right now. You should be advocating
and
right
Colorado
now. You
is
should be
removing
advocating
them.
right now for
No.
exactly what we have. So you disagree with Roe v. Wade?
I don't disagree with it.
But you do. Because
in what capacity?
Because how does Colorado?
Well,
how is Colorado allowed to have those restrictions under Roe v. Wade?
No, I'll agree with you to a
I
certain.
mean, you have to. No, you have to.
Right, slow
If
down.
Colorado,
I'll agree with
you
you.
just got super angry at me. Now I'm doing the same too, and I got to slow down. If you,
I made one point. You made. I'm trying to address one point.
Okay,
If
go.
I say one thing,
you said. You said exactly what I just.
I would actually say.
Oh, this is that
I would probably lean at
Virginia
this point more
legislature
towards, rights funding
smear,
in the United
right?
States.
So you okay? So you're happy Roe v. Wade is
I
going down?
wouldn't say happy. That's a bit of an overstatement.
I mean, I think, but I mean, you are now on the record saying
You have
prefer
yeah,
Roe v.
he's
Wade not being the law of the land.
He's.
I think that's. I think the issue is more so.
I mean, it's pretty simple. I think this is a easy.
You want to answer it or you want to keep talking?
I want you to answer it definitively.
Right. So I'm a moderate. Right. I
thought you were a liberal.
Moderates can be liberals.
Okay, continue.
Yeah. So social liberal is a center-left position on the political compass. That's typically where I've been my whole life. There are deep moral and ethical questions I don't have the answers to. At this point, considering the disruption in the United States and the extreme hyperpolarization, I would fall more towards on states' rights, and that's because
that's not a
Roe v.
liberal
Wade.
position at all. I mean, states' rights is firmly in right-wing libertarianism.
It's not right-wing libertarian. It's actually just general libertarian. So left libertarians also agree with decentralization of authority and power.
Left-wing libertarians do not agree with.
Does he know what a left libertarian is? Does he even know what we're talking about?
Anarchists and libertarians are not the same.
Left libertarians and comms. You think they want a strong federal government?
No, anarchists and libertarians are not the same thing.
Do you know what the political compass is?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what anarchy
Oh my God! Do you know what the political compass is? Do you know what the political compass
Anarchy means without
is?
authority.
Yeah.
So
This
if you're an
guy!
authoritarian, you adhere to what
That's the same thing
guy!
as saying no authority.
So you can be a left libertarian or a right libertarian.
Civil liberties. We're talking about civil liberties. Yes.
So if you're a left libertarian, you typically agree
Oh
with
my
what-
God.
Left libertarians agree in civil liberties across the board. They don't want like one state saying civil liberties, these civil liberties are okay, but another state is saying those civil liberties are not okay.
If the state enforces something, that's authoritarian.
Not necessarily.
I'm not saying it's authoritarianism. I'm saying it's an authoritarian position.
Oh, it comes from
So-
a position of power and authority.
Right,
Sure,
right, right.
yeah.
So left libertarian, depending on which position you're at, would advocate for different
But
degrees of authority from
okay,
government.
if you want to have the political compass position conversation, we could do that. But I
He's
want to
like
go
a
back to what
bad
you're
student
talking
that took a
about.
great
No, 'cause I
dispute
don't
to
think
the
you
Supreme
definitively said
Court.
on the record. What is your position on Roe v. Wade? Do you prefer
For it.
For it.
Yeah, my issue outside of Roe v. Wade
So
is this
you're-
country is
so-
being ripped apart.
No. But you
And
just
to
said
prevent conflict.
you just said before that you'd
Oh
prefer
my
it
God,
not to
he's
happen
so
because you
slippery.
hated what was happening in
Let me-
Colorado. And
No, that's not what I
He's
said.
such a sussy
I wish people would rewind this. People would be able to
baka.
rewind this. That's what you
Listen,
said.
calm down.
Complete sussy baka.
Colorado is the extreme left position. If I were to say the states can make their decision, Colorado is allowed to keep doing what they're doing. That's not restricting it. If I were to say the federal government should step in, it would stop Colorado from doing it. My position on Roe v. Wade, for the most part, is that I agree with it. My position on today's politics across the board is that the country is being gutted and ripped apart, and perhaps preventing conflict means pulling back on what states can do, weakening the federal government.
Okay. I mean,
That's not a position on abortion, it's a position on authority versus liberty. It means bad things will happen I don't like. But it also means I'm worried that the extreme polarization of Colorado or Virginia versus Oklahoma are deeply troubling, and maybe pulling back federal authority can help alleviate some of the tension. I'm not saying it's a guaranteed answer, and I don't know it's right. But my position on authority versus liberty is irrespective of abortion. My position on authority and liberty means
Oh my God.
bad things happen I don't like, but I'm trying to stop people from killing each other. If you have a total ban on abortion, the left goes nuts. If you have unrestricted abortion, the right goes nuts. I'm actually
so what we
worried.
have right now, it seems
Stephen-
to be,
Stephen-
you know, you talk
Yeah,
about
the
compromise,
video
right?
was
I've heard you talk about
frozen.
compromise. What we have right now would be your perfect scenario, right?
It's not, because in many states, they're removing all restrictions, and the Democrats at the federal level just tried to allow the termination of a baby at 9 months. If they add a provision to it that says all efforts must be made to save the life of a baby and took out the term abortion and said a pregnancy can
But
be ended,
that didn't pass. You don't have to worry about it.
they just tried to pass it.
And it didn't pass.
Do you know where I live?
Sure.
West Virginia.
I mean, I'm here right now.
Do you know who my senator is?
It's Joe Manchin.
And who stopped the bill from passing?
There you go.
And why do you think I'm talking about it?
Because you're a big fan of Joe Manchin.
Because Joe Manchin did something I like. I don't like Joe Manchin for the most part. But
What don't
I do
you like
this.
about him?
I think he's an establishment chill. I think he just says what he thinks is gonna play the best, and I don't think he's genuinely interested in fixing problems.
What did you think about him killing Build Back Better?
Define. You mean the infrastructure plan?
No, the bill that had a swath of things. The main thing for me, the main thing that would have really been amazing, is the child care, the return of the child tax credits, the extension of what was it, the 3K federally. I mean, those are huge, amazing things. If you're a fan of doing the best for children in this country, those things were fantastic.
So, in 2008. Into 2012, into 2016, I've always been in favor of social programs. I've always advocated for such. My concern with them is that what happens with a lot of these social programs is, let's say you get a wound on your arm, is my analogy. People are homeless, kids don't have food. Your society has a wound. So we put a bandage on it. That's a government program. We're trying to mend that damage. The problem with the government is that 12 months later, instead of taking the bandage off and assessing the issue, sunsetting or otherwise, they reapply another bandage on top.
Instead of using this weird anecdote, can you give me an actual example?
They never reassess or end programs. So when programs...
Like what program do you think should be ended?
I'm not saying they should. I don't know.
But that's what you just said.
So what I'm saying is that...
You said they should reassess
You're so
programs.
slippery.
That's what you just said.
I know, you're smiling, but you're not understanding what I'm saying. Okay?
Okay.
Physical corporations, private corporations, can fail, right?
Of course.
Social programs can't. When have we, or has there been a major reassessment of programs that have or have not worked? So I'll give you an example. You can look at the disaster that was Pruitt Igoe, right? So I did a documentary on the public housing and how instead of reassessing and solving the problem, it dissolved into racist violence and created some of the most worst racial tensions in this country in St. Louis. My issue with government programs is that they're good, but we need to make sure we have strong leadership and we don't just say, sign the check, sign the check, sign the check, sign the check. My issue right now.
What did you think of the child tax credit?
Explain, give me the details.
Sure. Parents of children under the age of, I think it was 6, would get $300 a month tax credit. And then over 6 to, I believe, I don't remember when the cutoff was. I know specifically 6 and 2-year-olds because that's the age of my children. And so every month I was able to receive, along with everybody else who has a child in that age range, $300 for the under 6,
Yep.
$250 for the 6-year-old. And for me personally, like people might be shocked to know this if they know me as a blue check on Twitter. But just having a blue check on Twitter doesn't mean you're all that rich or wealthy.
Good thing.
Yeah.
2 points though. 2 points.
Let me explain to you the child tax credit. I'm not done. So basically, they get you get that child tax credit. For me, for my family, it's a huge help. We were payable for a number of childcare things, schooling as well. Go ahead.
2 points. One, child tax credits are incredible and really good things. If there's anything we want to do in this country is provide tax breaks to parents and do what we can to encourage people to have families. Second point is my criticism of Build Back Better, for the most part, was the economy is imploding. So my perspective on a lot of these things has less to do with what a perfect society can and should do, and more so like, have you looked at the...
Hey, Dragon, yeah, good question. Worst racial tension example?
M1 money stock.
What was he talking about? A housing program in St. Louis?
One thing, while you're doing that, you said before
racial
that,
tension?
you believe you had some power based on where you are in terms of local politics.
Well, I'm talking about, as a resident of West Virginia, my advocacy plays a role in what people in West Virginia do.
While you're on air right now, you should tell Joe Manchin that the child tax credit was a huge help to families across this country.
Joe Manchin, the child tax credit was a huge help to families across this country.
I'm really happy you're doing that.
So,
and you should advocate for it more often on your show.
We literally have.
Good.
I mean, but you realize it's like that's also a deeply far right position. I'm not saying it's only a far position. If you look at, I think Romania, they do huge tax credits when you have kids.
Yep.
Like it is like conservatives are like more babies, government tax credits. Take a look at the M1 money stock.
It's weird though that that's the case in Romania because here in this country every Republican voted against it.
But it's not just voting against that. Take a look at the M1 money stock. Do you know what this is? What this is? What it represents?
Honestly, I'm not familiar with this.
Does this look shocking? This spike?
Sure.
Does it look shocking compared to going back to 1960 in terms of our money supply?
Sure.
Something weird is going on. And if you look beyond the major spike, this is the M1 money supply. It's a reference to money in circulation. In 2020, because of the pandemic, the rules were changed that allowed savings accounts to enter general money supply. It used to be that there were limitations on how much you could pull out of savings. This caused a massive spike in the money supply from 4 trillion up to 16 trillion eligible in the money supply. But we can ignore that because it's a rule change, although I think it's substantial. You take a look at from May of 2020 until today, and you can see that the economy has expanded, or I should say that the money supply has expanded by over $4 trillion. one of the reasons, if not the biggest reason why we're seeing such rapid inflation, which is gutting families, is because of the mass spending. I'd love to see a tax credit for families based on kids. I'd love to see people get huge benefits when they have kids. And I think it's one of the best ways to actually dish out tax credits.
Sure, and
Also-
I just want to also add again that Republicans vote against those things all the time. They
Right,
are
right,
the ones who
right.
vote against that. I just want to make that clear. Like we should
Right.
really.
Yeah, I don't like
hone in on that.
Republicans.
Good.
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
Good.
So when you look at the money supply, and you realize that we are headed towards a cardiac arrest, stealing that line from Hugo Ferrant in Juice Rap News, we can't sustain this. We are in dire straits right here. Diesel fuel is facing shortages. Do you know what happens if diesel shortages hit?
Oh, sure. It's harder for trucks to deliver.
No. It means they can't grow food.
Okay.
What are you gonna eat?
I'm pretty sure that inflation is a lot more complicated than he is making it out to be. He's saying that all the inflation that has gone on, that is because of what the, change of the rules on how much you can take out of a savings account, as well as the, child tax credits and the COVID money and basically programs that benefit people during COVID. That's, and it's not actually that simple. A lot of things contribute to the, the monetary overall, status as far as inflation, monetary value, and all that. Like, right? He's drastically oversimplifying it, basically, to the point
Only
where
after every trucker has run out of gas. After every factory has stopped producing and every farm stopped tilling.
So what do you think
will
we should?
socialists realize you can't eat money?
What do you think we should do about it?
I think we got to curtail the spending and raise interest rates.
Okay.
One of the things they did was
you,
raise
you,
interest
you don't
rates.
think we should raise taxes on
who?
On the wealthy?
Who's the wealthy?
I mean, who's the wealthy?
No. Like what?
I'll say, for me, wealthy is probably much lower than most based on my own.
How much do wealthy people pay in taxes?
But not enough.
What?
Not enough.
Tell
Not
me how
enough.
much you want to tax
Not
them.
enough.
What's the number?
Not enough. Probably what we taxed them back in in the FDR years.
What is that?
Probably like something like 90-something%.
But they didn't
Nine-
pay that in the FDR years. They skirted that.
Well,
That's
hold on,
part of
hold
why
on.
they adjusted the tax code.
Right. So 90% of what?
Of their tax.
their
I mean, of
income
their,
past a certain level, right?
How do rich people make money?
I mean, how do rich people make
How do
money?
rich people make money?
There's all sorts of different ways they make money. Some of them invest.
Do you know what
some
Jeff
of them-
Bezos' income is?
Oh, you're talking about because they have so much in stocks.
No.
Okay, then what are you talking about?
What you said their income.
Right.
What's Jeff Bezos' income?
Oh, I don't know if he's cashed any stocks this year. I don't know what his regular income is. I don't know.
83. His income, his salaried income is 83,000.
Right.
His actual
Okay.
income
doesn't
is
surprise me. They do that. Yeah, sure.
$1 million.
Sure.
He makes $1 million.
Sure.
That's how much he makes.
Sure.
You want to tax a guy who makes $1 million?
Yeah, for
Is,
sure.
Is that going to pay down $4 trillion in
Well, are you saying that someone like that is never going to cash in any of their stock? They don't. He just lives off $1 million a year.
They do. I actually think we should tax the rich, by the way. I just think you don't know anything about it.
What do you mean? I don't know. I simply want to tax them more. It's that simple.
But where?
What do you mean where?
Like tax
Hey,
them.
Lily.
Oh,
Meow.
Capital gains.
How much?
I just told you.
What?
Same
90% of capital gains.
Yeah.
What will that do?
What will I do? Bring them a lot of money.
Why?
I mean, why?
Why will it bring a lot of money?
Because what does that mean? Why would that bring in a lot of money? I'm telling you.
How would taxing someone's capital gains bring in money? Give me the mechanics.
If someone sells, for example, Elon Musk sells $1 billion in Tesla stock, and we take 900 million of it,
So if he doesn't
he
sell
still
the
has
stock,
100
so if
million.
he doesn't sell the stock, what happens?
Well, sure, then that happens. Yeah. Sure.
So then you're not taxing anything.
Well, they do need to. They do sell. They do. I mean, he just did though, right?
Yeah, and then he paid them more taxes than anyone else in history. I think we should tax the rich
Right.
in a variety of ways. Oh,
Yes.
did YouTube just crash
There
on
you
us?
go.
We just lost every super chat. Are you kidding me?
You lost all your super chats.
You know what I think it is?
It's
YouTube
liberalism.
deleted
It's
all of the super
liberalism.
chats.
Yeah, it's because they're
Really? Why
against
did they do that?
conservatives. They're against conservatives.
I don't think it can handle
Is he
this level
joking?
of super chat.
Is he joking?
Wow, man.
Oh my gosh.
Is
I
he
apologize to
joking?
everybody because we pushed it longer than we normally do because I think it's worth the conversation to have.
I
but
still
Wait, what
see.
happened?
I still see super chats in my replay of it. As
I can
have
only
pulled it
see
up and-
some.
Oh, cool.
I can only see like
Maybe we
10
can
of
see
them.
some, though.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to those. So here's the issue. What is that law about taxes going too high and people and then losing tax revenue?
Yeah, so this is known as the Laffer curve, and basically there are some left-wing
The
people who will say
fucking
the Laffer
Laffer
curve doesn't exist because they're not
curve.
educated to take
The
because every left
Laffer
economist
curve.
agrees
Oh
exists.
my
The only
God,
disagreement
here we go,
between the
chat.
left
We
and
are in
right
the meme
is where that problem
territory.
repeats and
We're in the
how
meme
high of a tax rate
spot.
you can get away with.
Welcome
how
to
that
the meme
changes based on
spot.
industry. But regardless of what tax rates have been, generally speaking, federal revenues have never exceeded 20% of GDP. So there's no real reason to believe we could ever have anything greater than that in federal revenue for a sustained period of time, regardless of what the tax rate is.
I'm gonna try and see if I can find an alternative way to pull up the super chats. Sorry. So
Or
well,
usually read the super chats on the show.
normally we do,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
about
we do at
9:30.
9:30. But I was like, this is a good conversation. And
Well, let's. What we should really talk about. It's kind of incredible
Well,
we haven't talked about it yet. And I
sure.
don't think it should be cut into the second part of the show.
I can't pull it.
I really think we should talk about what was the big story of the weekend. Was this mass shooting?
Let me answer the tax thing real quick, so we don't get away from it. So what happens with
Oh, he
taxes
doesn't
is
want to
when you raise
pivot. For once, he doesn't. Look at that. Look at that.
the tax rate, you reduce trade volume. Reducing trade volume actually reduces the amount of money you make. I actually agree with taxing the rich. I think we need to increase the tax brackets. I think they've not been increased in a long time. And it's not so much a percentage base. It's that if you're making 250, like right now, I think the top bracket is like 250 plus. So like somebody who makes 13 million a year in a salary is paying the same percentage as someone who makes 250. That's crazy. I certainly think we can raise the brackets so we space
Yeah,
things
hey, make
out
sure to hit
and we end
that,
up taxing
smash
the rich
that
more.
like button.
The majority of
I need to
millionaires,
say
I
that
think,
more
run
often.
What are called
Smash that like button. Okay, what's going out of style? Because it might be. They might get rid of the like button. They got rid of this like button.
And like plumbing companies. And
Smash that thing.
The people who own small.
You never
small
know
businesses with
when it'll
franchises who make more than
YouTube
$1
will
million
get
a
rid of
year.
a feature like that. Yeah.
Then there's a small handful.
Smash it while it's here. Is this a Chud slab fight? Well, I mean, no, this is Matt Bender versus
imaginary numbers.
Tim
So,
Pool. There
if
is
you raise capital gains,
Tim Pool and
you
his
reduce trade volume in the market.
and his
Reducing
co-host.
trade volume reduces your revenues. The Laffer curve he's referring
Yeah.
to. So just raising rates at 90% doesn't change anything. It just disrupts the system and causes major hiccups. Although I said I agree with
And
you
hiccups
taxing the rich.
for
I
the
think issue
economy
is,
are
for
bad.
me,
You don't
when
want,
I
you don't
made
want
this point
economic
about abortion,
hiccups.
And then all of these people associated with the left were like, they would just do a C-section, they would just do induced labor. They don't know what the
Wait, are
legal
we back
definition is.
into
They don't know the
abortion?
CDC
This
definition, and they don't know what the Democrats
motherfucker.
tried to do.
He's
Instead of
pivoting.
actually engaging honestly and legitimately
He's
saying, that's
pivoting.
an interesting point the law is making there.
Tim
They just
Pool.
ignore it, say I'm stupid, or
The
just don't even
master
engage
of
with
the
issue.
pivot.
I don't know who you're
The
specifically
strategic
talking about,
pivot.
but,
Like
I think
people on
I think we. Well, I'm sitting here and I think we engaged with it quite well.
Yeah.
So we should unless
talk
you want to
about-
continue talking about. I mean, I think we should.
Yeah, let's talk about
Yeah.
the shooter, man.
Yeah.
So he was a self-described authoritarian leftist who believed in the Great Replacement. Place him on the political map wherever you think that makes sense. He claimed he was a populist as well.
He also claimed a number of other things.
Like what?
I can tell you right now. I'm pulling
Yep.
it up. Hold on. Let me grab my
While you're pulling up, can you tell me the name of the mass shooter from Chicago?
what mass shooter from Chicago? The one who killed was it not killed
From
wait,
the same weekend?
Wait, Chicago? Or are you talking about the one in Milwaukee?
Chicago. The
Chicago?
17 people who got shot. The day
No, there
before
wasn't
this one.
17 people in Chicago who
Yeah,
got shot.
yeah, there were.
No,
Yes.
that was Milwaukee.
You're wrong.
Can you look it up?
Yeah, I can. I actually
Go
pulled it
ahead.
up before the show.
Sure.
God
Here's a
damn
police
it.
report from May 14th, Saturday. 17 people were shot. Why didn't you know the name of this shooter?
Wait, I can't see it. I can't see it.
Press release, Milwaukee, Friday, May 13th.
Oh,
2022.
Milwaukee! That's what I
sorry.
said! That's
You're
what I
right.
said.
You got me. I was wrong. I was wrong. I thought it was Chicago. You're right.
No,
it was
it's Milwaukee, and
You were absolutely right. I hate that one.
Right.
Sorry, man.
I saw that video you posted earlier today.
Yeah.
You said it wasn't covered. Mainstream media didn't cover it, right?
The Chicago one I was thinking of was I think 3 people who got shot. Sorry.
Maybe- I think
That's
maybe
my
six,
bad.
yeah, okay.
I own that one. Yeah, Chicago was 4 people who got shot.
Yeah.
I confused them.
Okay, that's fine.
Again.
No, that's okay.
Again, I was
happens.
wrong.
But you said you said that the mainstream media didn't cover those stories, right?
No, that's not what I said.
What'd you say?
I said, what's the name of the shooter from Milwaukee?
I on your video earlier today.
Why isn't it a national conversation?
No, that's not what you said.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Can you pull up the video?
not really.
You can't pull up your own video?
So if you want me to go through YouTube and spend a minute to find the source and find the exact
We would-
minute
we
in the
would- we would-
20-minute segment where I said
But
what you're trying to
you
refer to.
could pull up you could pull up the subtitles and go right to it.
I don't know.
Transcript.
No,
Yeah,
you know, I
yeah,
can tell you
yeah.
right now.
Transcript.
Okay.
Control
we spent time
F.
looking up
It's
data.
pretty
Tell me what I
easy.
said.
You said that the mainstream media didn't cover it.
Okay, I'll apologize and I'll clarify what I meant.
Matt Bender
It's not a
speaks the
national conversation.
truth.
Okay, but you said that about every. You said that same exact thing about every.
Matt
one of the
Bender
shooters you went
speaks
to.
the truth.
Every single one. I did a simple Google search of, and not only did I find local media reports, I found it on CNN, NBC
I'm
News,
not
not the local
arguing
affiliate. Okay, good. I'm
Right,
happy.
because I pulled up those stories in my video. So just to clarify, if I was imprecise, I apologize. What I mean to convey is
But
why are we having a national story
I want to be
about
clear
this
though
guy?
about why that matters, because here we're doing independent media, right? And the point is that we criticize mainstream media all the time. And I mean, I do the same thing. I pull up mainstream media stories and I criticize how things are covered all the time. For example, I'm sure on this show you've covered the string of thefts, smash and grabs that are happening in, for example, I don't know, San Francisco or something like that, at like Rite Aids. You probably say that's the reason why Rite Aids are closing. But we never cover at the same fact.
Walgreens said they were closing because of that.
Right, some places, I'm sure some places.
We covered that one time when it announced that they were doing it.
Right, but
Maybe referenced it a couple
Sure,
more.
maybe. And also mainstream media. This is not a Tim Pool issue. This is an entire media issue. The mainstream media has covered these stories ad nauseum over and over again. And if you look up the stats when it comes to
I'm sorry, man. I don't mean to interrupt you, but if we want to get at the core of my argument, it's not the media is not talking about it because I used mainstream news sources in my coverage of it.
no. What I'm bringing up is why it's important that I expect better from you in terms of doing that. No, you made a mistake. You're even admitting you made a mistake.
For the Milwaukee thing.
Right.
I know, and I was funny because I was so sure of myself and I was so wrong.
Right. It happens. It happens. It happens. It happens to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm bringing up what you said earlier in your video today, where you, for each story, you said that the mainstream media just didn't cover these things.
Right. So I'm going to clarify that.
Yes.
I
know you're clarifying that. I'm just bringing up why I think that's important.
Chat,
So
am
I'll
I
say,
like
As an independent
cut in
media
half
outlet, your viewers
on your
are coming
screen?
to you for news that they think
Am
is
I-
of
am I-
higher quality
Am
than
I
what they
like,
find
is
in
my
the
face
mainstream.
like
Kinda is.
sliding?
That's the goal, right?
Like I've
The
been
same
cut
for
in
me,
half
the same for
by-
every other show that I watch
It would
on
help you
Like
if you read
Gio
the law of
Brando
Democrats
style?
if you're going to do that.
What are you talking about?
Well, how is it
Are
that
you
I read
seeing
the
this,
law,
or
but
is it
Democrats
just an
don't have to do
artifact of my
What are you talking
OBS?
about right now? Can we, let's focus on what we're talking about right now.
Right, you're saying we're striving for a higher standard in news.
Right.
You're mischaracterizing my intention to make an argument.
Because if this
No. I'm
effect
telling you
translates
why
onto
I
the
think
video, it's
important
going to be
that I
really
point it out.
funny.
That's all.
Right.
Why are you taking it like an attack? I'm not attacking you at all. I'm talking to your viewers about why that's important that I did that. I think independent media should be held up to a higher standard. If you and I, even on my own show,
Right, I agree.
are going to criticize mainstream media's failures, I think a lot of times we just don't do that. I think a lot of times media, and I've criticized the left on this too. We often say, oh, we're just independent media. It happens. I made a mistake, whatever. No, if this was CNN who made that mistake you made, or a mistake that I made on my show, I would not just go, oh, Anderson Cooper apologized. It's no big deal. No, we would expect them to do better, and we'd hold them accountable to that mistake.
What would you expect them to do?
What do you mean?
Like if CNN got a story wrong.
Well, what would you expect them to do? You're big.
Apologize,
right?
Well,
Right.
Daily
And
Beast, Daily
correct
Beast.
it, right?
Yeah,
Correct
like,
it, right?
like the Daily Beast. Let's use them as an example.
Correct. But see, here's the thing. We're now 2 hours into this live
2
stream.
hours in, and we're supposed to do a members only show.
Yeah, we
And
still
read
do it.
super chats.
I mean, I don't know.
But YouTube deleted them all.
I'm here all night. If I think you should probably make a video and let people know about that, because they're not going to catch it 2 hours
Know
in.
about what?
That the mainstream media did in fact actually cover those shootings.
So
I think you should make a video pointing out that you haphazardly labeled a public figure QAnon supporter, even though he wasn't, and then we're searching for evidence of it. And that's my point. Like, it becomes we're going to pontificate on how important it is when Tim makes a mistake.
I admitted to that. He can't.
All right, so are you going to make a video saying this guy whose name I besmirched on air by characterizing him as
Sure, of
having
course.
views he didn't have?
Sure, of
are
course.
you gonna look into all of James O'Keefe's work and make sure that you didn't miss?
Oh my
incorrectly label him?
God.
Well, I specifically mentioned that case that he settled and admitted what he did wrong and even apologized for the harm he caused the woman. That's all I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned another one, the Minnesota one. You said
All I said was that wasn't true.
So
the way
do you have a-
he
do you
laid
have-
it
do you have a- like you should pull up a source and confirm that.
Oh, I did. I told you that what he was doing was completely legal.
You didn't pull up a source though.
Okay, I can let
So
you know.
here's
Sure, I'll pull up the
here's my
source.
point, right? I agree we all make mistakes and nobody's perfect. I wonder why it is that nobody read the law that Democrats just tried to pass. Like how come how come you and Hassan didn't read it? Did Hassan read it? I'm assuming he didn't. Maybe he did.
It's even, yeah, his
What law are you
henchman is
talking
back at it.
Was it H3
didn't
HB
pass?
3755?
The one we talked about that did.
The Virginia
Why
thing?
didn't
Are
you
we
read it
back
when
to
it
the
was
Virginia?
on
We're
Facebook?
looping.
Well, I haven't
Why
done
is there so much looping in debates with Tim
We don't
Pool?
cover every minutia of the news.
And
This
you know
bill
the
was
answer.
introduced
It's because he likes to pivot. Because he doesn't want to
February.
actually. He doesn't want to. He just like he
Was it
pivots.
compromise?
He. There's
So,
certain things he doesn't
the
want to
issue
talk
of Roe
about.
v. Wade and the codification of abortion isn't the subject. that
He
should
changes
cover.
the subject and then he changes it back and then he changes.
My show
Yeah.
actually, my personal show. maybe
He's
Sam covered
honestly
the majority
probably.
for
He's
it.
probably
Talking about
getting
Do you think
like
that in order
stuff
to have,
from
I'm sorry, in September of 2021. when-
backstage,
I don't run
like
a
in his
daily show that
ear,
talks about
or
politics in
you know,
general.
fed to him
Well,
through his
quick enough for what I
computer,
do on my show.
right?
On my show, I specifically cover what's going on in the world of right-wing media.
Hey, Amanda
conspiracy
Panda.
theories,
Meow, meow.
From a left.
Good to see you, meow.
Yeah.
And reactionary groups.
So,
that's what I cover.
but here's my point.
So
the bill was
this is not a topic I would usually cover on my show.
Then why
specifically.
opine on it?
Well, because you invited me on the show to talk about it.
I know, but like, wouldn't your answer just be like, I didn't read the bill?
I told you that's why I had you read it to me multiple times, and once you explained it to me, then I told you my personal opinion. I didn't tell you my opinion before you
All
read
right.
it to me.
Noted and accepted. So, what point were we off on then?
Let's get back on. Because I did do I pulled a Tim Pool and went on a tangent. Could we talk about? Let's go back to the shooting.
I'll address the news thing.
Go ahead.
My point is, whenever there's an extremist, like the Rolling Stone says, the Buffalo shooter isn't a lone wolf. He's a mainstream Republican, which is just not true. He may have he may share ideas, but the joke is always like, who had a dog? Hitler had a dog. Things like that. This guy believed in great replacement, which Tucker Carlson has also talked about and referenced. I wouldn't call Great Replacement mainstream Republican as a point to say that anyone who holds that view is a mainstream Republican. And that's so the issue with the Rolling Stone is that they said he is, and it's because of like a single thing. But the issue is there's also many left-wing personalities, identitarians, who have expressed similar ideas. This guy also claimed in his manifesto that he was authoritarian left. I don't think we can take his word for it. I think the dude's a psychopath. I think he's also extremely racist and extremely dangerous. The issue I see with these things is, why did this story become the national conversation? It's political. The other mass shootings don't.
I would say
become the national
no. I would say it
conversation because
became
they're not political.
No, I would say it became a national news story because the shooter streamed his shooting on Twitch and released a long manifesto explaining a number of reasons why he claims he did what he did. I think if any of those
Identitarianism.
that's just basic facts in terms of we know more about.
Right,
we know.
I'm saying identitarianism was a huge component. He's a racist.
That's part of it, but I would also just state, just even outside.
He's gonna
of
make
that,
it sound
just
like, oh
literally
my God.
We know the clear motives of this shooter, which maybe we
know
do.
that.
People, if anybody doesn't get what's so horrible about Vosh embracing ideas like, if we're there's a danger of marginalized people, colonized people reversing the power dynamic on their oppressor and going too far that way, and we got to really You know, we gotta really watch that. We gotta really watch those colonized people. Make sure that they don't, you don't give them too much, I don't know, shot, right? You know, it veers into racism. It veers into Tim Pool territory. It veers into like great replacement shit, right? At some point. This is why that shit's so toxic. You're right. It's not like there's not other people on the right doing this stuff, Vosh. You're part of a pipeline of bringing some, you know, your community, okay? Like, I don't think they're all bad people. But you're awakening not their better angels, but their worse ones, right? You're awakening the Tim Pool in them, the shitty little fragile, you know, whiteling inside of them, and that's, you know, if you're wondering why people say Vosh bad, there's a clue. There's a clue, buddy.
I don't think
the motives of the shootings in Chicago we don't talk about.
I mean, no, the ones you specifically brought up. I mean, we know the motives of those shootings.
Yeah, we do.
That specific shooting.
I said the shootings in Chicago.
But we're not talking
like,
about.
We have a tendency to know the
we're not
motivation.
talking about the aggregate of shootings. We're talking about specific shootings.
Like, there's mass shootings every weekend in Chicago.
Sure. Okay,
Like,
but if
I'm so this one's obviously my personal bias being from the city.
Okay.
And I feel that the corporate press and the modern mainstream left is racist. Obviously, everybody accuses each other of being racist, but I think the core racism here is the issues surrounding the black community and gun violence in Chicago that is just completely ignored every step of the way. And you can have, you know, a mass shooting, a curfew was enacted because minors were, you know, involved in a shootout. And it's of course covered in local media. And you
I think there's a curfew being enacted.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. For minors. I'm wondering why the national story is always. I'm not really wondering. I get it. It's political. And again, the Twitch thing for sure. Like, that makes it huge. My issue is, I don't like, for this story, how the guy, like, you got people on the right picking up his left-wing things and people on the left picking up his right-wing things, and they're both just pointing at each other. Like, if this guy, I'm willing to bet his goal was to foment civil war. And that's why you get these weird manifestos.
I mean,
that's why they do it.
Fucking genius.
On Twitch, which
fucking
is a more
dude.
left-wing platform.
Wait,
like,
wait a minute. This is Tim Pool's thing. He's like, wait a minute. Can we get a civil war? Is there a possibility that there might be a civil war? Could this shooter have been trying to foment a civil? He's hard for a civil war. That is the sad fact of it, okay?
Goal was to put it in the face of people and then make points that either side would grab, just like with Christchurch. These are psychopaths, I think, want to just watch the world burn. My issue is, I wish we would have more conversations at a national level that were about the other shootings. You know what I mean? I think they're issues. That's the point I was making in my video. So if it came off like I was saying the media's not covering it, what I mean to say when I say the media,
how can we do anything about racism when there's also black on black crime? Yeah, that's what he's
around the story.
That's what he's doing.
I mean, right now, sure.
Yeah. So I think that's a failing of the media, and it's why, you know, people were tweeting me like, "Why aren't you talking about Buffalo?" People
I mean, but
all
also,
weekend.
but also,
like, I'm not talking about Milwaukee.
Also, the media basically reacts to the media reacts with coverage based on what an audience is interested in. Like, if there was massive interest in one of those stories that they covered, again, they all covered those stories that you brought up and said that there was no coverage of.
But it's like local outlets and like corporate press.
No, we're talking about CNN and NBC News, CBS News, ABC News. I saw them all. Those are the most
the prime
mainstream
time guys. They're not doing news cycle segments.
Prime time guys. You talking about cable news?
Well, you said CNN,
well,
so I'm referencing.
No, I'm talking about CNN.
Wait, did I have Pikachu face or was it somebody else?
So why is it that we don't have a national conversation around these other instances?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they've done. If you look at their history, I'm pretty sure I've seen at least one special on the issue.
I think the issue is actually conservatives are all reactive. You know, so they wait for something to come out and they start quote tweeting people, and it's just like Kyle Rittenhouse was trending, and it's just like, because people on the left started saying it, and then the right started responding to it, and that's how you get certain stories being elevated.
Sure, okay.
So it's not the right's fault that
you mentioned how what he classified his identity.
Kyle Rittenhouse has been elevated to the status of white supremacist folk hero.
Right.
It's not the right's fault. It's the left.
Still in the left.
It's the left.
Well, that's the thing, right? You can't take his word for it.
Right,
but in your video, you constantly hedge back and forth on. He definitively said that, but
and the media lied about it, is my point. Like, when they say he's a Republican and the dude says he's not, you can't just say he's the other guy.
Well, what left-wing politicians
got
are advocating
wrecked
for anything that he's mentioned in terms of immigration or anything like that?
You mean like general identitarianism?
No, I'm talking about specifically what this guy said.
You and your identitarianism,
so
Tim.
do you know why? So first, I think the obvious answer is none.
Right.
Well, I mean, technically the answer is all of them. Like his motivation is
that's two different answers.
Right. So I will clarify. Sure. When you have like all the presidential candidates on the Democrat stage raising their hands saying moratorium on border crossings,
the Democrat stage. Notice he says Democrat, not democratic.
That motivate him to do the things he's doing.
He's got all these little Jedi mind tricks that he thinks are so slick.
But yeah, so the policies that are being enacted by Democrats are the ones he takes issue with.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but we should not kowtow to a madman's beliefs and rantings based on what he wants to see. And
True,
put
FTW.
that burden on other people. Right.
No, I don't think we would.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lock the guy up.
Good. Yeah.
Throw away the key.
He said in his manifesto also that you can call me an ethno-nationalist. He said that if you called him a neo-Nazi, that would be fine. And another area he said he mocked leftists and said, you're a bigot, racist, xenophobe, Nazi, fascist, as if we're calling him that.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, and he also...
He's an identitarian.
He also, when it comes to leftism results in a degenerate, hateful society to non-whites.
He's an identitarian.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Leftism results in a degenerate, hateful society, period. And then he continues, and then he went on for something else where it said, to non-whites on white lands, leave while you still can. Those are two separate sentences.
Yeah. First of all, he's a dangerous psychopath who should be locked up. How we deal with these, preventing them in the future is a serious challenge our country
And
is
I wanna-
trying to have. But here's my point.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're a fairly anti-identitarian show. I mean, like, we're overtly anti-identitarian. That's like one of the core elements. And so this is why I oppose the rise in identitarianism from the Democrats and in schools and all that stuff. Because when you tell racial groups to form groups based on race, you get white identitarianism along with black identitarianism, and then you get these psychopaths.
Okay.
Like this has been the concern that people like me and like Carl Benjamin, other anti-identitarian, these like staunchly anti-identitarian. So if you want to talk about those
Best
working
left-wing
against it, there was a
performance
meme back
on
in, I think it was
Temple
2016 or even
podcast so
sooner, where it was
far.
talking
Yeah.
about how what we referred to back then as like intersectionality was advocating for racial groups to join together. The only natural conclusion would be white racial groups agreeing, and we don't want that. We don't want majoritarian-based racial violence. We don't want racial violence at all. So what we need to encourage is integration and diversity. But when you have like non-POC, POC events, when you have like Seattle Library doing DEI, like non-POC and POC different rooms for libraries, you are telling all of the white people to go into a room. You actually had in the Sacramento Unified School District, they encouraged kids to form white racial identity groups.
Are you arguing that like a library having a people of color space is like something that we shouldn't do because of something like this?
Let me ask you, to answer your question.
Sure.
If you tell non-white people to go in one room, who goes into the other room?
Wait, say this again.
100 people walk to a library of all different races. One room says POC, one room says non-POC. All of the people who are not, who are people of color go into that room.
He's acting
What
like
is the rest
white
of the people
people
that all
just got
gather
sent to the
together
back of the bus or
in the other room?
something. This is ridiculous.
Correct?
I'm not going to say that's what it is.
This is
Sure.
white
So
aggrievement.
when you have a room that says white, that says non-POC and POC, you're telling all of the white people to go into a room together. What do you think is going to happen when you get a bunch of white people together, start telling them that they're oppressors?
You think this is happening in a... Wait, who's calling anyone oppressor? You're talking about something that's happening in a library. That's not happening in everyday
Start
life. That's not happening
calling them the
we're not
C
talking about
word.
walking through the world doing this. What do you... Like, I'm confused as to what your anecdote here
An
is.
identitarian. This is the fool's audience.
Let me see if I can find the exact source. So it's happening all over the place. It's happened in Dearborn. It's happened in Seattle. It's happened in Florida. It's happened in...
Are you going to talk about Evergreen State now?
Happened in
Are you going to talk
Sacramento to an
about
extreme
Brett
degree.
Weinstein?
So here we go.
Are you going to talk about all that?
Florida. Racial affinity groups. This was from the anti-racist classroom, Sacramento City Unified School District, that argued that white students should form white racial affinity groups. Would you agree with that?
White students should form white racial affinity groups?
Yeah.
No.
Why? So this is anti-racism then.
I mean, I don't agree with that.
So I think then we agree. My concern is that
Well, what is a white racial affinity group?
they tell all the white kids to go together and let me read it for you. Make sure we get the full context. Racial affinity groups offer a structure of inquiry and can address many needs. They support us in exploring what has been forbidden, forgotten, and unhealed. For example, in racial affinity groups, white people can discover together their group identity. They can cultivate racial solidarity and compassion.
Yeah,
and
he's
support each
definitely
other
wiping the
in
floor
sitting
with Tim.
with the discomfort, confusion, and numbness that often accompany white racial awakening. They can also discern white privilege and its impact without the aid of or dependence on people of color.
Oh, that's a bit different than what
White people who have formed racial affinity groups report that they recognize their collective commonality and shared history, as well as the impact that their privilege has had on other races and on each racial affinity group member.
Sure, and then it seems like if that's the case, then they would then go out into society and treat people of color in a way that they weren't treated before, treat them better.
Do you think that's what white people talk about when they talk about their shared history, how to treat people better, or do you think they talk about?
If they're getting together in an anti-racist
Are you saying that
group,
white
then
people
yeah,
are inherently
So if you took a bunch of white
racist,
people-
Tim?
because I could tell you that the shooter's not going to an anti-racist affinity group.
So this is anti-racist classroom, a program for
Right.
schools.
He doesn't
They're
even
not going
agree
to
with what
students
he's
and
saying. Like, he
we're
doesn't
having-
even
they're
agree
saying
with what
you're
he's
having
saying.
When you
racial
when,
affinity.
when you're not just having, you're not just letting them.
This
sit
is
down and start
literally
talking
what
about
fuel.
white
Oh
power,
yeah,
you're sitting
well
them-
yeah.
sitting them
This
down
kind of
and
white
having a
aggrievement.
discussion about
Yeah,
what-
definitely.
And what do you think happens when a group of young white kids sit down and talk about white history? What do you think they do? What do you think they say to each other?
What do you mean? They talk about what sort of...
Do you think they say things like, "Man, we're awful," or do you think they say things like, "Leif Erikson's awesome"?
who's
Leif
they probably don't take
Erickson
either.
for the win.
Those are just general
Leif
notes.
But I mean, those are the two ones you gave me.
I come from the
no,
land
My
of the
point is, do you
ice
think
and
they're speaking positively
snow.
or negatively about their history?
Neither. They're just
No, this
discussing
is
why
so
they're being
good.
positive
This
and
is so
Are they
good.
talking about
This is
slavery
so
or are they talking about
good.
colonization?
talking about slavery or colonization.
What are they talking about, do you think?
Well, if this is in a classroom, being
Oh my
guided
god!
A white racial affinity
White
group.
people.
I don't know if it actually says the teacher
you-
would be discussing. I think it's telling the kids to form a group
if it
of
gives
people.
them, and if it gives
It
them,
says-
This
they
woke
can
culture
implement it.
is
I would
going to
assume
make
it's
people
online.
worship Leif
I can't
Erikson.
assume that. We have to know.
Well,
I also don't think that if you get a whole bunch of white kids together, they start talking about Leif Erikson, or they start talking about. They probably just start talking.
I'm not
about
saying they're literally talking about Leif Erikson.
Okay, but they
don't be obtuse.
Okay,
No,
without any sort
God.
of guidance, they're probably not talking about anything.
Don't be
political at all. They're
obtuse
talking about
here.
what's going on.
Okay, okay,
They're
I'm so
talking about what
sorry.
happened with the
I'm so sorry for
cafeteria.
taking you
Wondering why it
literally,
is that they're
Tim.
separated from the other kids of different races.
Probably not, because they was explained to them what the.
Come on, Pool.
purpose of the,
400 years of oppression.
the
I think black
anti-racist
people
classroom
have
is.
Do you think any
lots
of
of
these kids have friends who are not
patience
white?
with this
Probably.
society. Have
What
had
do you think
lots
they
of
ask about why they can't
patience.
sit with their friends in the affinity group?
It's like a 45-minute class or 30-minute class, whatever. It's not like they're not being segregated for life. It's a project. It's a class.
So would you agree with racial segregation in schools in some capacity?
It's racial
What if
segregation.
only
He
white kids
thinks.
are in this
Oh
group
my
and other kids
God.
aren't allowed in it?
Are you
Would that be
comparing this to
This is a
segregation?
specific class to talk about white
You're
privilege.
comparing
So in
this
some
to.
circumstances, would
This
you
is
allow
what
for only
he's.
white people to be in the classroom?
It's
That's not what this
basically
is.
Okay, hold on.
segregation.
This
Yeah,
is a white
yeah.
racial affinity group, as it says, right?
It says that it's an anti-racist classroom. I can't read it. I can't. It's too far from me.
What are you going to call it next, Tim?
It's,
Separate but
So
equal?
white people can discover their group identity.
Oh, you're just saying it's
In
separate
the-
but
in
equal?
the, in the
And it says
context, it specifically
without
mentions
people of color.
It specifically mentions multiple times white privilege.
Sure. I'm not disagreeing. But
I mean, you know what white privilege is, right?
right. But so you agree with racial segregation?
Oh,
No, it's not-
he's
Okay,
very
hold on. It says
familiar with
without
white
independence of
privilege.
people of color.
Tim, I
It's
know what
in
you're
the
trying to do.
food
No,
that
no, I'm
he
trying to
eats.
do
It's in the
anything.
air that he
You're trying to do
breathes.
something.
What am I trying
The
to
fact
do?
remains that a school created a program where only white kids would be allowed, and you're okay with it. Now, if you don't
You're
have
okay
the
with
balls to
this.
say you're okay with it, fine, don't say it.
You're an
okay-
anti-white
are you okay
racist,
when
aren't
the
you,
teacher
Matt?
tells,
You're an
the boys to line
anti-white.
up on one
Oh
side of the
God.
classroom and girls line up on the other side?
Oh my
Yes, why
God.
wouldn't I
Of
be?
course. So why wouldn't you be okay with this?
Racism.
It's not racism.
It's anti-white
The other thing is it's
racism. Oh my
sexism.
Well, yeah, because we tell
God.
boys and
Oh
girls
my
we tell
God.
boys and girls to use different bathrooms. That's fine. It would not be fine to tell black kids and white kids to use different bathrooms. It's not a fair comparison.
Oh, but that's not what we're doing here. We're not asking black kids or white kids to use separate bathrooms.
No, but your point, you're trying to make it
Well, I
sound as if
think-
gender is if the difference between the sexes is comparable to the
Look,
differences
I don't
between
care,
racial
dude.
groups.
Telling a bunch of white kids to get together without other kids of other races is racist, and I'm not for it. I'm not for it.
But they're specifically discussing.
I don't care what they're
privilege and
discussing.
anti-racism.
I don't think you should be allowed in schools to say whites only. I think that's wrong. I don't care
No
what the
one's
reason
saying
is.
that. Though. You just jumped to something completely
Bro,
different.
it literally
You could be
says
against-
without
Bro.
the aid of people of color.
Bro.
What do you think that means?
Okay, you could
like
be. You could be.
in Seattle, they said
Bro.
non-POC only. What do you think that means? In California, they had a proposition to remove their civil rights provision from their own constitution, allowing racial segregation.
I'm literally. We're literally. You're bringing up other things that are completely different now. We're talking about this one specific class that I don't find a problem with, to be quite honest. If this
Okay,
is a
so
one-time,
only white kids are allowed, right?
In the context of this,
Yes, only white kids
I
are
think
allowed.
it's fine. An
Okay,
anti-racist
that's
discussion
fine.
with white
I'm
privilege.
not, we're not arguing. You're agreeing.
And I'm assuming that in another classroom, people of
What
color
is-
are sharing their shared experiences too, as people of color.
What is segregation?
And then, but we don't have to go back into segregation. We're just talking about this one specific classroom. I'm against segregation in terms of a school for whites and a school for blacks, but in terms of this one specific class, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. If you don't like it, that's fine too. I think this is a really unproductive discussion. We have both of our opinions.
So
We're
this
both
is-
on the record. We're both probably, I'm assuming you are, we're both against segregation in terms of a school for blacks and a school for whites. I am under the impression that this is, from what you're telling me, an anti-racist class, a one-time class discussion on white privilege. And I think it's fine. It's that simple. I don't think we need to opine on this more. If you do, I don't know what else to say about it, to be quite frank. I'm giving you exactly how I feel. That's what you want, right? I'm telling you how I feel.
Let me see if I can pull up the Seattle one. It's hard to get the precise language. Well, yeah, the virtual cafes at Dearborn, Michigan was a big story. Reaffirming our commitment. Did you hear the story when they said that they were having digital chat rooms and they were for white and non-white only?
I'm not familiar with this story.
They call it non-POC and POC only. See, I think that's wrong. And
Okay.
what's your racial background?
My racial background?
Yeah.
I'm white. I know you are mixed race. Yeah.
So for me, I think my perspective comes from
You're multiracial. Yep.
I come from a family that dealt with segregation, and they told me exactly what you're agreeing with is exactly what they were scared of. And so when I'm like desperately being like, this is crazy, you're like, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And then I'm like looking back at the stories from my grandpa and my parents, and they're like, this is the scariest thing we've seen in a long time. And then you just don't care.
I didn't say I don't care.
Well, no, I'm saying
I
like, not
just
to be blasé, you agree with it.
I just said specifically to talk about white privilege and anti-racism. I think in that context it's fine. That specific context. I think
Yeah,
it's fine.
I just
I think we disagree on that.
it's
So
the same argument they made and the same argument they make today.
wait. So schools were segregated back in like the 50s because they were separating.
Separate but equal.
They were separating the whites to talk about white privilege and anti-racism action.
They
Like
were
anti-racist
justifying the separation on some kind of physical or academic terms or like cultural terms. Like there was a justification for why it was okay this time, but it was never okay. It was never okay to say one place for one race. It was never okay. And it's still not
That's
okay
not what
today.
this is. It's just a simple class to discuss this issue. I don't see the problem with it, quite honestly. And I think,
Because is because you have white privilege?
oh yes, of course I do.
So you're wrong, and you as a white man have white privilege and don't understand why it's bad to tell.
No. I don't think I understand what privilege is. I actually have a problem with the word privilege because I think for people seems like you're one of them. For a lot of people, they view that word privilege as something that's being looked at them negatively. And it's just not. It's just not. I view white privilege as there are things in my life that, like, here's an even better way of putting it. If you are a white person and everything has gone wrong for you in terms of you're homeless and you can't get a job and you're the most unluckiest person on the face of the planet, it likely did not happen to you because you were white. That's all it is. That's all it is. Whereas if you see a black homeless person who can't get a job, can't, things have happened in their life they've lost their home, there's a good chance that their race, being black, had part to do in that, had part to do in their situation. That's all that is. It's not a positive or negative. And if you understand that there are certain things that have not happened to you because you're white, then you understand what black people or Latino people or Asian Americans go through that you just haven't had to go through. It's not a negative or positive. It's just understanding how other people go through life. That's all it is. It's not a negative thing to understand you have white privilege. We're
gonna jump to the super chats that weren't deleted. I apologize to everybody. When you I don't know why. We've had way more super chats than this in the past, but it just all of a sudden they were gone. But my attitude. I'll give you one last thought on like.
But we also didn't talk about the shooting though. We just didn't talk about.
Let's do that for the member segment. I know we're making everybody stay a little late, but we'll get that one up.
I feel like that's important stuff. I mean, I know you.
I know, but we're half an hour over already.
All right,
you know
all right.
And the super chats. The last thing I want to say is, I feel like when you have a school that is predominantly run by wealthy elites, Sacramento, San Francisco,
Good morning
California,
to you.
Overwhelmingly white. And they create a classroom where they say, come on, all the white kids are going to come in and we're going to talk about privilege. And they talk about
well, something came up and I had to cover it.
I think
because apparently that's what YouTube wants me doing, debate analysis on the sussy bakas.
Through their history, they've achieved
the sussy bakas like Tim Pool. Whoa.
I mean, that sounds like what they're going to
and the friends of the VOD and Bird Brains alum like Matt Bender.
I mean, we're just...
I'm
not saying what
I gave this kid his start, right? I brought him on Bird Brains back when he was a wee little content creator. Now he's huge, right? It's all because of my guidance and tutelage. Yes. Yes.
I'm going to seriously. I'm going to seriously. I mean, again, I can't. This is me pontificating.
No.
I'm going to assume that if you tell kids to do that sort of thing in a class, that there is a teacher or some sort of, I don't know, anti-racist advocate, someone leading the class.
Oh my God, I'm
helping
hot.
Children along in taking part in this activity. That's what I'm going to. So we should find out. We should contact the school and find out how this went. Ask if we could talk to. We could send some questions that the children, the kids. How old are these kids?
It's a great school, so kindergarten to 8th.
Maybe have them answer what they learned.
Like
just a paper, just a little.
What if I did like an event and it was called like Leftist Affinity, and it was to have a conversation around all of the horrible things that leftists had done throughout the past several hundred years and to understand their privilege. Do you think if I brought in a bunch of...
You didn't listen to anything what I just said about white privilege, though. It's not that. That's not what it is at all.
Okay, so do you think that if I took a bunch of people of any group and put them in a room, they would talk critically about themselves or talk positively about themselves?
I mean...
So that's your fear, is that
and we're just having a regular conversation,
and clearly I will not accept,
Oh my God, this is kind of a worthless. This part of the conversation. Temple steered it into just like a blind alley. It's just, this is worthless.
I don't take the final word.
Like this is just pure.
Try to do your best and tell a bunch of white people
fragility,
or to go in, or to have like rooms that are only for
ideology,
white people, or like Dearborn did, like they did in the library. I think it was in Seattle, like the school's doing, like we've seen in a bunch of other states, like in Atlanta they did it.
I can't believe he's not bringing Evergreen State up. That would be the
to segregate. Whether it's
I guess they're is Brett Weinstein finally over? Maybe Brett Weinstein's not relevant anymore. Thank goodness.
We should actually do a.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Students who took part in this, whether first, second, third, it's high school, we should ask them what they got out of these courses. What they got out of this anti-racist class.
Tool. I forgot I used to call them that. Oh my God, Tool.
But
what if these kids answer and they say this was the white kids and the people of color, they both said this was a very positive thing we went through. And it actually made our relationship with our, the white kids say our relationship with our black friends is better. Black kids say their relationship with their white friends are better. What if that was what they found and got out of this? What would you, what would you think?
This is what I was told it was like pre-1964. That Plessy v. Ferguson, like Derek Bell's argument, that Derek Bell, the critical race theorist, argues Plessy v. Ferguson was correct when it clearly wasn't. And so you actually had people arguing everybody was better off. Critical race theorists have argued that before the end of segregation, the black community had its own economy. And by ending segregation, it forced them under the white economy, which gave the white people power over them. So those are the kind of conversations they had in the past as to why they.
But segregation didn't make the relationship between whites and blacks better.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm saying, what if the kids?
But they were saying it was.
No.
That's so read Derek Bell. Like read his thoughts on Plessy v. Ferguson. He argued segregation was a good thing. He's a critical race theorist along with Kimberly Crenshaw. Let's read. I apologize, man.
I'm not familiar with that specific thing, but I think we should find we should reach out to this school and we should find out what the kids got out of it.
In Ferguson and in St. Louis, Baltimore. Ferguson, obviously in St. Louis, and Baltimore, they were circulating a letter among Black Lives Matter, which was like the writings of Derek Bell and advocating for Plessy v. Ferguson and all that stuff. But we'll try and read as many super chats as we have. Okay. If you haven't already, smash the like button. We went long.
Smash that like button. He meant smash my like button. That's what Tim Pool was talking about, chat.
I can try and find a way.
I don't know what he was thinking, but no, yeah, definitely smash this like button.
The monetization section.
Not Tim Pool's like button.
In your YouTube studio.
They're okay. Can I pull this up somehow?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I have them, but they're formatted in a very difficult way and there's not all of them.
Usually all of them are there.
Oh, okay, you're right. You're right. Going back basically forever, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Hey guys, good news.
Yeah.
Strike the pose. Wait, can I do
this
this?
tab,
No,
which we
no,
know
it's
and
like
then we'll
that.
read
It's
these
like
super
that.
chats. I don't know when they came in though because
Yeah,
Wait.
are they
I'm
reverse
hard to
chronological?
judge.
I think they're coming in reverse chronological order actually. So let me see if I can. I don't know where they're coming in from. It might be from the beginning. Okay, it is reverse chronological order. Reverse chronological order. All right, Anthony says, citing white privilege is just a way to defer responsibility. If you're poor and white, it's your fault. But if you're poor and non-white, it's someone else's fault.
Oh no, God.
At any point, you know, we'll just keep reading more, I suppose, unless you have something to say.
He thinks.
All right, let's
does
see.
he think that he's owning?
We read it and
I'll
sort of
just
respond.
read
If
it.
it's
Oh,
directed
okay,
at
I
you
wasn't sure.
specifically.
Okay, go ahead. What was it again? I'm sorry.
This one wasn't directed at you.
Wait,
necessarily.
Vogue super
Citing
chats?
white
Am I
privilege is just a way to
missing?
defer responsibility. If you're poor and white, it's your fault. But if you're poor and non-white, it's someone else's fault.
No, that's not what it is at all. It's not what it is at all. It's not your fault.
Am I
It's just that
missing
the odds
recognizing?
are that whatever you went through in your life, the reason you are in economic trouble.
That would
the
be
reason
weird
it's not
if
because
Twitch
you were
was showing up,
there
but
were other
YouTube
externalities
wasn't.
That caused that issue. That's all. That's all. It's not
No,
blaming
YouTube's
anybody.
there.
All right. Should I read the mean ones?
Oh, please, yeah, of course.
The mean what
Matt,
chats?
why does Sam Cedar with 1.17 million followers
Tim's
only
super
average about
chats. There we go.
25K likes on his YouTube videos?
Sure.
By the way, great conversation. I think that's actually a good number to get in terms of likes. Actually, I don't think that's a bad number.
Yeah, it's a decent number, I guess. But also, his show has always been. His show was from the. His show actually started with Janine Garofalo back in what was it, 2004, on Air America. It was a radio show, like a terrestrial radio show.
Terrestrial radio. Imagine that.
Listens to the show.
That is some old school shit. He was basically on when Doctor Who was a radio show.
It's a completely
Right, it was the
25K is a
50s.
good
Sam
number.
was
It's
around since the 50s.
Like that's what I get. I don't know. All right, let's see.
I don't know if that's accurate. That's what this person's saying, but yeah.
Heather Corin says he just proved Tim's point. Some people view this negatively, making race center and calling all white people bad. Constantly, which they do, is going to create more racists of all races, not less.
No, what I said was the term privilege, I think, does cause problems. I think we could find a better term for that same exact thing. I think people, for some reason, hear the word privilege and think, oh, you're privileged. That's not what white privilege means. So, I think maybe to help this conversation along, maybe we should find a different terminology for the exact same thing, which is basically just, if you're white, you need to just come to the realization that there are things that people of other races, people of color, black, Latino, Asian American, they go through experiences that you don't because you
Wait,
are white.
was it?
It's not
Was
saying
it
you're
not?
bad,
I thought
just
it
comes to that
was. Was
realization.
Doctor Who
You
a
can be
radio
going through
show,
hardships and
like, back in the
troubles. There could be
50s or
things happening
something?
to you that are truly horrible.
Why
and
do I think that Doctor
unfair,
Who existed
but
in the
it's not
50s
happening
as
to
a
you
radio show?
likely because it's white. Like, for example, if the same thing was happening to a black person,
Boomer Sam.
there is a chance that his race,
Is this
or
not
his or her
true?
race did play some role in that hardship or difficulty that they're going through.
Can I ask you something? Because you referenced Asian Americans. Why is it that basically?
And
by every
before then,
economic
it was a
indicator
Magic
that seems to
Lantern
demonstrate
show.
White privilege exists. Asians outperform white people.
Well, it's not always just economics. I mean,
They had the
are you denying-
silhouette
I'm
of the
saying all the
Doctor,
indicators
like,
exist.
running
One
around,
indicator that
and
exists is the
yeah,
fact that,
it's
are you
great.
to deny that there is anti-Asian hatred.
It's not true.
No, I would not deny that there's
Right, so-
anti-Asian hate.
Hold on,
But
whoa. From who?
What do you mean from who?
Who's got?
From people who are using who are attacking Asian people. What do you mean?
Who's
from who?
attacking Asian people?
Anybody.
Do you have examples of this?
Sure, there's been white people who've done it. There's been black people who've done it.
Oh, I didn't ask you that. I'm asking for.
And before then, it was a Cervantes book,
We're
right?
talking about race. We're talking about in the context of
Miguel
I
de
asked you,
Cervantes
where the Asian attacks happen?
Oh,
was
in
the
New
original
York.
author.
Sure, in California. That's where there are.
Oh wait, no, it was like in the Bible, wasn't it?
like,
Wasn't
so,
Doctor Who in the Bible?
is
I'm
there
pretty sure there was the
really
book of Doctor
Yes,
Who.
because of sentiment via
In the
like,
Bible, somewhere
racism via
in the Bible.
COVID-19, beliefs that it came from China.
They
and,
refer to
people,
Time Lords.
or was it purposely came from China, or they're taking it out on completely innocent Asian Americans, and a lot of the
I
times,
am a
they're not even
nerd. I'm
attacking,
just a different
Chinese
type of
people. They make it
nerd.
right, but they're even wrong on that sense because they're attacking Korean Americans, they're attacking Japanese Americans, and it's wrong. And that's something that, for example, white people do not experience. They usually do not experience racist attacks like Asian Americans do in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic.
What about in general? Do you think white people experience racist attacks for being white?
I'm sure it's happened, but it's not. It's the.
Oh
that's the
my
anomaly. It's
God.
not as often as, for example, a black person or a Latino person.
Is that your feeling or is that a fact?
I mean, you could look it up. I'm sure.
Facts don't care about your
we just had
feelings.
a story about the the 10 people who got killed because there was a racist attack in a supermarket against black people, specifically from the shooter. That's what.
Sure.
Yeah.
But how many people died last year in extremist attacks?
We have to look at those stats.
29.
Okay.
According to the Anti-Defamation League. I mean, you had nearly 1,000 shootings in Chicago in mass shootings. Like I think it was like 400-ish people died in mass shootings in Chicago the entirety of last year. And so it's just like I feel like the conversation about white privilege when 29 people.
You don't think the situation in those neighborhoods that have led to what you're describing.
Okay, I'm going a little faster, chat. We gotta finish this up.
Those neighborhoods are
getting late.
They've maybe been redlined.
I know it's getting late for some of you
Do you know
too.
why they're shooting each other in Chicago?
I want to keep you up too much past your bedtime, but thank you for being here with me.
I mean,
Like,
that's.
Thank you very much, meow meows. Meow meows.
You diss me, I take your life.
Okay, I mean, I'm familiar with that. Do you have anything to?
I have a. We should go through super chats, but I can pull up for you. Actually,
Sure,
I actually
yeah.
went,
That'd be really interesting.
For one, I'll cite myself as a source, as having covered and lived in Chicago for 23 years, and actually went night crawling with a couple of journalists. One who's like really famous now. And,
Gallifrey, Galilee, same difference, basically, yeah.
And we interviewed this.
Like, wasn't Jesus supposed to be a Time Lord or something? I don't know. I think I remember something in the Bible about Jesus being a Time Lord.
In Chicago is gang violence, when it's actually more like somebody smack talked my girl. And if you do that, you're gonna pay for it.
I would love to see more information about that. For sure, you should definitely plug. But you want to get back to the super
God,
chats? Tim.
I wish I would spend more time now. I hate to.
Well, I guess you're gonna have to invite me back.
Yeah, but
Meows,
there's an opportunity.
meows.
There's 2 videos on my channel. One is the interview with this woman. I forgot her name. So it was years ago. And then also when we went night crawling. But I mean, I can also just speak as much as it's not.
You think he weighs 80 pounds? I'll bet you he weighs more than 80 pounds.
We know why it happens. So anyway, let's read some more. Let's read some more super chats. We gotta read more. I don't know if we're gonna have time for a members only segment unless you guys are all cool with it.
Listen, the real question about Matt Bender, okay?
In 2022, Tim of the disgraced show Shimcast is at.
The real question about Matt Bender is that when he goes in the water, does he get wet or does the water get him instead? That's what I want to know about Matt Bender.
Shameful. Heavens. Shimcast, wonderful show, let me tell you. All right. Jeffrey Pfaff says, sounds like George Wallace. Leftist Atlanta teacher segregated the students. If white people have privilege, wouldn't they use it to their advantage?
Sure. I mean, it happens. What do you mean? What are they? I'm not following.
So in California, are you familiar with the proposition in 2022 repeal the non-discrimination?
The Doc's first regeneration was rough Easter, very rough Easter, yeah.
And
very tough
there was a
time.
provision in the Constitution that says you can't discriminate on the basis of race, sex, national origin, for purposes of public education or contracting, and one of the things. They wanted to remove that because they said we can't enact affirmative action without it. My issue with it was, I kind of feel like if you give the government, which includes all the smaller and local governments, the ability to discriminate on the basis of race, like, my question to you is I'll start with this. Do you think that there are racist white people?
Racist white people?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, I think so, personally. Do you think that there are racist white people in government? Personally, I do.
Sure.
Do you think that if racist white people in government were given the opportunity to segregate on the basis to discriminate on the basis of race, they would discriminate
This
against
is
people of color?
the most inane argument I've heard in a really long time.
No, for me, but it was actually the Democrat-led effort at the national.
This is the most inane argument I have
federal level Democrats are advocating for this repeal. To me, I find that
had
shocking.
to
So the point was,
put up with in a while.
They use it to their advantage. It sure looks like it.
Sure. I mean, it happens.
Yeah. Well,
Tim
the
Tool.
Republicans opposed it. It failed, but the Democrats were pushing it, and I'm glad they lost.
I would have to look more into that. I'm not familiar with it.
All right. Jeffrey Pfaff says, did he just admit CNN and MSNBC really put ad revenue before black lives being killed in Chicago? They set the narrative, but he trusts the media. You don't have to respond. I'm just.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm sure they do. I mean, what do you want? They're a corporate media outlet. What is their purpose?
All right, let's read some more. It's really hard to read the super chat this way in this weird.
Very small.
Yeah, very small and like.
Is there a way to zoom in?
Zoom in.
The
Yeah,
browser?
go to view and enlarge it.
No, the size isn't mainly the issue. It's the formatting. Normally, we like to make sure we get people's questions from earlier in the show, so we don't miss them. So I'll go back and then.
Dim Tool, indeed.
But it's like reverse the order.
Indeed.
So I'll switch it. All right, make 1984 fiction again, says Tim. There is no such thing as a viable baby up until 3 years old, and that's being generous. That argument is infuriating. What does that mean?
Well, he's saying children are wholly dependent on their mother at an early age.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I've heard the arguments. It's tough. I don't have all the answers. That's all I can really say.
They're dependent on a very different way, though. I mean, you can't say that going out and buying your child food is the same as your child literally being inside your body, eating the nutrients that you intake. That's not the same.
Yeah, but neither give you the right to kill your child if you don't want to do it.
Do what? No one's advocating for killing.
Yeah, unborn children. That's what abortion is. You're killing an unborn child. So you're right that it's argued. Yeah, there's a difference, sure, between having a child inside of you and providing resources for them, but parents are responsible for taking care of their children.
Right. Yes. A child. Yes.
Yes. An unborn child is a child.
Person,
yes. And they are people. No one in all of history who has ever referred to a group of humans as not being full persons has ever been right in the final analysis. Ever.
Does a fetus get child support from their father?
I would absolutely say that men should be held to account for the children that they create. Absolutely.
Before
easy on the homie math.
Yeah, I think men should. Yes, I think that men should have to pay for their children. 100%.
Specifically what I'm saying.
Yes, those are children.
Seamus thinks they should be married before.
Yeah, exactly. And if a man abandons a woman who is pregnant with his child, he should absolutely be on the hook for taking care of her and that child.
But in the current laws we have, that's not the case.
It should be.
Good.
This guy, indeed, yes.
I do.
This guy.
Good.
He opposes premarital sex.
Yeah.
All right. That's.
I mean, like, I think it's interesting because, like, Seamus, Catholic, conservative.
What do you think about that one, though?
About
Should the father, the person who impregnates a woman, the male who impregnates a woman, should he be responsible for child support payments from, I don't know, I guess the moment of conception, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's a question for me of law, right? I think one of the problems we have is cultural enforcement. I think we should do these things. I think a man should be responsible the moment the woman is like, yo, I'm pregnant. It's like, well, tell me what you need and what to do, and he's going to take care of it. I don't know how much I like the government's involvement in like a person's private matters, because we've seen instances where even mothers have argued they don't want child support anymore, but the government's been like, we don't care, and then force the guy to put the money through the government and to her. And
That's a very specific case. That's not the vast majority of the
There's Tim for you. There's Tim.
Enforcing, like,
He'll cherry pick something and say, like,
if a woman is going to have a baby,
this is what's going on.
Father should be,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's a more conservative position than I would have expected.
You don't, you're a father's rights guy? That's actually usually a right.
No. I assumed you were more on the side of like individual, like why would the woman have the right to choose, but not the man? I just assumed you.
Well, the right to choose is based on the body.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? It's in the fucking woman's.
It's not my baby or my fetus, my choice. We're talking
it's in the pregnant person's body
that's being used, and she has the ability to decide what she wants to do with her body.
Does the man have a right to choose in any capacity?
With his own body, sure. Yeah.
No, but like, does the man have a right over whether or not the woman has a baby or not?
In terms of like, if they decide together to have a baby, then yeah.
No, like let's say a man and a woman hook up and they both were like, uh-oh, she's pregnant.
It's not his.
Yeah,
body.
they just manifest out of nowhere. I'm sure. Yeah.
No.
So you think the man should have no say in the matter in any capacity?
Well, he has plenty of say in the matter. He could just not have sex with that woman.
The woman could not have sex too.
Sure.
So the woman has the right to choose, the man doesn't.
But with her, because it's her body. Yeah.
Bro, what if the man's like, I don't want to pay for it?
Well, he's got to.
Why does he have to?
Because that's the law.
Why does the woman have to pay for it?
She does pay for it with her body and raising the child.
But she can get rid of it.
She could abort it.
Right.
Is that what you want her to do?
No, I'm saying if, like, I recognize a woman, it's a woman's body, but how can you argue pro-choice for the woman, but not the man's right to
because
himself
pro-choice is talking about the woman's body. It's not. What do you think pro-choice is? We're talking about women's bodies. That's what the pro-choice movement is.
Well, I assumed. See, I think the guy should pay.
I mean, it's literally in everything they say. My body, my choice. That's the thing. It's not my fetus, my choice. It's my body, my choice.
Right.
That's the whole thing. Roe v. Wade argues with the 14th Amendment, right?
I thought you were making an equality argument.
Equality.
Like, if the woman can choose to terminate or not, it's her choice.
Because it's her body, yes.
Right. The man could also choose to sever or not. It's his choice.
He went and had the hat surgically attached. Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
Responsible for the life that he'll bring into this world if that's what she decides to go forward with.
So men have less of a say in the birth of the baby. Like hear me out. Do you think it would be okay if
clearly cherry picking?
Like, let's say she's 6 weeks pregnant, she has no money, and she's like, I can't afford this.
Sure, because it's her body, yes.
So, but based on finances.
Sure.
What if the guy has no money, he's homeless?
Well, then the courts take that into consideration.
So I'm not asking you about the courts. I'm saying, do you think the guy should be like, I have no money, I can't have a baby?
Well, then he should have considered that before he went ahead and did an act that resulted in the birth of a child.
But why does the woman not have that same
because
obligation?
it's her body. It's really simple.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
no, she had the
thing.
option not to use her body to engage in the act which creates children.
Oh my
No, it's not. It's not. We're specifically talking about the right.
These
to your
guys
body.
are
I mean, you guys disagree,
incorrigible.
That's fine. I mean, but this is the position.
No,
I mean, I think.
I think we agree. I'm just confused as to what your principal position is, because
I love how they
makes
think
sense.
they're like
Two human beings
centrist
who are
or
equal rights under
something.
the eye of the government.
But
one says
I think they're
I'm 6 weeks
liberal.
pregnant, but I can
Liberal in the
choose
case of
to end
Tim
the life
Pool.
of
Yeah,
this-
he's
to
a
end right now
liberal.
this child.
Now
hold on.
But the major thing is that
Classical liberal.
the choice
I get
is her
her body.
choice over her body, right?
Yeah.
And
So-
so the male's body is not involved. So there's no choice involved here.
I'm talking about finances.
Okay.
So like a woman,
That's where the
a woman
responsibility
can-
of it comes in.
So
right?
a woman can get an abortion because she's broke, right?
Sure, it's her body.
Right. Okay. So a woman can be like, I'm
Good
not
point,
gonna have a baby.
FTW. Good
Was
point.
there any responsibility for her when she decided to engage in sex without and then getting pregnant? Is there any responsibility?
I mean, sure, but at the end of the day, it's her body, and she has the right to decide what happens.
So what about the man? Does he has no say in the matter at all?
I mean, if a man does not want a child, he should not engage in acts that require him to have a child.
It's really
if he
weird
does
because-
want a child, though, there's many ways he can go about getting a child. If his partner, for example, doesn't want a child.
You know that your argument is an inversion of the right-wing argument. Like they're identical in principle, but they make no sense logically to me.
I mean, I would say that my position is the position that most people on the left have.
Right. So when Seamus says both the mother and the father have to be responsible for what they did, and the man has to pay, and the woman should be able to kill the baby, that's logically sound. I get it. They've done it. The baby's there. Your position is one gets to say, one doesn't.
Because we're talking.
I'm talking about finances, not a body.
Okay.
You keep changing the subject.
Because finance is just when it comes to a woman's choice, the finances are just irrelevant because a woman's choice is to.
Oh my God.
Because the man doesn't have anything happen to his body. There's nothing. He doesn't have anything happen to his body.
Why if a woman chooses to have a baby, it's her choice.
That was awesome, chat.
So why does the man have to choose? Like the man has no choice to have the kid?
I think he does. He could just.
Democrats seek to use fetuses for soylent green. Oh my God.
The 14th Amendment says equality under the law. You can't create a circumstance in which, for any reason,
or he's going to start talking about the mole kids.
If the woman can decide to, for financial reasons, terminate a pregnancy or keep it under any argument, the man would have to have under the 14th Amendment the same equality under the law.
Chat, we might have to
abortion because it's her body. I agree, it's her body. But now
we might have to cover this Project Veritas thing pretty soon. I don't know. I'll try to give you something like that, right?
Which is Roe v. Wade.
Sure,
I'll have this video. This video will be up.
So you're saying that every situation where a man did not want to have a child and is forced to pay child support, your claim is that it's currently unconstitutional.
So my position is the guy should pay.
No, right? Your position was, but you're asking me this.
I said from the beginning.
Oh my God, this has got to be so frustrating to go to Tim Pool's skate mansion.
I mean, if we
and just put up with this inanity. This is just inane.
I agree with cultural changes, but that doesn't change the fact
that it's completely inane.
The situation where, as it happens right now, if a woman does not want a pregnancy, 6 weeks, like you said, not viable.
Matt's channeling Michael a little, yeah, with the discussion of privilege. Definitely sounds like Michael Brooks.
Should women pay child support to men?
For what?
For the baby.
For the baby? What do you mean?
If a man and woman get together and they have kids.
Oh, does the same thing that Michael Brooks did with Destiny, giving up ground, not giving up ground and controlling the conversation. That's very Innuendo Studios.
Is he taking care of the child?
They have dual custody.
Is he taking care of the child?
Dual custody means they both have equal access to the
child. I mean, I'm sure she's making sure if that's the case, that the child is
the government should mandate women pay child support to men.
I mean, if it's that situation where the man is in squalor taking care of the child, then yes, sure.
Oh, what if the man makes 50K and the woman makes 80?
I mean, if the court decides, I'm fine with that.
So, simple question, simplified. Women should pay the same child support men should pay in the same circumstances.
Sure, if they're both taking care of the child, sure.
Yeah, okay, there we go. That's one way to get it. All right, let's see what we got. Well,
that's what you were asking this whole time? Because that's not how it read to me. So we could have got past that a lot earlier.
Well, because my question is, if you're making a 14th Amendment argument for abortion, how do you ignore like that men don't have a say? It doesn't make sense. Well, I'll just read some more otherwise.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So what if a man pressures a woman to have an abortion, what should the penalty for that be under the law?
If a man pressures
Yeah. So you're saying a man can't make a woman have an abortion. I mean, what if he does? What should the penalty be?
Oh my God.
Like he puts pressure on her. He coerces her into doing it. He threatens her. He says he'll hurt her.
Well, that's the completely different thing.
So here's the thing. Do you think it should be a different penalty than if a man threatens a woman for some other reason? Like if a man says, I'll hit you if you don't listen versus I'll hit you if you don't get an abortion. Do you think that those are different circumstances that should incur a different penalty?
If he does something to actually convincing her,
what if he threatens her? She has an abortion because if a woman says I got this abortion because a man threatened me, should there be a legal penalty for that?
I would actually love to see if there are laws in the books for that, because that'd be interesting for sure. I think there are, in terms of like if a man was to punch a pregnant woman, his pregnant partner, and that would result in abortion, that would be considered in this country a fetal homicide. We have a specific classification for that in those scenarios.
Yes, so there are certain circumstances in certain states where you can be charged with homicide for killing an unborn
child.
Homicide. Yes, but homicide means you've killed a human. That's what homicide means.
Specifically called a fetal homicide.
Yes, but you're acknowledging that it is homicide.
Sure,
he killed a person, but what you're saying is under specific circumstances, if the mother doesn't want that child, killing it becomes acceptable.
Because we're now talking about the issue of it being her body, and she has the authority over herself, over her person.
She's not making a decision about herself. She's making a decision about the child that's
growing. The law disagrees with that, though. The law agrees
that law's wrong.
Okay, well then.
Right, I think you guys
Sure, but then I guess my final question is, since it's an issue of her body, would you argue that since this is just about her body, it's not about a right to kill a child, that if the child is viable, it should be delivered and then saved with medical technology? Do you think that should be the requirement? If the child's viability, if the child is past the point of viability and the mother doesn't want to be pregnant, should she be allowed to kill that child that can survive outside the womb? Or should there be a requirement? I'm not talking about the laws in the country. I'm asking about your position.
Sure. I mean,
if this is just about a woman's body and there's an opportunity for the unborn child to live outside of her body because it is viable, is she able to abort the child and kill it? Or would you argue, since this is just about her body and not killing a child, that everything would have to be done to deliver and save that child?
It's her body. That's my position.
But that's not an argument. That's what I said.
We're not talking about her body.
Yeah, I'm saying. So
we're not talking about her body.
But that's where the baby is. They don't simply remove it. So
you're talking about something that doesn't happen.
Tim Pool, until you got technology to grow a baby in like a medical device, then shut the fuck up about we're not talking about our body. Where else is the baby or the fetus gonna be, right? Where else is it gonna be? We are talking about her body.
What are you happening in this? What are you talking about?
You want to just pretend that that's not a factor? Is that what you're saying?
And I told you, I read citations from partial.
Oh my God, these guys are so frustrating.
Is depression?
I think
in their practice.
I think this quantifies the political issue we have in this country very simply. My political positions have long been from what's called traditional liberal. For, what in the first several weeks, pre-viability, beyond that. I understand Seamus's perspective. I have a libertarian argument that he's mocked and doesn't agree with. I don't think you understand at all what's being said. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm saying when I pull up the law and we're trying to explain to you what the definition of abortion is according to the U.S. government and you don't understand it, you say it's her body, but we didn't mention her body. We're talking about a baby being delivered, but you defer to some something that's not being talked about. I don't know if we can...
I've discussed this. I don't view it as, I view it as an issue of if the fetus is in the mother's body, and going by the current laws we have right now, which for Roe v. Wade and Casey.
I'm sorry, this is the issue. We're trying to ask you about your advocacy.
My advocacy is what exactly is legal in this country right now.
So you think?
But then you
let me try this. There's two babies. There's a pregnant woman, and she's 8.5 months along. There's another baby next to her that is freshly delivered at 8.5 weeks. The babies are completely. I got a better idea. Twins. Here we go. A woman is pregnant with twins. One is born. Can they kill the one still in her, or no?
If there's something that needs, if that's what absolutely needs to be done, yes, that's the law.
So you
yes.
say no. But you can't say my position is the law. Well, that's just the law. He's asking you philosophically, is it a
morally
morally acceptable act?
I don't care about
terminate the baby.
But I don't care about the philosophical discussions, because what matters is the law. These philosophical discussions
help inform what the law should be.
They don't. No, but the law is what it is right now.
It's her body is a philosophical point that you're making.
No, that's
the Democrats just tried to change the law last week.
Okay, but they didn't.
Because they failed thanks to people like me. Because people like me who oppose terminating the life of a baby when it can survive outside the womb. We oppose that.
Okay.
We've always opposed it. Right. Bill Clinton, all of us, since going back the traditional liberals, the traditional liberal position. So Seamus is the classical conservative position. I'm the traditional liberal position, and you're the progressive leftist position. So you can understand why everyone on the right calls me a leftist, because I actually say first term, pro-choice or whatever, and that is so far from where Republicans are and conservatives are. But then you guys are sitting here saying a woman can decide to terminate a viable baby if she chooses. That is so far removed from me.
No. I never. When we're talking about a viable pregnancy, the laws in this country are that there needs to be a reason that it's done, where the baby is going. Like, why is it so hard for you to understand that I agree with what the laws currently are?
Because I'm asking you about your moral position and advocacy, not what the law is.
My moral position and advocacy
in every state.
Is that it is a woman's choice, because it is her body, and if a fetus inside her body
can survive.
Excuse me?
Can survive.
Right. In this country, you can only do that. Like, you're just gonna, whatever you're trying to get out of me, I don't know what you're looking for, but you're not going to get it, because I'm telling you exactly what my position is.
No. You know your position is, you're scared to actually say because the left will come at you.
No.
Bro.
Wow.
How many times
a woman has a right to choose whatever she deems is.
I mean, that sounds interesting, though. There's nothing really to cover. So they set up honey traps to get insecure young employees trying to get laid to spill whatever they will in that situation. Yeah, just tell them what they want. Why do they always go for examples of late-term abortions and these stupid hypotheticals? Because they can fucking create a moral panic this way. That's what they're trying. That's what they've been trying to this for a while with that Virginia thing, trying to make people think that like there's some kind of
about a woman, but you refuse to say it because this is the issue.
But that's what abortion is.
If the baby is at the point of birth, Kathy Tran said it could be killed.
In the situation where the woman's life, or there is something.
How do they get the baby out?
What do you mean how do they get the baby out?
The woman.
What do you mean how do they get the baby?
A woman is 9 months pregnant.
Sure.
At the point of birth.
It's like she is
dilated.
It's like he's just
Kathy Tran
obfuscating.
Said, yes, you can end the life of the baby, as per the CDC's definitions.
That's a situation where the mother's life is in danger.
That it's done. It's not just baby's coming out and she goes, I don't want it.
What's the reason? Okay, so the baby has to be removed. The baby has to be removed from the woman, right? The baby has to be removed from the woman. The pregnancy is bad. The baby has to be removed.
Like you're talking about like a miscarriage?
No. I'm saying when Kathy Tran said at the point of birth. I'm sorry, it was a judge. I believe it was a judge who said a woman is dilating at the point of birth. Could you perform an abortion? Said there are no restrictions, none, no limitations. It was then stated to Ralph Northam, even at the point of birth, abortion, as the CDC defines it, is a no live birth removal of the pregnancy. How do they get the baby out of the woman?
What do you, the same way that you would. What are you asking? Like she gives birth.
But an abortion ends the life of the baby, according to the CDC.
Sure.
So if they would legalize abortion up to the point of birth, that means ending a termination of a pregnancy that results in no live birth would mean they need to take action to end the life of the baby as it's coming out. So if you're saying there needs to be a reason, my question is, okay, how do you propose they get a fully developed baby at 9 months out of a womb when it needs to be removed?
It depends on what the doctor decides is right. C-section or birth?
No, abortion ends the life of the baby.
Sure.
So how do they remove the baby and end its life at the same time at 9 months?
That doesn't happen. There's no abortions happening once the baby is out of the body.
The law they proposed would legalize that.
No, it wouldn't, because that would be homicide, because that is now a person.
You're starting to get it.
That's a person.
You're starting to get it.
At birth, when the baby is out and becomes a baby, it is a person, and that would be considered homicide, not an abortion, and homicide is illegal.
Crazy law. That it just magically it's a person instantly. Now it has legal protections.
I mean, that's exactly what the law says.
It's a really bad law.
I mean, that's what the law is.
Let me just try and see if I can pull it up.
The baby gets a name then? The baby gets a
He's probably the kind of
dude. Already legal in some cases.
I wonder what he thinks about age of consent. I wonder if he
baby,
thinks that's crazy that it just like overnight.
In this country, under the law, it makes you a person.
Completely different like matter under the law.
I think humans are persons.
In the video,
that's a false
Tran acknowledges that.
No, I mean, I'm not saying anything about this. I know nothing about
It's always an argument.
this dude. I'm just like, it's a similar argument. That's all I'm saying. It's a similar argument.
Every argument throughout history that some people aren't legally people has always failed. So Tran acknowledges her bill, which was killed in a 5-3 vote, would allow a woman to receive an abortion even up to the point when she is about to give birth. The Virginia House GOP tweeted the legislation would provide abortions up to just seconds before the precious child takes their first breath.
Right. That means before the baby is born.
The precious.
At the point of birth, seconds before you think there's a distinction?
Yes, there's distinction. One is a baby is born and the other one is not. And there has
article
to be
is
a
this?
medical
The
concern
precious
for either the mother
child?
or the fetus.
No, there should be medical concern. And
It sounds like some religious newsletter or something.
Petitions signed by doctors saying that this idea of a medically necessitated abortion is a myth. You've also repeatedly claimed that late-term abortions don't happen. It's only because there's some extreme reason why they need to. But you said they don't happen. But I quoted the Guttmacher Institute, the most pro-choice abortion-related think tank in this country, their own numbers, and according to them, late-term abortions only happen because there is some fetal anomaly. 1 to 2% of the time, 1/3 of the time, it's because the woman says she underestimated how far along she was. 25% of the time, they said they tried to arrange an earlier abortion, couldn't. 14% said they were afraid at that point to tell their parents or partner. The rest
this
cited
is
something
terrible.
along the lines of taking
I'm
their time
sorry
to decide
subject you
or
to this.
changing their relationship status.
I'm gonna throw.
So your point is completely wrong. But you've said this repeatedly. That doesn't happen. And it's somewhere with a public platform when you're speaking about a life and death issue where infants are being slaughtered. You have a responsibility to know that it doesn't.
Oh my God! No, this is so.
Stop saying it doesn't happen. You've said multiple times it doesn't happen.
What's the link to the second so we can show them?
Yeah, I can pull up. It's a 1988 Guttmacher Institute study.
1988 survey.
Well, because they don't survey this anymore. Because guess what? They didn't get the results that they wanted.
I'm gonna do this.
They
I'm gonna be a little
don't
bit,
get the results they want.
I'm gonna point out why it's so difficult to do these shows. Seamus shows data, at least from 1988. It happened. We have edge cases that are clearly citable. We have the legal definition of abortion. We have a clear moral difference. But I'll give you an example of where I think the problem lies, and I'm going to throw it back to explain the Thanos moment with Sam Cedar. Sam doesn't know what deontology or utilitarianism is. And when I was having a conversation with him, and I referenced deontological thinking versus utilitarianism,
my God,
I don't
this was
understand what that
all
is.
a show.
How do you explain to someone who doesn't understand these concepts?
This was all
what they
to
are?
get back
How would you
at
propose
Sam
I explain
Cedar.
deontology or utilitarianism?
I don't know.
What if I use something
That's
that is
why
common to most
Sam
people,
was on the
like
thumbnail. Sam's on the thumbnail
maybe
for
if I'm dealing with
this.
someone who doesn't know philosophy, they're not. I'm not
See,
saying they have to know
this is the thing. I understand on your show and you like to have the discussion, but I don't deal in the philosophical.
The loaded
stuff.
language they
I deal
use.
with
Yeah,
actual
yeah,
policy and what's
exactly.
actually going on and what happens to people in real life.
What do you
it's
think I mean
nice
by
that
philosophical?
it's nice that just opining about hypotheticals. You do that all the time.
That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay, then what?
But this is another really great point.
Sure.
I think that you and Sam lack the perspicacity to understand the context. Of the audience and the
Perspicacity?
substance of it.
Does
So
it pay to enrich your word power, motherfucker?
in the context of Sam Cedar, I made a reference to deontology, that a moral act against a single individual cannot be, an immoral act against a single individual should not be taken, versus utilitarianism, which is
Listen, if you really want to catch Sam, you got to ask him, what's sewer socialism, Sam? What's a TIFF?
or the argument that the needs of the
What's a
Neanderthal
TIFF?
which is also a pop culture reference. The idea being that we tend to see villainous people as those who are willing to sacrifice people for the sake of other people. We tend to see heroes as those who are willing to save the individual. Sam didn't know what those words meant, but they're hugely important to our policy in this country. The trolley problem, as it were, is a question about whether you're willing to kill a person to save 5 people. These are questions of deontology versus utilitarianism. Sam doesn't know those words, and I'm not saying it to be mean to him. It's not.
Is that even right?
But if I'm
Deontology
trying to
versus
convey ideas,
utilitarianism?
the only thing I can do
That's
is try
not.
to find common ground between us. Big movie just came out.
That's not a
Avengers.
dichotomy I'd
So if you
draw.
don't understand deontology or utilitarianism, which is the academic approach, I can try the pop culture approach.
Is that
Me,
what
I
he-
love pop culture references.
Is that what he's saying?
Instead of
Oh, I know,
actually,
you do, yeah.
instead of actually addressing the substance of the
Yes,
issue,
you love
instead,
pop
Sam and many others
culture
mocked the idea that I had to dumb
references.
down the concepts for him because he didn't get it. You see, this is a problem.
Yeah.
If I approach in good faith Sam with a question about philosophy that he cannot understand because he doesn't know these terms, so I try to find common ground and he mocks me for it, what is my incentive to even try?
What does that have to do with? It sounds like an issue you should take up with Sam.
I'm
I mean,
using-
I'm here.
I'm
Are you trying to say that I was doing that on this show? I think I was being very upfront and honest with you guys. I've given you guys my full-blown opinions and everything. We've
I
disagreed.
agree. I appreciate you coming. My point is, I don't know how many times Seamus and I, who completely disagree on the issue of abortion, can try to explain to you legal terms, definitions, the body of a baby versus the body of the mother. You can't understand it. How do I have a conversation with
So
you? If you don't
wait,
understand what we're
he's
saying?
No, I do understand what you're saying.
compare. What is he trying to do? Like
reiterating to you
compare,
what my
like
position is, and you just
draw
don't want to
up
accept that. My position,
Kant
I'm telling you
and
what's going on.
Like when we say a baby has its own body, you say it's the
Mills
mother's body. And we're like,
as
we're not talking about the mother's body. You say, but it's the mother's body. I'm like, I don't know how many times we got to say it's the
some
baby's
kind
body.
of
Well, if it's
dichotomy.
inside of her body as a fetus, then it's whatever you're discussing, whatever you want to try to go about from that perspective or direction.
Tim
the ultimate
thinking
decision comes
Sam is
from,
dumb
comes
is
from
just
the
well,
mother.
it's because
I
Tim.
want to make
it-
one more. I just want to make one more statistical point. 'cause
He's
you
got one of those word of the day calendars, you know, where he learns a new word every
Most women
day.
seeking later-term abortions are not doing so for reasons of fetal anomaly or life endangerment.
So it makes
Wait,
him
how many
smart
women are having
because he
fetal
knows
abor- I'm
the
sorry,
word
late-term
that
abortions
Sam
too?
doesn't know the
It's-
word.
it's-
So
it's-
Tim
it's-
is
it's-
smarter
it's-
than
it's
Sam.
2013.
That's how
I do kind of
smartness
feel like if Seamus
works.
has made
That's
two
how
references,
intelligence
then
works. That's right. Mm-hmm.
Like, so, see, my attitude tends to be like,
Dishonesty is the
if
point. The
someone's
Like
do you know how
to
many-
me, this isn't like a thing where I'm trying to score points.
just honesty is the point. Reactionary brain doesn't see anybody else as human or moral. Their starting point is that everyone else is evil and
I'm
scheming.
giving you guys what my position is.
No, I respect
And
that.
look, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
trying to
just
score points either. Most of the
purposefully
show I haven't talked 'cause I didn't
malevolent
want this to be
towards-
like redundant to me.
yeah.
There were a few
No,
times
I
where I
thought-
wanted to jump in and but with a couple
should have.
a
I
couple
would've-
statistical points. No, I'd be happy to do it again at some point, but there was just a couple statistical points that I really did feel I need to correct.
This is a really great example of why do people call me right wing? Let's. I think I don't know if we're gonna get to the members only.
Why
guys.
do
We can
people
do
call
it.
me right wing?
Give it away.
Give it
What,
away,
what-
yeah.
what makes me right wing?
Well, you say you advocate. For
Yeah,
these
yeah,
positions, but earlier I got you to
utilitarianism
say that,
adds up
if
the-
your position. If the you actually said that you preferred if to stand next to me or the.
So what it does is basically says you know, theoretically, it should be possible to calculate the total good caused by an act, the total bad, the suffering. Yeah, the happiness and the suffering. It's basically total happiness minus total suffering. And if you got a net positive, that is good. It's almost like it almost reduces philosophy down to mathematics. That's why it's a little bit like it's maybe well intentioned, but a little bit cold, a little bit reductionary, you know, like a lot of people have when you actually break it down to a hedonic calculus, right? That's not something a lot of people want to get on board with, right? So
the ending of Roe v. Wade, you prefer the ending of Roe v. Wade?
No, I didn't say Roe v. Wade.
I mean,
I said banning of abortion.
Yeah, so you stand with the banning of abortion.
Why?
Yes. You
What
tell
was my
me.
reason? What was my
You tell
reason?
me.
Because you're in favor of terminating babies' lives at 9 months.
But you don't seem to care about the life of the mother.
I
then.
do.
No, but you don't. If you
Why
say you'd rather ban abortions, then
babies.
my position, then you say the mother's life is worth less than
Right,
the grown human's life is worth less than an unborn fetus. Steve.
No.
the degree of
But that is
bad
the position
faith
then.
in the
They could
studio is
deliver the baby.
simply jaw
They could
dropping,
deliver the baby.
diabolical.
What if they cannot?
Then I said the provision should be added that all efforts must be made to
But
preserve
in
the
your-
life of the baby,
but in
but
your-
they didn't add that.
We're not talking about
And
provision
so I
anymore.
said, in your
No.
context,
Oh,
if the
yeah,
issue was
49
you telling me
state
a baby could
Trump
be killed from
landslide.
birth or banning abortion, I would choose banning abortion. I didn't say I wanted to ban abortion. I'm saying
You
your
use-
position is so extreme, you've pushed me to the other side if that's my only option.
Okay, but we're now using that hypothetical. That's what we're talking about now.
You don't like
to-
hypotheticals.
I don't like hypotheticals, but you love philosophical discussion, so let's do it.
Philosophical and hypothetical are two different things.
Okay, well, let's do the philosophical then. You said before that you would rather stand with people who want to ban all abortion
Then kill babies
than
at 9
stand with my position. Sure, fine. So that means then that as a result, women who would die if they don't have an abortion would die.
No.
That is the result of that. That is
no,
the result of that.
I see. This is the point I was making before about your inability to understand the argument.
But
Okay.
I'm playing by your
Yeah,
rules.
and then
So a woman is 9 months pregnant.
I think
the
he's talking
pregnancy
about
needs
by
to end.
deontology. He's talking
What
about like
should
the
they do?
No, but we're not
categorical
talking about the specifics anymore.
imperative
We're
and
not
all that
talking-
shit.
Your position was stand with me, who, according to you,
So that's
has
the kind of
issue, and then
dichotomy he's
number-
trying
You're
to
talking about-
draw.
I was telling Brick Wall, I'm going by your own
I
position.
have already said if my choices are between someone saying end the life of a baby at 9 months or no abortion at all, I would choose no abortion.
Yes.
That is, if there were two extremes, I would opt for the one that, for the most part, does not kill the baby.
And in that
Now, hold on.
Okay.
Abortion, according to the CDC, terminates the life of the baby. If a woman's health is at risk because of a pregnancy, you do not need to kill the baby to save the woman.
Right, and they don't do that if they can't. If they can save and give the birth to the child, that's what they do.
And that's why my position was. They should just add a provision saying that to the bill. Otherwise, it would allow for babies to be killed, and that's one of the issues I have with it.
Okay, that's a little bit different than we discussed before. We have to go back probably and listen to it, but we're not going to do that now.
I understand. We're just going to keep going in circles here.
Yes,
We're probably going to
yes,
move on to like
yes.
20, but your last statement is not true. That they don't do that. They do perform abortions at that stage.
But not-
that's how-
not-
I mean, he cited two
I've
sources.
cited
Okay,
two. I've
so-
cited actually 3 different sources of statistics on this.
Right, but it's not just like,
You're still
I'm
maintaining your position.
But it's not just like, I'm feeling depressed. There must be something that is
Actually, no, that's happened.
just a woman.
According
walks in and
to
says,
partial birth,
depression.
I cited partial birth abortionist James McMahon said that is the number 1 reason
No,
cited.
no, no,
Depression.
no, no,
The
but there's a
primary
difference.
reason given by those requesting the procedure is depression.
But there's a difference between someone who's debilitating depression and someone who's just, I'm sure what you're thinking, like, oh
No, I'm not thinking that. I think
okay.
debilitating depression is a horrible thing. I don't think it necessitates killing an unborn child.
I mean, I would have to leave that up to the woman and the doctor.
Well, I wouldn't because I think it's wrong to
all
kill
right.
people, and I don't
And
just
this-
leave
this-
that up to
this-
whoever's
this is
doing it
my
or wants to do
point.
it.
The traditional position on abortion among Democrat voters has been there's got to be some restrictions.
Democratic
Your position is like we should get rid
voters.
of.
No, it's not my position. I
I'm
think
gonna
what we
make
have
him
right
say
now
the
works.
tick. That's my goal, chat. Whenever I come across a right winger, I'm gonna make him say
still Democrat.
Democratic.
And like several states have
just
like
because they don't
Oklahoma
like to
passed
do
that.
it.
Not yet.
Just
No,
because
they
they
did.
don't like to do it.
No, no.
Not until
Not
this
because
is
I have
done.
anything for
Didn't Oklahoma pass that
Democratic,
bill already?
the
Yeah,
Democratic
well,
It can't go into
Party.
effect though until
But-
Supreme Court decision.
I mean, California's got they don't enforce immigration laws. Like it doesn't matter.
But what are you talking about? We're talking about specifically in Oklahoma. That's just
Okay, dude.
Why did you bring up immigration just now?
You made a point about how the federal government made a restriction. I said there's examples of restrictions they have no impact.
What do you cannot make abortion illegal outright in this country right
Okay,
now. Roe v. Wade. KCV Planned Parenthood.
I know what this is. You're trying to stay on the show.
Good night.
I hope you guys are having a good time, really. I mean,
No,
yeah.
I'm giving you a hard time.
No, I appreciate it. I love this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting discussion, and it's good. You know,
Maybe
we
it
usually
was
don't have people on
Kansas.
who we usually don't have left-wing people on. So, and it's not that we don't invite them; they usually don't come. But it's brave of you to come
You
here.
should have Sam Cedar.
It's because they're so
No, Sam,
afraid.
Sam
He's offered, yeah.
Sam,
No,
Sam,
he
so
rescinded.
when I invited Sam on the show, he publicly accepted and then privately told me no.
Well, I know the whole situation.
And I published all the DMs.
I mean, you don't need to publish them with
that
me.
dude is a bad faith actor who the scam on Steven Crowder for internet
that was
points.
great.
Oh yeah, great. Let's like not have a real conversation and just
Well, that's what
score-
Sam wanted to have. Sam wanted to actually discuss with Crowder.
Crowder was going to talk to Ethan Klein.
Right.
And Sam intruded upon the conversation.
Ethan
He
Klein-
intruded
But
upon the
Steven didn't.
conversation.
So this is why like
He
it's one of the reasons we
intruded.
don't
He's
do,
a
do
conversation
conversations because of that
intruder.
role.
Well, I got
Almost
surprised we
always.
opened that door. Now,
You wouldn't be able to get in the house with the security we have now, especially all the swatting. Maybe it was Kansas that outright banned it. Was it Kansas?
oh, there was something that actually we brought the Sam thing, and I something I meant to ask you actually. You did a video. It's actually been on my mind for a little bit now. You did a video when that happened, and you said
Which
something
one?
about the Sam Cedar Crowder debate, or
Yeah.
that didn't happen. Where Ethan Klein invited Sam, and there was something you said where I don't have it verbatim, but it was something like, if your viewers are wrestling fans, they might remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin ruined Vince McMahon's big moment with Mike Tyson, and Vince McMahon started yelling, "You ruined it, Austin! You ruined it!" You had like a moment like that where you were screaming at like Sam and Ethan that they ruined it. They ruined it.
I don't know anything about wrestling.
Okay, but you
think
had,
maybe
I mean, I don't either.
No,
To
no,
be
no,
fair,
that was my.
to be
that was my-
fair,
that was my anecdote. You
Yeah,
said
definitely.
something. You said something like, but what did they ruin? I don't know what they ruined.
Steven Crowder wanted to have a real conversation with Ethan Klein, and Sam put on his clown nose and shut it down.
But Ethan Klein never wanted to. Was never
So he lied.
yeah, sure.
I mean, come on, dude.
I mean, Ethan Klein doesn't do a politics.
Look, I know what the end result of shows like this are.
Who was the networks that you mentioned that blacklist Sam?
Oh, I'm not going to talk about that publicly on air.
I think I know who it is, but
There's a handful. Yeah, Sam's blacklisted from a few places
wouldn't surprise me.
because he's a bad actor.
I
So
don't
like,
know
Bad
I've
actor?
spoken with people. And I've
He
asked
means
them,
bad faith
and they've
actor.
said, this is why we won't engage with him.
Well, I'm sure they think he's a bad actor. I mean, he last.
Bro, the Steven Crowder thing was like, that's the kind of thing that gets you removed from bookings.
well,
across the
bookings with
board.
who?
Networks.
Networks like who?
So
I know you can't mention. Okay,
You're trying to
right,
get- look.
right. No, I'm not trying to. Actually, not trying. It was a legit interest. In terms of what you were talking about.
let's say big shows, well-funded shows, typical mainstream
like
shows.
on the right, mainstream shows.
Mainstream shows.
Not like on TV.
Mainstream shows across the board without me getting anybody in trouble because
Right,
I'm
no,
already
I
dancing
see what
too
you mean.
close. But bro, that stunt with Ethan was like, I can't believe he pulled that off. I can't believe he did that.
And I
That's a
can't believe he
career.
pulled it off
It's a career ender.
Well, he's still going.
There. I mean, for sure, in his face, he's got his own YouTube channel. He's insulated in that regard. But like, you blacklist yourself when you tell people, look, we can have a conversation, we can have an argument, we can get heated. We even had people smack the microphone in rage.
Well, I didn't even do that.
Not
Wow.
even you. And we've invited that guy back. We were like, bro, we get it. Things get heated. You're always welcome back on because that's not. But Sam's stunt was like not just for me, but a bunch of other people. Like, that's not a guy you have on your show.
I was
Because
just interested in that. Really, just out of my curiosity, truthfully, just
If-
wanted to know what you meant by it.
so there are a lot of channels that focus on interpersonal intercommentary drama. We do a little bit. We mostly try to avoid it unless it's overwhelming. Like Joe Rogan controls the news cycle sometimes, so we'll talk about it. But I don't address every single thing every time someone talks about anything like that. When you do too much, and I always give this advice to people who are starting channels, avoid intercommentary drama. Like if you got 100K subs and there's another personality who's on the left or the right and they got 100K subs, ignore them. Because if you start doing these conversations where it's like, did you hear what so-and-so said about me? Did you hear what so-and-so did? Which is what a lot of people do. What happens at higher industry levels, they basically say, we don't want to do that.
So that's like-
advertisers don't like that.
That's interesting because like you gotta sort of respect them that Sam Cedar wouldn't censor himself in that way.
What do you mean?
I mean, you said that if you have one channel that's like 100K, another channel 100K, and you're one of those channels, you should not, go after
be yourself,
or
be yourself. Like if
that
you-
was Sam Cedar being himself.
For sure. If Sam, and I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to choose this. I'm saying the result of it has been blacklisting.
So you're saying is to get on those other channels, there's been a lot of people who self-censor themselves.
No. So there are a lot of people who do this. I'm saying if you're looking for a career, if you want to reach a higher level, you want.
Personally, I think Sam's at a point where he knows exactly where his career is, and I think he's
For
just,
sure, he's got a million
yeah,
subs.
yeah.
I mean, he's probably super rich.
No, he's. I mean, I think when I mean he knows where his career is, I don't think I'm not saying like he's in some great position. What I'm actually saying is he knows that he has a point that he has hit, and that's where he's going to go based on his own content because he doesn't pull any punches. He'll do whatever that he feels like he wants to do.
So-
and he doesn't, he doesn't self-censor himself just not to go after someone in terms of being worried.
we're not
about
talking
getting
about
on their channel.
self-censorship.
Well, I mean, that is sort of self-censorship in a way. If you don't want to go after someone specifically because you're worried about not getting put on their show.
I agree with that, and that's not what I'm talking about. So what I'm saying is, if your goal is to have you want to talk about the news, you want to talk about concepts, ideas, and events, you got to avoid the interpersonal drama.
Well, a lot of what Sam goes after when it comes to interpersonal drama, it's not really like it's not personal in the sense of like, oh, he was mean to me. Like he regularly does videos on Jimmy Dore, on Dave Rubin, because he disagrees vehemently with what they put out. Every one of those videos you could look up, and sure, he mocks them and they have fun with it. That's sort of like the point of the show. It's sort of like an old school, like leftist version of Howard Stern or something, I guess you can say. But they mock these guys, but they always go after like they're not like making fun of how Dave Rubin coiffed his hair or whatever. He's not there making fun of Jimmy Dore's glasses or whatever. Well, we're not the Young Turks.
No, I know. I'm dragging them and everything. Right?
Sam goes after them and always makes it about the substance of what they say and their policy. When he intruded on Crowder, he didn't just do it to go like, surprise! He wanted to have a legit discussion about COVID-19 policy. He was supposed to have a conversation
This is why
with Crowder.
people like Crowder won't have conversations with him.
Well, he wouldn't have a conversation before Sam did that.
And this is exactly why.
But Sam didn't do that before.
No. It's an issue of tendencies, personality, and the things he's done. Like, so that stunt, I know, resulted in like.
Yeah, I'm just gonna finish this debate.
Like, look, so
banned from the networks. That's pretty
well,
cool.
I don't know. I'm not gonna say every. I can't speak for
Sam
every
Cedar's
person.
bad.
What people?
He's a
with bigger
bad
shows are
man.
looking
He
for
got
is
canceled. He got
prestige
Are you saying he got
and relatability
canceled,
and
Tim?
substance.
Are you
So
saying he
want
got
to be
canceled?
authoritative, not elitist. You want to create something of value that can help people in their daily lives. When you see a stunt like what Sam did, the presentation is that this guy doesn't address issues that people relate to. The stunt with Steven Crowder was a tribalist stunt, which plays well to culture warriors, which are a very small portion of the marketplace. If you're trying to do a show that speaks to regular Americans, is either influencing policy, sharing your ideas, or just addressing issues that more people care about, doing stunts and interpersonal drama diminishes that and makes people not want to engage, which makes the people at other shows say, look, What we want to do here at Timcast IRL is share ideas, even yours, with as many people as possible.
Sure.
We can't accomplish that with someone like Sam Cedar, so we don't have him on the show.
Well, why wouldn't we be able to accomplish that with him? If you
He's a
invited him
stunt
here,
guy. He's a stunt guy.
But he wouldn't be a
Look,
stunt
look,
guy.
yes, he will.
If he came here,
When I tweeted come on the show, he publicly says I'll do it, then privately says no, I won't.
Well, that was because
A stunt.
he
played us to get clicks, and then went, woo, look at me,
I
and he
think there
wasted
was a
my time.
misunderstanding due to the
please.
COVID situation. Honestly,
I
if you invited him
tweeted
now, I
at
bet he would
him.
come. I bet he would come if you invited him now.
Because this is what he does for attention. He's a bad faith actor who, when I said, we'll fly you out and cover all the costs, he said, how does this day work? I said, you got it. I'll DM you for details. And then he privately says, I ain't doing it. Hassan did the same thing. Bro.
Well, I'm glad you invited me, and I came on. And
Absolutely.
I know, and I would, and I think it was a good discussion.
I do, and I think we've gone way too long. I think I extended. Matt, it really was great. I really do appreciate you coming. You are welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you.
We'll have you on with other people. If you have any ideas for anyone you want to talk to, I'd love to have debate someone who's got a stronger political ideology or something. We did Charlie Kirk and Vosh. For the most part, had them have their conversation.
I saw the poster. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we made that poster for him.
It was pretty worthless. It was. I covered that
people
debate, and it was pretty
We'll
worthless.
have you on again, dude. I really appreciate it. For everybody who watched, look, we got crazy, man. I'm sorry about the super chats.
And
I
we
appreciate
didn't
all
even
of them.
really get to the shooting over the weekend.
We argued too much.
Yeah. That's really bad.
I apologize for that too. But this is what usually happens, and everyone's like, half the people are saying it's time, it's done. Half the people are saying, no, keep going. And I'm just like, it's 11:30. We're an hour and a half over. We're not going to get a member segment in. Basically, consider the member segment free. Support us at timcast.com. We're going to have more shows like this, more questions, more debates, and we'll try and do better and better each time we do it. And bring a friend. We'll have you come on with somebody else.
Bring a friend.
Yeah, find somebody.
Yeah, I
who's
think
not
that would
Sam.
actually be good. Well, no, I
about to
think
say,
that's a good
can I bring
idea.
Sam?
No, I think that's a good idea because there were a lot of parts of the discussion I wanted to jump into. I jumped into a couple of them because I really felt the need, but for the most part, it was like I really didn't want this to become 2-on-1.
No, I think
so
it
I
was
think it would be great. I think it would be great if you brought another person to back up my
What-
Simon.
what if
Then
I
we
could-
could be
what if
really
I could-
loud, and then this could go until 4 in, and we could.
I mean, sometimes my own streams, I go.
I'm
on
so
for
glad
hours
that
and
didn't
hours.
happen.
Now. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
Sean, Vids, okay.
2 in the morning sometimes. If you were open to it, I could certainly promise you on my own that Sam Cedar would behave with me here if I brought him.
It's not about behavior. It's about, I think his shtick is tribal rage.
Well, that's interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, we'll invite you on the show.
Yeah.
And we'll have a conversation. I think, he just shock jocks. So this Stephen.
Is
Howard
that
thing,
working?
I think he pulled
Did
through
that
this
actually
time. His
happen?
goal is to woo 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 to his base. My goal is to bring you on in front of my base.
Or
and
is
say,
that
"Here's
not?
got some ideas
Okay,
here."
let's try it again.
We'll argue about him.
Sure.
I think Sam is just the Thanos thing is a really great example of if a guy doesn't understand philosophy and I try to relate to him, so he mocks me for it, that's not good faith. Making an argument about me trying to relate to you is bad faith.
Right.
I'm not going to entertain that.
You want to just hit me? The original. I know you want to end the show. I'm sorry, but it just hit me right now.
I thought you said, "Do you want to just hit me?"
No,
That's what I heard. I was like,
right here, buddy,
I thought you were joking. I didn't know.
No, you want to just hit me right now? When you reached out to me and we reconnected to make this happen, it was over the
Taylor Renz.
libs of TikTok stuff,
Yep.
right?
Oh.
And you brought that. We didn't get to talk about that because I actually, since we last discussed this, I actually went ahead and I did the work. I made FOIL requests, freedom of information requests,
Oh, wow.
and I have all the information in terms of where she has lived, like her home address, and I can confirm that the information that she has given to public record, which is where all that information you see online would come from, she has never lived at that address that was on that real estate license.
According to who?
According to who? According to New York State.
So I have from New York State that she did. I also have personal sources who've confirmed it.
You should show me because
I'll show you.
should-
I
because
can't show 'em. I
Yeah,
can't show
we'll
'em.
I'm gonna show you. I
raid
have
Sean
voter
Vids
records. I have,
tonight, and
donation records in terms
maybe
of,
we should try to
people
hit
who
some
donate to. I
smaller
have
channels.
In case you're wondering, okay, that maybe just shows.
Is this
without a
working?
shadow of doubt.
Did Taylor Renz publish an address?
Did Taylor Renz? She published a address.
actually
address.
working?
She
That's
published
the
a business
question.
address for that real estate company.
And where did Libs of TikTok work?
Not there.
She
At that time, she was not living there. No,
she did not.
I mean, she was not
work
working there.
for that company.
she was not working there at the time that article was published. No,
So you're saying Taylor Renz did publish an address?
in the link that was originally posted. That's without a doubt. They'll even.
Okay. So we
What I'm
disagree
saying-
beyond that, but we agree she doxed her.
Well, she didn't live there, or
Well,
she,
wait,
she didn't even.
is publishing an
she
address doxing?
actually didn't even work there.
Is publishing an address doxing?
Is publishing an address doxing? Not if it's not connected to that person.
So it's her company, right? She's listed as
It's not, no,
working
it's not her company.
there. Bro, you're trying so hard.
No, I'm not trying so
Taylor
hard.
Renz did.
No,
Like,
no, no,
bro,
no.
I have direct sources who've confirmed it.
Who?
You want me to expose the sources?
Well, did you hear it from? You could just.
Oh,
you're
already
supposed to
have
hear
a
it
raid
from
in
the
progress.
one
Okay, so
person
it's
who'd be able to
working.
probably give you
Yay.
the outright answer.
All right, thank you everybody
will not
for
confirm or
being
deny
here.
identity of the source who gave you the
I mean,
Until
it
the
was
after show, so
somewhat
pay if you wanna see it.
fun.
I mean, I also have the details for every person.
It was somewhat. It was mostly just like
yeah, it's good. And I also have
maddening
the,
and annoying and
mortgage
worthless.
on the
But
building, and I have the deed to the
I have to
building,
cover
which
it.
connected
This
to
is
the
my
building. Why did you remove the
beat.
address?
So
Why did you remove the address?
here we
Because I
go.
decided
There's
that
your
it was relevant to the story
video
because she didn't
Why did
work
they not
there.
of
post
Tim
the address?
I don't know
Pool
why they did that.
versus Matt
They
Bender.
posted
That
an
doesn't-
address where she was listed as working, where she was listed as living
no-
according to public records.
but she's not living
Where
there.
I have
Where did she
sources who
ever?
say she did, and there you go. So,
mean-
bro, if you want to argue this,
Yeah, we're gonna
Keep it-
raid
keep it
Sean
offline. I'll
Sean
give you some of the
tonight, and then maybe try to hit somebody. Let's find out some cool smaller
actually
channels that are not.
Let's wrap things up.
Show you
Yeah,
guys
by the way, I just
voted
want to.
on
This happens all the time. We're like, before a show, I'll
cultist,
assume we're going to talk about some
okay?
things and do some
That's
research.
all I
and, like,
ask.
This conversation goes in so many different
wanna-
directions, basically every
I wanna
episode.
get right
But
into them and be
we'd
like,
love to
aren't
chat
you
with
the-
Everybody, smash the like button. There's your free extra
There we
hour and a
go,
half.
there we go,
Sorry, with
rating
super chats, and it got
into-
nuked, and then we just argued too much. So
You're welcome, Timcast viewers. It was all on me.
Absolutely. And but we'll just consider the members only having been free for this one round. And if you like the show and you want to help support us, go to timcast.com, sign
right.
Support our journalists, support our infrastructure.
Thanks,
support our work,
everybody. And
you can
make
follow
sure
the
to
show at
smash that like button if you haven't already. Also, leave a comment if you want to. Just like let people know what you thought of the show, because that'll be popping up in people's inboxes tomorrow morning. So you know, you can talk to the people in the future that are watching this VOD. I will talk to you later. Much love. Meow.